bold.
The
their
wise
voice
person
steady.
will not be
Both
disturbed by
children
the
walk
opinions
into
of
adulthood
others. Be
believing
care for
they are
yourself,
simply
because you are
being
worth caring
realistic.
for. Waste no
But in
more
truth,
time arguing
they are
about
living
what a
the
good person
echoes
should
of
be.
beliefs planted
Be one.
long before they knew they
Part
were
of being a good
believing
person is
anything at
honoring
all.
your own dignity.
This is the quiet
Show up
psychology
as someone who
behind
matters because you do.
manifestation, not
Make
magic,
the best use
not
of
wishful
what is in
thinking,
your power,
but
and
the
take the
mind's
rest as
incredible
it
ability
happens.
to filter
Stoicism
the world
is often
in ways that
misunderstood as a
confirm
total
what you already
disregard for
expect.
the material world.
Your brain
However,
is always listening
the
to
way
you.
we present ourselves
If you think
is a
people are
profound
untrustworthy,
expression of
you will
self-respect.
notice
The
every
first reason
flaw,
is the
every
3-second rule.
hesitation, every
Long before
crack
you speak,
in loyalty.
your presence tells
If you
a story.
believe
Perception
opportunities
begins
never
with the
come,
eyes,
you will
not
overlook
the
them,
ears.
even
Then
when they stand
there
in
is
front
the
of you.
halo effect.
Your
When we see
beliefs
order and
shape
care
your
in a person's
perception.
appearance,
Your
we
perception
instinctively assume
shapes
an
your
orderly
behavior,
and disciplined
and
mind
your behavior
within. Your
shapes
appearance
your
is a
outcomes.
self-fulfilling
The
prophecy.
cycle
When you look
completes
like someone who
itself
values
without
themselves,
ever announcing
you begin
that
to
it
act
has
like
begun.
someone who values their time
There
and
is someone
purpose.
out there right now
Consider
with
the
half your
opportunity
talent,
cost of
half your
neglect.
skill,
A door may
half
remain
your
closed simply
intelligence,
because your
living a
outward
life you
chaos
believed
signaled
was
the
too
lack of
big for
internal
you.
readiness.
Not because
Dressing
they are luckier,
well is
but
a
because
signal
they
of
permitted
respect for
themselves
others.
to believe
It
it was
acknowledges
possible.
the unspoken
The
contract of
forces
social
shaping your
interaction
life
that
are not distant.
you care enough to
They
show
are
up fully.
intimate.
In professional
They
environments,
begin
your
in the
presentation
quiet
serves as
corners
armor.
of
It
your
provides a
thoughts,
foundation of
in the
confidence that
stories
allows
you
your
tell
ideas to
yourself
take center
when
stage.
no one
Stoic
can
truth
hear.
teaches
And
us that
perhaps the most
cleanliness is
haunting
about
question
effort,
is this:
not wealth.
if
A
your
simple
mind
linen
has been
shirt,
shaping
well
your
kept,
reality all
carries
along
more
without
dignity
your
than
awareness,
expensive vanity.
without your
We
intention,
must walk the Stoic
then
middle
what
path.
reality have you unknowingly
Avoid the
created?
trap of
And more
superficial vanity,
importantly,
but do not fall
what
into
could
the
your
vice of
life
slovenly
become
neglect.
if you chose differently from this
You are a
moment forward?
representative of your philosophy.
Have you ever
If you
wondered
claim to have a
when you
disciplined
first
mind,
learned what you
let
were
your
allowed
presence
to
be the
hope
first
for?
proof of that
It
discipline.
didn't happen
Practical
in a
dignity
classroom
starts with the
or
basics.
during a conversation you consciously
Stand tall with good
remember.
posture.
It happened
Ensure your
quietly,
clothes fit your frame,
long before
and
you
maintain
knew what
impeccable
belief
cleanliness.
even meant.
Marcus
You
Aurelius
were a
reminded
child,
us to be checked and controlled.
watching the world with wide and unguarded eyes.
This applies
Every
to our
tone
thoughts
of voice,
and naturally flows
every
into our
sigh
physical
of
presence.
disappointment,
As Epictetus
every
said,
moment
make the
of
best use of
silence
what is in your
after
power
you spoke it,
and take
all
the rest
became
as it
part
happens.
of your internal weather. A
Your
child
appearance is
doesn't
within
just
your power.
observe love or rejection.
The world is waiting
They
to see who
absorb it,
you are. Don't
like
tell
skin
them with
soaking
words
in
alone.
sunlight
Show
or
up.
frost. Picture
Like
a child
Italiano.
drawing
Here is a
bright
truth
colors,
that makes people
proudly
uncomfortable.
turning to show their creation.
How you look in public
If the
determines how the
parent
world
smiles,
treats you.
if they kneel
Not
down,
should, not might.
if they say, "That's beautiful,
Determines.
keep going," something
You can call
blooms.
this superficial.
The child
You can
learns
call
that
it
their
unfair.
ideas have value, that
You can rail
expression
against
is
it
welcome,
on social
that
media,
the world
and you'll be
responds to
righted
them with warmth.
is superficial.
Now
But
picture another
justice
child,
will not
same
protect you
colors,
from the
same
judgment
hope
of
for recognition.
strangers.
But when
Philosophy
they
will
turn
not
around,
shield you from
the
snap
adult barely
judgments in the
looks
first
up.
3 seconds.
Or worse,
the world will
they
assess you,
laugh,
categorize
dismiss,
you, and
or
treat
compare.
you accordingly whether
Something
you
in
like
the
it or
child
not.
wills.
Today, we
Not
address the
suddenly,
topic of
not
appearance
dramatically, but
and
slowly,
dignity.
like a
10
plant
reasons
deprived
why
of
you should
light.
never look
The message
poor
settles
in public.
quietly.
Now,
Your
I am
voice
not
is too
saying
small.
you should
Your
be
dreams are
ashamed
too
of
loud.
being poor.
The
Poverty
world
isn't
is
failing.
not waiting for you.
I am
This
not
is how
saying
self-concept
spend money you don't
forms,
have.
not as a
That
choice,
leads to
but as an
debt.
inheritance.
Character
Child
is
doesn't
everything,
think,
but appearance
"They
is the
ignored me
messenger
because
of
they
that
are
character.
stressed or
You owe it
distracted."
to yourself to present
child
yourself in a way that
thinks,
reflects your
"They
dignity,
ignored me
your
because I am not
self-respect,
worth
and your
noticing."
potential. The Stoics
And that belief
understood
becomes
this.
the blueprint.
There is a middle
The
path.
mind begins shaping
Appropriate
reality around
self-presentation,
it, building walls
free from
where there
vanity,
should have been
but
doors,
full of dignity.
ceilings
Not about
where there
looking
could have been
rich,
sky.
but never looking
Neuroscience
defeated
tells
or
us
diminished.
that the
Reason why?
emotional experiences of childhood
The first 3
carve
seconds
deep
rule.
grooves in the
Psychologists
developing brain.
know humans
The
form
nervous system
impressions
learns
within
which feelings are
milliseconds.
safe,
Judgments are made
which
about competence and
expressions are
trustworthiness
dangerous,
before
which
words are
hopes are
spoken.
allowed.
When you look poor
And long
with worn
after
clothes and
childhood
unkempt
ends,
grooming, you
those
are
patterns
communicating
remain.
that you are not a person to be
You
taken
grow older,
seriously.
but
It's
you
not
continue to
fair.
manifest the
Reason
world you
2.
were conditioned to
The
expect.
halo effect.
Not
If
the
we
world
perceive
you
someone
want,
as
the
well
world you
presented,
believe you deserve.
we unconsciously
So
assume
when
they are
someone
also
tells you to
intelligent,
just think positively,
kind,
or
competent,
believe in
and trustworthy.
yourself,
Conversely,
they are speaking
if
to the
someone
adult
appears
mind.
neglected,
But the
they are
one who
judged as less
actually
competent.
chooses
Dress
your
appropriately
possibilities
because you care about being
is the
effective
child
in the
still
world.
living inside you,
others'
the
opinions.
one who
Reason
learned
3.
what to reach for,
The self-fulfilling
and what
prophecy.
to never
When you look
attempt.
poor,
And
you
this
feel
is where
poor.
the story of manifestation
When you feel
becomes
poor,
more than
you
mindset.
act poor. And
It
you
becomes
stay
a
poor
return.
when you neglect your
A
appearance.
return to the origin,
You send a message to
the
yourself.
moment where belief first took shape.
I'm not worth the effort.
Because if your beliefs were learned,
External actions shape
then
our
they can be
internal states.
rewritten.
Reason
and that changes
4.
everything.
Which one?
Have you ever wondered
The
why you
opportunity
shrink
cost.
in moments when
Opportunities
you need
do
to
not
rise?
announce themselves.
Why,
They appear
when
in
a door
moments of
finally
conversation with a
opens,
stranger.
something inside you hesitates, as if stepping forward would be a kind of betrayal?
A chance encounter.
This is the
How many
quiet
opportunities have you
inheritance
missed
of childhood
because someone
beliefs.
judged you unworthy
You don't leave them
in those
behind
first
when you grow
seconds?
up.
The Stoic
You simply learn
does
to
not
disguise
create
them.
unnecessary
You
obstacles.
build a personality
Reason
with a
5.
mask, shaped around the things you once feared, lacked, or learned
Your
to suppress.
appearance signals
And you
self-respect.
tell yourself,
If you do not value
"This is
yourself,
just who I am."
why should anyone else?
But
It costs
identity is often
very
a
little to be
survival
clean.
strategy,
Epictetus said,
wearing the costume
keep your
of
body
self.
in its proper condition,
You learn to
as
smile,
a soldier keeps his
so
weapon.
no one sees your hunger
For
for
readiness,
validation.
for
You learn to act
effectiveness.
confident,
It costs
so no one hears
only
the tremor
attention.
beneath your
Reason
voice.
6.
You learn
The
to become
unspoken
agreeable,
contract.
gentle,
You show up looking
apologetic,
poor.
even
You are
when
saying,
something in your
I
chest
do not
is begging
respect
to
you
breathe.
enough to make an effort.
The world
The
sees your
world
mask
owes you
and
nothing,
assumes
but it
is
will
your
respond
face.
to the
But
signals
you know
you
the
send.
truth.
Presentation is about
Underneath,
respecting the
there is a
interaction
child
and the other person.
still
Reason
negotiating
7.
how much space they are
Good
allowed
presentation is
to take. And so,
armor. When you look your
choose
best,
people
you
who
are less
fit the
vulnerable
beliefs
to the slights
you already
that come
carry.
from looking poor.
If you
When you know
secretly
you look
believe
appropriate,
you are unworthy
you can
of being
focus on what matters, the
prioritized,
conversation,
you will find
the
yourself
work,
drawn to
the
those
connection.
who make you an
Presentation frees you
option. If you
from
believe your
distraction.
voice is too
Reason
much,
8.
you will love those
Looking
who
poor
silence
and
it.
being poor
If
are
you
not
believe
the same
happiness
thing.
cannot last,
You can have very little
you
money
will
and still
unconsciously
present
sabotage
yourself
it
with
the
dignity.
moment it
You can wear
feels
simple
real.
clothes that are clean
Not because
and
you
well
are broken,
maintained.
but
You can
because the
practice
mind
good
longs
grooming
for the
that costs
familiar,
nothing
even
but
when
time.
the familiar
You can
is
carry yourself
painful.
with pride.
It's the same
regardless of your
phenomenon seen in the
circumstances.
bird raised in
Looking
a cage.
poor is often not about lack
One
of
day,
money. It is
the
about
door
lack of
opens.
care. The person
Freedom
who has
is
nothing
right
but
there.
maintains their appearance
Light,
is communicating.
sky, infinite
I may have
space.
little, but I am not
But the
little.
bird
I am
doesn't
still
fly.
here.
It
That
returns
still
to the
matter.
only
Reason
world
9.
it has ever known.
The Stoic
The
middle
cage
path.
is not metal.
They understood that
The
virtue
cage is
lies
memory.
not in one extreme
And
or the other,
manifestation
but in the
works
wise
the
mean
same way.
between them. On one side
Not
is vanity,
as a wish sent
the
into
obsession
the
with
universe,
appearance. On
but
the other
as a
side is
reflection of what you
neglect,
believe you are
the
allowed
refusal
to
to care
receive.
for oneself.
You do
Both
not
are
manifest
forms
with your
of slavery.
hopes.
The
You
Stoic
manifest
walks
with
the
your
middle path.
self-concept.
They care for their
The person who
appearance
believes they are
because it is
unworthy
part
of
caring
abundance
for
will
themselves.
never recognize
They do not
abundance when it
invite
stands
dismissal.
quietly at their
Epictetus
door.
said,
The person
make
who
the best
believes
use
they
of
are
what is
meant
in
to
your
struggle
power
will
and take the
reject
rest as it
ease
happens.
when it arrives,
Your
calling
appearance
it
is in your power.
suspicious,
Reason 10.
unrealistic, or undeserved.
You are a representative of something
Your life
larger.
does not
You
bend
represent
to
your
what you
family,
want.
your
It
community,
bends to what you
your
are.
values,
And so the
your
question
mission.
shifts.
If you are an entrepreneur,
Who are you
your appearance
beneath the
reflects on your
mask you learn
business.
to wear?
If you are a parent,
If you
your
remove the
appearance
fear,
reflects
the
on
memory,
your children.
the
Marcus
wound,
Aurelius wrote,
who might you become if you
we
finally
are made
believed
for
you could?
cooperation.
Have you ever wondered why,
When you look
once
poor,
something
you are
captures your
diminishing the
attention,
cause you represent
suddenly start
and the
seeing
people
it
you
everywhere?
love.
A car
This
you've
is not
never
about
noticed
shame.
before
There is no
becomes
shame
visible
in having
on every
little.
street.
The shame is
A
in
fear
giving up,
you've tried to ignore
in neglecting
begins
yourself,
appearing in
in
every
abandoning your
situation.
dignity. Never
This
go into
isn't
debt for
coincidence.
appearance.
This is
That is
your
vanity.
brain revealing
The goal
one
is
of
to
its
look like a
oldest
person who
and most
respects
powerful
themselves.
mechanisms,
That costs very
reticular
little.
activating
Character
system.
matters
A
infinitely
small
more than
network
appearance.
of neurons at the base of
But
your
appearance
brainstem
is the messenger
decides
of
what you
character.
notice.
The good person
and
with
what
good
remains
presentation
hidden
will
in
have
the
more
background.
opportunities.
It is
Marcus
the
Aurelius
silent
wrote,
gatekeeper
you
of
have
your
power
reality.
over your mind,
Your
not
mind
outside
cannot
events.
process everything
Realize
at
this,
once,
and
so
you will
it
find
filters.
strength.
And what does it prioritize?
The Stoic does not dress
Whatever
for others.
matches your
the Stoic
beliefs.
dresses for themselves.
If you believe
as an
people
expression
are
of self-respect,
untrustworthy,
as a reflection
your
of inner
RAS
order.
highlights
Cleanliness
every
costs
flinch,
nothing but
every
effort.
hesitation, every
Shower
inconsistency
regularly.
in
Brush
others.
your teeth.
If you
Wash your
believe life is
clothes.
generous,
These
it
are not
draws your
luxuries.
attention
They are
toward
basics.
opportunities,
Iron your
kindness,
clothes.
and subtle
Polish your
blessings.
shoes. Men,
The
small
world does
tears.
not change. Your
A
filter
well-maintained
does.
and expensive
This is
item
why
looks
two
better
people
than a
can
neglected
walk through the
expensive
same
one.
city,
Posture is free.
live through the same day,
Stand up
and
straight.
return with completely
Make eye
different
contact.
stories.
Speak
One will
clearly.
say,
These cost
"Nothing
nothing
works out
and
for me."
communicate everything.
The other will say,
Simplicity
there
is
is
elite.
always
Sometimes
something to learn.
external care
Reality
can
is
spark
not
internal
just what
change.
happens.
When you force
It is
yourself
what
to
your
stand up
mind
straight,
decides to
you send
see.
a message.
Psychology
I am
calls
still
this
fighting.
confirmation
Return
bias.
to the center.
The tendency
Remember
to
that you are
notice
more than
and
your
remember
appearance.
experiences
Remember
that
that
confirm
character
what
is
you
everything.
already believe.
Care deeply,
It is not a
but
flaw.
be unattached.
It is the
Seneca
brain's
wrote,
attempt
"The wise
to make
person
the
will not
world
be disturbed
feel
by the
predictable."
opinions of others.
But
You care for
predictability comes
yourself
with a cost.
because you are worth caring
If
for.
your beliefs were
Waste no
shaped
more
by
time
fear,
arguing about what a
rejection,
good person
or
should be.
scarcity,
Be
your
one.
mind will continue
Part of being a
recreating
good
those
person is
patterns
honoring
long
your own
after the
dignity.
original wound has
Show up
healed.
as someone who
And
matters
then
because
there
you
is
do.
the self-fulfilling
Make the best use
prophecy.
of what is in your power.
When you expect
and
failure,
take the rest
your
as it
body
happens.
language shifts.
Stoicism
Your
is
voice
often
becomes
misunderstood
smaller.
as a total
Your decisions
disregard for the
become
material
cautious.
world. However,
You don't notice the
the way
door
we
half
present
open,
ourselves is a
because
profound
you've already
expression of
convinced yourself
self-respect.
it's locked.
The first reason is the
So
three-second
the
rule.
failure you feared
Long
becomes
before you
the
speak,
result you
your
live.
presence tells a
Not
story.
because the world
Perception
denied you,
begins
but
with the
because your
eyes,
belief
not the ears.
denied you the
Then
attempt.
there is the halo
Neuroscience
effect. When we see
extends this
order
further.
and care in a person's appearance,
Neuroplasticity,
we
the
instinctively
brain's
assume
ability
an
to
orderly and
rewire
disciplined
itself
mind
based on
within.
repeated
Your
thought.
appearance
Every
is a
time you think a
self-fulfilling
thought,
prophecy.
you
When you look
strengthen
like
its
someone who
pathway.
values themselves,
Like
you begin to
walking
act
the
like
same.
someone who values
Trail
their time
through a
and
field
purpose.
of tall grass,
Consider
the
the
more you
opportunity
walk,
cost of neglect.
clearer and
A
more
door may remain
automatic it
closed
becomes.
simply because your outward
Your
chaos
thoughts
signaled a lack of
are not
internal
just
readiness.
ideas.
Dressing
They are
well
instructions.
is a signal of
They
respect
are
for others.
architecture.
It acknowledges
This
the
is why
unspoken
manifestation
contract of
is not
social
magic.
interaction that
It is structure.
you care enough to
It
show
is
up
the progression
fully.
of the
In professional
unseen
environments,
becoming seen.
your presentation serves
Focus
as armor.
shapes what
It
you
provides a
notice.
foundation of confidence
What you
that allows
notice
your ideas to
shapes
take
how you
center
feel.
stage. Stoic
How you
truth
feel
teaches us that
shapes what you
cleanliness
do.
is about effort,
And
not
what
wealth.
you do
A simple linen
shapes
shirt, well
what you
kept,
become.
carries more dignity
So the question
than
is no
expensive
longer,
vanity.
does
We must walk the
manifestation
Stoic
work?
middle path.
The real question
Avoid
is,
the trap of superficial
what
vanity,
have you
but do not
unknowingly
fall into the
been
vice of slovenly
instructing your
neglect.
mind to build all this time?
You are a
Have you
representative
ever
of your
noticed
philosophy.
how
If
some
you claim
people
to have a
seem to
disciplined
recreate
mind,
the same
let your
pain
presence be the
over
first
and
proof of
over
that
again?
discipline.
The same
Practical
kind of
dignity starts with the
heartbreak,
basics.
the same kind of disappointment,
Stand tall
the
with
same
good posture.
endings dressed in
Ensure
different
your clothes
faces.
fit your frame
At first,
and maintain
it
impeccable
feels like
cleanliness.
bad luck,
Marcus
like
Aurelius
fate
reminded
as a
us to be
personal
checked and
grudge.
controlled.
But if you look closer, painfully closer, you begin to see something
This applies to our
haunting
thoughts
underneath.
and naturally
Not
flows
everything
into our
you
physical
lose was
presence.
taken from.
As Epictetus said,
Some of it
make the
you
best
pushed
use of
away
what is in your
without
power
realizing it.
and take the
And
rest as
not
it
every
happens.
door that remains closed is locked.
Your appearance
Some
is
of
within
them
your power.
You never tried to open.
The
Because
world is
when your
waiting to see
beliefs
who
are
you are.
shaped by
Don't
fear,
tell them with words
by old
alone.
wounds,
Show
by
up.
the quiet whisper that says
Like
you
Italiano.
are not enough.
Here is a truth that makes people
Manifestation
uncomfortable.
takes a darker form.
How you look in public
You begin
determines
to
how the world
attract
treats
what you
you.
expect. You
Not
start
should,
to gravitate
not might.
toward what is familiar, even if the
Determines.
familiar hurts.
You can call
person
this
who grew up
superficial.
unseen
You can call
will
it
choose
unfair.
lovers who overlook
You can
them.
rail against
The
it
one
on
who grew
social
up
media,
walking on
and you'll be
emotional
right. It
eggshells
is
will find
superficial,
themselves in
but
relationships
justice will
where they
not
must
protect
stay
you
small
from
to
the
survive.
judgment of strangers.
The one who fears
Philosophy will
abandonment
not shield
will
you
cling
from snap
until the other
judgments in the
person
first 3
leaves,
seconds. The
fulfilling
world will
the very
assess you,
fate they were trying
categorize
to
you,
avoid.
and treat you
The mind
accordingly
becomes
whether you
its
like it or
own
not.
puppeteer,
Today,
pulling
we
your
address the
strings
topic of
with
appearance
memories you
and
didn't
dignity.
choose.
10 reasons
There is a voice
why you should
inside
never
you, the
look
inner
poor
critic
in
shaped long
public.
ago by
Now,
someone who
I am
didn't
not
know how to
saying
love you properly.
you should be ashamed
And now
of being
that
poor.
voice speaks
Poverty
in
isn't
your
failing.
tone, using your
I
breath,
am not saying spend
convincing
money you
you
don't
that
have.
every good
That
thing is temporary,
leads to debt.
that every joy has a cost,
Character is
that
everything,
every soft moment
but
is
appearance
the
is
beginning
the
of
messenger
the end.
of that character.
So you brace
owe it to
yourself.
yourself
You
to present
flinch
yourself
at
in a way that
happiness.
reflects your dignity,
You sabotage
your self-respect,
beginnings because
and your
endings
potential.
feel
The
safer.
Stoics understood this.
After all, if
There
you
is a middle
ruin
path.
something yourself,
Appropriate
at least you won't be
self-presentation,
surprised when it breaks.
free from vanity,
This
but
is
full
the
of
dark
dignity.
side
Not
of
about looking rich,
manifestation.
but
You
never
don't
looking
manifest
defeated
what you want.
or diminished.
You
Reason
manifest what you believe you deserve.
The first 3
If
seconds
deep
rule.
down,
Psychologists
beneath your confidence
know
and your
humans
humor
form
and your
impressions
carefully put
within
together
milliseconds.
life,
Judgments are
you
made
still
about
believe you are
competence and
unworthy,
trustworthiness
then the world
before
will
words are
rearrange
spoken.
itself to
When you
mirror
look
that.
poor with worn clothes
because
and
the world
unkempt
is
grooming,
cruel,
you are
but
communicating
because
that
the
you are not
mind
a
is
person to be
obedient.
taken seriously.
And
It's
here
not
is the
fair.
quiet tragedy.
Reason 2.
People
The
don't
halo effect.
fear
If
change.
we perceive someone as
They
well
fear the
presented,
version of
we
themselves
unconsciously
they would need to
assume they are
become
also
in order to
intelligent,
hold something good,
kind,
to step into a
competent,
life where
and
love
trustworthy.
stays,
Conversely,
where opportunities
if someone
open,
appears
where
neglected,
peace feels
they are
natural,
judged as less
you must
competent.
first step
Dress
away
appropriately
from
because
the
you care about
familiar
being
shadows that
effective in
once
the world,
protected you,
not others'
but the
opinions.
mind clings
Reason 3.
to the cage it knows.
The self-fulfilling
Which
prophecy.
leads us to the next
when you
question.
Look poor,
the one that
you
cannot
feel
be
poor.
avoided. Who
When you
taught you
feel
to choose
poor,
pain
you
over
act
possibility?
poor, and you
And why did
stay
you listen?
poor. When
Have
you
you
neglect
noticed
your appearance.
how the world teaches you
You send a
to
message
measure
to yourself.
by everything outside
I am
of
not worth the
you. Your
effort.
value becomes something
External
you must
actions
prove
shape our
through
internal
success,
states. Reason
through beauty,
for
through productivity,
the opportunity
how
cost.
well you can perform the
Opportunities
role
do not
of
announce
someone
themselves.
who is doing
They appear in
fine.
moments of conversation with a
From a
stranger.
young age, you are taught that your worth is not something you inherently possess.
A chance encounter.
something
How
you
many
must earn,
opportunities have you
display,
missed because
and
someone judged
constantly
you
defend.
unworthy in those
You grow
first
up
seconds?
in a
The
society that
Stoic
whispers,
does not
if you
create
have
unnecessary
more, you are
obstacles.
more.
Reason
More
5.
followers, more money, more admiration, more achievements,
Your
stacked
appearance
like trophies
signals
on a shelf
self-respect.
that never
If you do
feels
not
full.
value
And
yourself,
so you chase.
why should anyone else?
Not because
It
the
costs
chase brings
very
meaning,
little to be
but because
clean.
slowing down
Epictetus
would mean
said,
confronting
keep
the
your body in
silent
its proper
fear that
condition,
without
as a soldier
accomplishment,
keeps his weapon.
you might
For
not
readiness,
matter at all.
for
This
effectiveness,
is the
it
cultural
costs
trap.
only attention.
A world
Reason
built on
6.
comparison
The
is a
unspoken
world
contract.
built on
When you show up
insecurity.
looking poor,
You look at
you
others
are
not to
saying,
understand them,
I do not
but
respect
to
you enough to make
understand
an
what is
effort.
lacking in yourself.
The world
You
owes
scroll
you nothing,
through images
but it
of
will
curated
respond to the
lives,
signals you
edited
send.
happiness,
Presentation is about
carefully
respecting the
filtered
interaction
excellence,
and the other person.
and somewhere
Reason 7.
inside, a quiet voice
Good
begins to
presentation
say,
is
you are behind.
armor. When you look your
But
best,
behind what?
you are less vulnerable
Behind
to the
who?
slights. that
There is
come
no
from looking
finish
poor.
line.
When you know
Yet
you look
feel
appropriate,
like you are losing a race
you can focus
that never
on what
had
matters, the
rules,
conversation,
never had purpose,
the
never
work,
had meaning
the
except
connection.
the meaning we
Presentation
were conditioned to
frees
give
you
it.
from
Capitalism
distraction.
thrives
Reason
on
8.
dissatisfaction.
Looking
If you
poor and
believed you
being
were already
poor are
enough,
not the same
you would
thing.
be harder
You can
to
have
sell
very
to.
little money and still
If you felt
present
whole,
yourself with dignity.
you wouldn't
can wear
need to
simple
buy
clothes that are
anything to
clean
complete
and well
yourself.
maintained. You
And
can
so the
practice
system
good grooming
teaches you
that
to
costs
want
nothing but
endlessly,
time.
a
You can
hunger
carry
without
yourself with
nourishment,
pride,
a thirst
regardless of your
without
circumstances.
water. You manifest
Looking poor is
not
often
from
not about
abundance,
lack of money.
but
It
from
is
lack.
about lack of care.
Not from
the person
belief,
who has nothing but
but from
maintains their appearance
desperation.
is communicating.
And desperation
I may have
bends
little, but
your
I am
life
not
into
little.
the
I
shapes
am
of
still
your
here,
fears.
and I still
Psychology
matter.
calls
Reason
this the
9.
scarcity mindset,
The Stoic
the quiet
middle path.
expectation.
They
there is
understood that
not enough
virtue
love,
lies not in one
enough
extreme
time,
or the other,
not enough space
but in
in
the
the
wise
world
mean
for
between
you to
them.
exist
On one
without
side is
proving that
vanity,
you deserve to
the
be
obsession with
good.
appearance.
And so your
On the other side
manifestations
is
become
neglect,
pleas instead of
the
expressions.
refusal to care
You
for
ask
oneself.
the universe for
Both
things you
are forms
secretly
of
believe
slavery.
you cannot
The
hold.
Stoic walks the middle
And life
path.
mirrors
They
back
care
that
for their
belief,
appearance
again
because it is part
and
of
again.
caring for themselves.
But there is another truth
They do not
hiding
invite
beneath all
dismissal.
this noise.
Epictetus said,
A truth
make the
that
best
is
use of
older
what
than
is in your
achievement,
power, and take
older
the
than
rest as it
society,
happens.
older than
Your
every
appearance is
story
in
you
your
were
power.
told about what
Reason
makes
10.
you worthy. Before
You are a
were
representative
taught
of
to
something
chase
larger.
worth,
You represent your
you
family,
simply
your
were
community,
worthy.
your values,
So the
and your
journey of
mission.
manifestation
If you are an entrepreneur,
is not about
your
reaching
appearance reflects
outward.
on your business.
It is about
if you are a
turning
parent,
inward
your
and
appearance
remembering.
reflects
And
on
now,
your children.
the real
Marcus
question
Aurelius
emerges.
wrote,
What happens
we are made for
when you stop
cooperation.
performing for the world
When you
and
look
start
poor,
returning
you are
to yourself?
diminishing the cause you represent
Have you ever felt
and the people
like no
you
matter
love.
how hard you try,
This is not about
life
shame.
somehow
There is no shame
slips
in
through
having
your
little.
fingers,
The shame is in
like
giving
you are
up,
walking
in
with your
neglecting
hands
yourself,
open,
in
hoping
abandoning
for
your
something to
dignity.
finally stay.
Never go into
but
debt
everything
for
good
appearance.
fades just when
That
you
is
start
vanity.
to trust it.
The goal is to
There
look
is
like a person
specific
who
kind of
respects
pain
themselves.
in always
It costs
expecting
very little.
disappointment.
Character matters
A quiet
infinitely
dread
more than
that sits under
appearance.
your ribs,
But
whispering,
appearance is the messenger of
"Don't get
character.
too comfortable.
The good person with good
This won't
presentation
last."
will have more opportunities.
You carry it
Marcus
with you
Aurelius
in
wrote,
conversations,
you have
in
power over
friendships,
your mind,
in
not
love.
outside events.
Even in
Realize
moments
this,
of joy,
and you will
something
find strength.
inside you flinches.
The Stoic
You're waiting
does not
for
dress
the
for
fall,
others.
the
The
shift,
Stoic dresses for
the
themselves
moment the world
as
remembers
an expression of
you were never meant
self-respect,
to keep
as a
something
reflection of
beautiful.
inner order. Cleanliness
And so you
costs
hold back.
nothing but effort.
You don't fully celebrate.
Shower regularly.
You don't fully
Brush your
receive.
teeth.
You
Wash
live
your clothes.
almost, but
These are not
quite.
luxuries. They
This
are
is the
basics.
emotional cost of
Iron
living
your
from
clothes.
old beliefs.
Polish your shoes.
Anxiety
Men,
becomes
small
your background
tears.
noise.
A
Self-doubt
well-maintained
lives
and
like a
expensive
shadow
item
at
looks
your
better
feet.
than a neglected
You
expensive
apologize
one.
before
Posture
you
is
speak.
free.
You
Stand up
soften your
straight.
desires until they are small
Make eye
enough not
contact.
to offend
Speak
anyone.
clearly.
And when
These
something
cost
goes
nothing
wrong,
and
even slightly,
communicate
you
everything.
don't just feel
Simplicity
disappointment.
is elegant. Sometimes
You feel
external
confirmation.
care can spark
As
internal
if the
change.
universe is
When
telling
you force yourself to
yet
stand
again,
up straight,
See,
you send a
you were
message.
foolish to hope.
I am still fighting.
Psychology
Return
calls this learned
to the center.
helplessness.
Remember that
When you've
you are
been hurt
more than
enough
your
times,
appearance.
the mind concludes
Remember
that
that
effort
character
is
is
pointless,
everything.
that
Care
hope is
deeply,
dangerous.
but be
And
unattached.
so the heart grows
Seneca wrote,
cautious.
the wise
You
person will
begin to
not be
expect
disturbed
life
by
to
the
happen to
opinions
you,
of others.
not through
You care for yourself.
You move like a
because you are worth
passenger
caring
inside
for.
your own
Waste
story,
no more
never
time
holding the
arguing
steering
about
wheel,
what a good
never
person
trusting
should
your
be.
hands to
Be
guide the
one.
path.
Part
and
of
the
being a good
loneliness that
person
comes
is honoring
with
your
this
own dignity.
is quiet.
Show up
but
as someone who
devastating.
matters because you do.
It is not the
Make the
loneliness
best
of
use
being alone.
of what is in your power.
It is the loneliness
and
of
take the
being
rest
surrounded
as it
by
happens.
people and still
Stoicism
feeling
is
like no
often
one can reach
misunderstood
you.
as a
Because
total
how can
disregard
they,
for the material
when even
world.
you don't
However,
truly open
the
door?
way we present
How
ourselves
can they,
is a
when you
profound
don't
expression
fully
of
believe
self-respect.
you deserve
The first
to be
reason
seen?
is the 3-second rule.
There comes a moment,
Long
sometimes
before you
sudden,
speak,
sometimes
your presence
gradual,
tells a story.
when the weight
Perception
becomes
begins with the
impossible to
eyes,
ignore.
not the
You
ears.
look around
Then
and realize
there is
the
the
bars of
halo
the
effect.
cage
When we see
were
order
never
and
built
care
by
in
the
a person's
world.
appearance,
They
we
were built by
instinctively
fear,
assume an
by
orderly
memory,
and disciplined mind
by a
within.
younger
Your
version of
appearance
you
is
who
a
was only
self-fulfilling
trying to stay
prophecy.
safe.
When you look like someone
The
who values
prison was
themselves,
internal.
you begin to act like
The
someone who
lock
values their
was
time and
belief.
purpose.
And in that
Consider
moment,
the opportunity
something
cost of
shifts,
neglect.
not loudly,
A door may
but
remain
like the
closed
first
simply
crack
because
in
your
ice.
outward chaos
A
signaled a lack of
realization that
internal
hurts,
readiness.
but
Dressing
also
well
liberates.
is a signal of
If the
respect
mind was
for
powerful
others.
enough
It
to build the
acknowledges the
cage,
unspoken
then it may
contract of
also
social
be powerful
interaction
enough
that
to open it.
you care
And
enough
that
to
is where
show
the
up
story
fully.
of change
In
begins.
professional environments,
Have you ever
your
asked
presentation
yourself
serves as
who
armor.
you might
It
be
provides a
if you
foundation
weren't
of confidence that allows your ideas
Not
to
in a
take center
dramatic
stage.
sense,
Stoic
but
truth
quietly.
teaches us that
If you
cleanliness
removed
is
every
about
memory
effort,
that made you
not
shrink,
wealth. A simple
every
linen
voice
shirt,
that told
well
you to
kept,
lower your
carries more
expectations,
dignity than expensive
every
vanity.
lesson that
We
taught
must
you to
walk
settle,
the Stoic middle
who would
path.
remain? This
Avoid
question
the
is
trap
not
of
about
superficial
fantasy.
vanity,
It is the
but do not
doorway
fall into the
to
vice of slovenly
transformation.
neglect.
Because change does not
You
begin
are a
when
representative of your
circumstances
philosophy.
shift.
If you claim to have a disciplined
begins
mind,
when your
let your
identity
presence be
does.
the first proof
The
of that
first
discipline.
step is
Practical dignity
awareness,
starts with the basics.
not the loud motivational
Stand tall
kind,
with good posture.
but the soft,
Ensure your
honest
clothes fit your frame,
noticing
and
of the
maintain
thoughts
impeccable cleanliness.
that move
Marcus
inside
Aurelius
you.
reminded us to be checked
You begin
and
to see
controlled.
how automatic they are. The way you apologize
This applies to
before
our
you
thoughts
even
and naturally
inconvenience someone.
flows into our physical presence.
The way you brace
As Epictetus
yourself
said,
when something
make the best
good
use of what is
happens.
in your power.
The way your mind
take the rest as
rehearses
it happens.
worst-case scenarios, like a script,
Your
it
appearance
has
is within your
memorized
power.
too well. These are not
The
reflections
world is
of
waiting
who
to see who you are.
They are
Don't
echoes
tell them with
of
words
who you
alone.
were taught to be.
Show up.
And once you see them,
Like Italian.
truly
Here is a
see
truth that makes
something
people
subtle
uncomfortable.
changes.
How you
The
look in public
autopilot
determines how the
loosens.
world treats you.
You begin to ask,
Not should.
what if
not
this
might.
belief is not mine?
Determines.
What if I inherited it?
You can
And
call
just
this
like that,
superficial.
A
You
door
can call
you
it
did
unfair.
not notice before appears.
You can rail against it on social
Transformation
media. And you will
is
be
not
righted
about becoming
is superficial.
someone new.
But justice
It is
will
about
not protect
remembering
you
the
from
parts
the
of yourself
judgment of
you
strangers.
abandoned
Philosophy
to
will
survive.
not shield you from
Psychology
snap judgments in the
shows
first 3
that the
seconds.
brain does not
the world will
distinguish
assess you,
well between
categorize
imagination
you, and treat you
lived experience.
accordingly whether you like
When
it or
you
not.
visualize a
Today,
future self,
we address a
not
topic
vaguely,
of appearance
but with texture,
and dignity.
emotion,
10 reasons
breath,
why you should never
your brain
look
begins
poor in
wiring
public.
that identity.
Now,
as
I
if
am
it
not
already
saying
exists.
you should be ashamed
This
of
is
being
not
poor.
wishful
Poverty isn't
thinking.
failing.
It is memory
I am not
rehearsal
saying
for
spend
a
money you don't
reality
have.
you are moving
That
toward.
leads
You
to
are
debt.
teaching your mind how to
Character
recognize
is
a
everything,
life it
but
has never
appearance
lived
is the
before.
messenger of that character.
But visualization
you owe it to
alone
yourself
is not enough.
to present yourself in a
The
way that
world
reflects your
changes
dignity,
when your
your
actions
self-respect,
align with the
and your
identity
potential.
you are growing
The Stoics understood this.
into. Not massive leaps.
There is a middle path.
Not dramatic
Appropriate
reinventions.
self-presentation.
Small,
Free from
consistent
vanity,
choices.
but full of dignity.
Speaking
Not
of
about looking
boundaries
rich,
softly
but
instead
never
of
looking
swallowing your
defeated
voice.
or diminished.
Applying
Reason one.
even when you fear rejection.
The first 3
Allowing
seconds
yourself
rule.
to receive a
Psychologists
compliment without
know
deflecting.
humans form impressions
These are
within
not
milliseconds.
small acts.
Judgments are made about
They are
competence and
declarations.
trustworthiness before words
I
are
am
spoken.
becoming
When you
someone
look
who
poor with
believes
worn
I
clothes
deserve
and
to
unkempt
exist
grooming,
fully.
you are communicating that
And
you are not a
perhaps the
person
most
to be taken
difficult part,
seriously. It's not
patience.
fair. Reason
Identity
2.
does not rewrite
The halo
itself
effect.
in one
If we perceive
sunrise.
someone as well
The old
presented,
beliefs will try to
we
return
unconsciously
because they are
assume they are
familiar.
also intelligent,
The shadow of
kind,
who you once were will
competent,
tug at your
and
ankle.
trustworthy.
But every
Conversely,
day you make a
if
choice,
someone
even
appears
a subtle
neglected,
one, you
they are
loosen the
judged as
thread
less
that ties you
competent.
to your
Dress
past.
appropriately because
And
you care about
eventually,
being effective
one
in the
day,
world,
without noticing,
not others'
you
opinions.
will
Reason 3.
breathe differently.
The self-fulfilling
speak
prophecy.
differently.
When you look
You will
poor,
walk into a room
you feel
and not
poor.
shrink. You will
when you feel
recognize
poor,
yourself.
you act
And
poor,
when that day
and
comes,
you stay
the world
poor
will
when
not
you
have
neglect your
changed.
appearance.
You will.
You send
Who
a
are
message
you
to yourself,
when no one is looking.
I am not
Not
worth
the
the
version
effort.
you present,
External
not the name
actions
you
shape
answer
our
to,
internal states.
not the role you
Reason
play in other people's
for
stories. Who are you beneath
the opportunity
expectations?
cost. Opportunities
beneath the
do not
history,
announce themselves, for they
beneath
appear
the
in
mask
moments
of
why wisdom
wisdom
often
strong
feels
still.
lonely. 16
Because
o'clock
life,
to 20
your
o'clock
life,
wisdom.
is always asking you one
A
question.
chance encounter. How
Who
many
do you believe
opportunities have you
yourself to
missed
be?
because someone
Everything
judged
you
you
have ever
unworthy
reached
in
for,
those first seconds?
everything
The
you
Stoic
have ever turned
does
away
not
from,
create unnecessary
every
obstacles.
door you dared
Reason
to knock,
5.
every joy you quietly rejected before it could reject you.
Your
all of
appearance
it
signals
began with
self-respect.
the image
If
you
you do
held
not
of
value
yourself.
yourself, why
The
should
world
anyone
did
else?
not shape
It costs
that image.
very little to be
The
clean.
world
Epictetus
merely
said,
reflected it back
keep your
to
body
you
in its proper
over
condition,
and over,
as a soldier
until
keeps
you
his
mistook
weapon,
the reflection for
for
truth.
readiness,
But
for
manifestation was
effectiveness.
never
It
about
costs
wanting.
only
It
attention.
was never about
Reason
closing
6.
your eyes and wishing.
The
The
unspoken
universe
contract.
would bend in your
When you
favor.
show up looking poor,
Life is not
you are
persuaded
saying,
by longing. It
I
is
do not
moved
respect
by
you enough
identity.
to make an effort.
You do not receive
The
what your
world
voice
owes
asks
you
for,
nothing,
receive
but it
what
will
your
respond
nervous system
to the
believes
signals you
it can
send.
hold.
Presentation
And
is
that
about
belief
respecting the interaction and the other person.
It began
Reason
with
7.
a child who once looked to
Good
the world
presentation
for recognition
is
and
armor.
learned
When you look
either
your
safety
best,
or fear.
you are less vulnerable
But
to the
you
slights
are
that
not
come
that
from
child
looking
anymore.
poor. When you know you look
You
appropriate,
carry their memories.
you can focus
yes.
on what matters.
You
The
carry their
conversation,
wounds. Yes.
the work, the
But
connection.
you also carry their
Presentation
untouched
frees you
possibilities,
from distraction.
the parts of
Reason
them that never
8.
had the chance to grow.
Looking poor
So
and
look at your
being
life
poor are
gently,
not the same
not
thing.
as a map
You can have
of
very little
failure
money
or
and still
success,
present
but as a
yourself with
record of
dignity.
belief.
You can wear simple
You were
clothes
never
that are
cursed.
clean and well
You were
maintained.
never
You can
unlucky.
practice good
You were
grooming that
operating from
costs
scripts
nothing
you
but
didn't
time.
even know
You can
you
carry
were
yourself
repeating.
with pride.
And the moment you
regardless
see
of
the
your
script,
circumstances.
truly see it, you are no
Looking
longer
poor is
bound
often
to
not
it.
about lack of
The
money.
world around
It
you
is
is
about
not
lack
asking
of
you
care.
to fight
The
harder,
person who has
to
nothing but
chase
maintains
louder,
their appearance
to
is
prove
communicating.
more. It is
I may have
asking
little,
you
but
to
I am not
remember.
little. I am still
To
here.
remember that
and
worth
I
is
still
not
matter.
earned.
Reason 9.
That hope
The Stoic
is not naive.
middle path. They understood that
sky
virtue
you learned
lies
to
not
fear
in
was
one extreme
always
or the
open.
other, but
You
in the
are
wise
allowed to
mean between
rewrite
them.
the way
On
you
one
see
side is
yourself.
vanity,
Not all
the
at
obsession
once,
with appearance.
not
On the other
perfectly,
side is
but
neglect,
gradually, like
the
dawn
refusal to
easing
care
into
for
the horizon.
oneself.
You
Both
teach your
are
mind
forms
to
of
recognize
slavery.
abundance.
The Stoic walks
By allowing
the
yourself
middle
to
path.
feel
They
deserving.
care for their appearance.
You teach your
because it is
heart
part
to
of
stay
caring for
open
themselves.
by letting joy
They do
linger
not
a moment
invite
longer than fear
dismissal.
tells you it
Epictetus
should.
said,
You step
make the
forward
best use of what
as
is
if
in
your
your
life
power
is already
and take the
expanding,
rest as it happens.
and slowly
Your
it
appearance
does.
is in your power.
Because
Reason
in the
10.
end, manifestation
You are a
is not
representative
magic.
of something
It is
larger.
recognition.
You represent your family,
You are not
your community,
calling something
your
new
values,
to your life.
and your mission.
You
if
are
you are an
remembering
entrepreneur,
something ancient
your
within
appearance
you.
reflects on your business.
You do not
if you are a
manifest what you
parent,
want.
your appearance
manifest what
reflects
you
on your
are.
children. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "We are made for cooperation. When you look poor, you are diminishing the
Have
cause
you ever
represent
noticed
and the
how the
people you
word
love.
yes can slip
This is
out
not
of your
about
mouth
shame. There is
before
no
your
shame
mind
in
can
having
even
little.
understand
The
what
shame
it
is in
agreed to.
giving up, in
It
neglecting
happens
Mwene
yourself,
mwende nsura baba.
in abandoning your dignity.
gently.
Never
A
go
friend
into debt.
asks
Rona
you
mix
for a
change
favor
you.
when you're
That
already
is vanity.
exhausted.
The goal is
And
to
you
look like a
feel the
person
weight
who
in your
respects
chest,
themselves.
a quiet plea
It
to
costs
rest,
very
but your
little.
lips
Character
Yeah.
matters
yes,
infinitely
hang.
more than appearance.
A co-worker pushes
But
their
appearance
unfinished
is the
task onto
messenger
your
of
desk,
character. The
smiling
good person
like
with
it's
good
nothing.
presentation will
A
have more
family member
opportunities.
nudges you
Marcus
into an
Aurelius
emotional
wrote,
storm you
Okay.
didn't
"You
choose.
have power
Eh,
over
And you
kati
your
stand
mind
anti
outside
umulimo
events.
munene ogwoine
Realize this.
ugiteeka mu
Even
excel
as something
data yonna
deep
gwoine
inside
muteeke mu
The
whispers,
excel
Stoic does not dress for
don't
others.
want this.
The Stoic dresses for themselves, as an expression of self-respect, as a reflection of inner order. Cleanliness costs nothing but effort. Shower regularly, brush your teeth, wash your clothes. These
kati
are not luxuries. They are
It leaves a
basics.
strange
ali
heaviness,
I am
a
saved
feeling that is
mu
hard
word
to
polish
express,
oba oba mu
because the
mu word
moment
pass
passes
Small
quickly,
tears.
but the
A
discomfort
well-maintained
lingers long
and expensive
after.
item
I'm
looks
what?
better
You
than an
replay it
neglected
later in the
expensive
shower,
one.
in
Postures
traffic,
free.
lying awake at
Stand
night.
up straight.
You wonder why
Eh,
you didn't
Make
say
eye
okay.
contact.
kati kati
It
kyokola
seems like such a
These
small
cost
thing,
nothing
kati-
to
two letters,
communicate
a
everything.
breath,
word
a
zezo
boundary.
Simplicity
folders
is
Yet
mu
something
word
inside
Personal
you
care can
hesitated.
spark internal change.
Something old.
When you force yourself to stand up
folders
straight,
There is a story
ziwakora
here,
mu
not just
mu
in
word
what you said, but in
I am
why
still
you
fighting.
said it.
Return
You tell
to the
yourself
center.
it was kind.
Remember that you are more
you
than
didn't
your
want to
appearance.
katuoberere
upset
word
anyone.
document
Remember
it
that
was
character
easier.
is
Estuddemu
everything.
email.
Care
But beneath
deeply,
that
but be
explanation
unattached.
lies a
Seneca
deeper
wrote,
truth.
Kati
"A
awo
wise
mind
person will
doesn't
not be
easily
ngenda
disturbed
kunoonya
by the
obudde
appearance
ndabe
of
naye
others.
That your
simanyi
Care
yes
for
was not a
yourself.
decision.
naye mbadde
Because you
njagala
are
mukikole
worth
mwe
it.
ndabeze muyina
No more
survival
time arguing
instinct
about what a good
shaped
person
long
should
before
be
adulthood
be one.
arrived. A
Part of being a
pattern
good
woven
person is
into
honoring
the nervous
the
system.
ezange njagala era kompyuta yo egenda zibala kati era kikiri very simple olumala oziteeka mu foldemu nga ya word zonna ozikopinga n'oziyingiza mu excel kati excel n'ezibala
The first reason is the 3-second rule.
You say yes,
Long before you speak,
not because
your
you want
presence tells a
to,
story.
but because
Perception
somewhere
moves
inside
the eyes.
zirimu
a
koma
younger
years.
version of you
Then there
is
is
still
the
trying to
halo
avoid
effect,
being
when we
left
see
behind.
order and care in a
But
person's appearance.
persuasion,
Oh.
the force that
Instinctively
shapes your
assumes
yes,
an orderly
is
and
not
disciplined
okay,
mind
kakati
that
has a
your
structure,
appearance
kola bwoti
is a self-fulfilling
psychology that
prophecy.
operates
When you look like
computer.
someone who values themselves,
And the
you begin to
world
act
is
like someone who
full
values their
of
time
people
and
who
purpose.
understand how to
Consider
trigger that
the
reflex
opportunity
gently,
cost of neglect.
subtly,
A door may remain
sometimes
closed
without
simply
even
because
realizing
your
that
chaos signals a lack
kati
of
mbadde
control.
ekitegedde
Dressing
kati
well
bwebeera ne
is
folda ezo naye kati muntu
respect
ku
for
budde
others.
ziddize
It
nnyo naye
acknowledges the
just enough
unspoken
anoonye ku
contract
budde
of
bwe
social
naafuna ngenda
interaction that
bukubira
The family
you care enough to
who
show
looks
up
at you in
fully.
that way
In
that
professional
says,
environments,
if you loved me,
your presentation
you'd do
serves
this.
as armor. It provides a foundation of confidence that allows your ideas to take center
Only
stage.
how to surrender.
Stoic
ngenda kunoonya
truth
obudde
teaches
naye
us that
mubadde musobola
cleanliness is
okukikola
where
online
efforts
kati
begin, not wealth. A simple
Because
linen
by the
shirt,
end of this
well
video,
okay
kept,
kanoonya obudde
carries more
ngenda
understand
dignity
the
than expensive
architecture of
vanity.
yes,
We must
and
walk the Stoic middle
how it
path.
controls
Eh.
you, and how
Avoid
to
the trap
reclaim
of
the part
superficial
of you
vanity,
that was
but
never
do not
meant to
fall
be
into the
seen.
vice of
Do
slovenly
you remember
neglect.
the first time you hid your true
You
feelings?
are a representative of
ebyo
your
bigenda
philosophy.
kumalira
You claim to
budde
have a
kati
disciplined
okuzuba obuli
mind.
mu folda
Your
ezo
presence is the
okumanya
first proof of that discipline.
people you
Practical
depended
dignity
on
starts
felt
with the
like
basics.
Love was
imeyiro
so
emu
tall,
oyinza okuba ng'ogiina
Ensure your clothes fit
emirundi
your
nga
frame
approval
and
meant
maintain
warmth,
impeccable cleanliness.
safety,
Marcus Aurelius
Kati-
reminded us to be
discipline.
checked and
kati
controlled.
gweoyinza okulowooza gweoyinza okulowooza mbu olina
This
emails
applies
nyingi
to our thoughts.
kusuka na
Naturally
mitwalo nga
flows into
10
our physical
nze
presence.
nezijjawo neziteeramu
Epictetus
n'osanga zonna
Make the best
tezijja mu
use of what is in your
duplicates
power.
n'osanga nga
Take the rest as it
tosigazza yadde na mitwalo
standing
etaano
in a quiet hall,
Your appearance is within your
holding a
power.
toy they didn't actually want to
The
give
world
up.
is waiting to
Eh,
see
linda
you.
ko- ndi busy
Don't
naye
sell
nge-
them with
ndi
words
busy-
alone.
Expectant way.
Show
Eh,
up.
ngenda kukubira
Like you
kubanga
value.
nzeetaaga
Here is a
ngenda
truth
kukubira
that
Child
makes people
feels that
uncomfortable.
familiar
naye
tightening
nga
in the
Are you
chest.
looking
enkya
public to
oba leero
fear
Fear of
kawungeezi
disappointing
enkya oba
someone
leero
whose love
kawungeezi
feels
Not
necessary
should,
to
not
exist.
might.
And so they hand the toy
Determines.
over. Not because they
You can
want
call
to,
this superficial.
but because
You can call it
something
unfair.
inside whispers,
You can rail
if
against
they're
it
happy,
on social media,
I am
and
safe.
you'll be righted.
this is
superficial.
how it begins.
But justice
not with
will
words,
not protect you
but with
from the
silence.
judgment of strangers.
Not with
Philosophy
rules,
will not
but with
shield you
emotional
from
weather
snap
patterns.
judgments in the first
If
3
you were
seconds.
praised when you
The
were
world will
agreeable,
assess you,
you learn to
categorize
smile.
you, and
If you
treat
were
you
scolded or
accordingly
ignored
whether
when
you
you
like it or
protested,
not.
you learn
Today,
to swallow your
we address a
pride.
topic of
You didn't
appearance
choose
and
this.
dignity.
You
10
adapted
reasons
to it.
why you should never
Psychologists
look
call
poor
this
in public.
attachment,
Now,
imprinting,
I am not
the shaping
saying
of the nervous
you should be
system
ashamed
in
of
response
being poor.
to
Poverty
early
isn't failing.
relational
I
experience.
am not saying spend
the
money you
child
don't
learns
have.
to scan
That
others' moods
leads
before
to debt.
expressing their own.
Character
They
is
become
everything,
hyper-aware
but
of
appearance
tone,
is the messenger
tension,
of that character.
the shift
You owe
in
it to
someone's
yourself
breathing.
to present
This
yourself in a way that
vigilance
reflects your
looks
dignity,
like empathy,
your self-respect,
but often it
and
is
your
fear
potential.
wearing
The Stoics
kindness as a
understood
mask.
this. There is a
You
middle
learn
path.
to apologize for things
Appropriate
that weren't your
self-presentation,
fault.
free
You
from
learn to
vanity,
laugh
but
at
full of
jokes that
dignity.
stung.
Not about looking
You learn
rich,
to offer help
but
even
never looking
when
defeated
you were tired.
or diminished.
Each
Reason one.
act felt small, even
The
noble.
first 3
But
seconds
slowly,
rule.
the
Psychologists
self inside
know
you dimmed,
humans
not
form
extinguished,
impressions within
just quiet,
milliseconds.
waiting
Judgments are
for a
made
moment
about
when it
competence
would
and
finally be
trustworthiness
allowed to
before
speak.
words are spoken. When you look
The
poor
moment
with worn
never
clothes
came.
and unkempt grooming,
Because once
you
you
are
learn that love
communicating
is
that you are not a
conditional,
person
that
to be
being
taken
accepted
seriously.
requires
It's not
performance,
fair.
you carry that
Reason
lesson
2.
forward,
The
even
halo
when the
effect.
original stage
If we perceive
is
someone
long
as well
gone.
presented,
The child who
we
kept the
unconsciously
peace to
assume
avoid
they are
losing
also
love
intelligent,
grows into the adult
kind,
who cannot say
competent,
no,
and
because
trustworthy.
the body still
Conversely,
remembers the
if someone
cost of
appears
disobedience.
neglected, they are
So,
judged as less
you
competent.
keep saying
Dress
yes.
appropriately because you care
Not
about
because
being
you are
effective
weak,
in the world.
but because once,
not
a
others'
long
opinions.
time ago,
Reason 3.
yes was how
The
you
self-fulfilling
survived.
prophecy. When
The
you look
story
poor,
only deepens from
you feel
here,
poor.
because what begins as
when you
survival
feel poor,
can become a
you act
cage
poor,
you no longer
and you
realize you
stay
are
poor.
inside.
When you neglect
There comes a
your
point in your
appearance,
life when you begin to
you send a
realize
message
that
to
you are
yourself.
performing, not on a stage,
I am not worth
not
the
for
effort.
an audience.
External
but in every
actions
room
shape our
you
internal
enter.
states.
You
Reason
smile when you when you
4.
don't feel joy. You nod when your
The
heart whispers
opportunity
no.
cost. Opportunities
say,
do not announce
"It's
themselves. They appear in
while
moments of
something
conversation
inside
with a
you
stranger.
quietly collapses, and what once began as survival in childhood becomes habit
A chance
in
encounter
adulthood.
How many
mask so
opportunities have
familiar
you
you
missed
forget it's
because
even
someone
there.
judged you unworthy
You become the
in those
reliable
first
one,
seconds?
the
Stoic
understanding one,
does not
the
create
one who
unnecessary
listens more than they
obstacles.
speak,
Reason
who
5.
absorbs more than they release. Your kindness becomes a currency.
Your appearance
traded
signals
for
self-respect.
peace, connection,
If you do not value
and the
yourself,
illusion of harmony.
why should anyone
People
else?
thank you
It
for being
costs
so
very
helpful,
little to be clean.
so patient,
Epictetus said,
so easy
keep
to
your
be
body
around.
in its proper condition,
They notice the
as a
softness
soldier
in your
keeps
voice,
his weapon.
the way you never push
For
back,
readiness,
the way you
for
always seem willing,
effectiveness,
but they do
it costs
not see the
only
weight
attention.
beneath your ribs.
Reason 6.
You agree to
The
plans you
unspoken
don't
contract.
want to be part of.
When you show up looking poor,
You take on
you are
favors,
saying,
even when your
I do
days
not
are
respect
already
you enough to make an effort.
You
The
stay in
world
relationships
owes you nothing,
long after
but it
your
will
heart
respond
has gone quiet.
to the signals you send.
You become the
Presentation
emotional
is about
caretaker,
respecting
the one
the
who holds
interaction
others
and the
together
other
while
person.
slowly
Reason
becoming
7.
undone yourself. On the
Good
outside,
presentation
you look
is
composed.
armor. When you look your
Inside,
best, you are
resentment
less
flickers
vulnerable
like
to
a
the
small
slights
flame,
that come from
one
looking
you
poor.
keep smothered
When you know you
before
look
it grows
appropriate,
too bright,
you can focus
because
on what
you've
matters
learned
the
that your
conversation,
needs are an
the
inconvenience.
work, the
There is a
connection.
loneliness
Presentation
in that kind of
frees
living,
you
a loneliness
from
that is
distraction.
difficult to name.
Reason 8.
It is not the absence
Looking
of
poor
people.
and being poor
It is the
are not the
absence of
same
yourself
thing.
in
You
your
can have
own
very
life.
little money and still
Over time,
present
your
yourself with
identity
dignity.
begins to
You can wear
erode,
simple clothes that are
slowly,
clean and
quietly,
well maintained.
like
You can
water
practice
wearing
good
down
grooming
stone.
that costs nothing but time.
You forget
You
what
can
you
carry
enjoy,
yourself with pride,
what you desire,
regardless of your
what you
circumstances.
believe. The
Looking
world
poor is often
sees
not
a
about lack
gentle
of money.
person,
It is
but
about
what it
lack
does
of
not
care.
see
The person
is the
who has nothing
exhaustion,
but maintains
the
their
quiet
appearance is
ache
communicating.
of constantly
I may have
bending
little,
so others never
but I
have
am not
to.
little. I am still
And here, the
and I
body
still
speaks
matter.
when
Reason
the mouth
9.
cannot.
The Stoic
Fatigue
middle path.
settles into
They
your
understood
bones.
that virtue lies not
Anxiety
in one
flickers
extreme or
beneath
the
your
other,
skin.
but in the
Your
wise
chest
mean between
tightens at
them.
every
On
new
one side
request.
is vanity,
The body
the
says
obsession
no
with
in
appearance.
all the
On
ways
the other
you were
side
never
is
allowed
neglect.
to. The
The
nervous
refusal
system
to care for
remembers what you
oneself.
tried to forget.
Both are forms
This
of
mask,
slavery.
this
The Stoic
performance
walks the middle
is not
path.
accidental.
They care for their appearance.
It is guided
because it is
by
part
the
of
mind's
caring for
shortcuts.
themselves. They do
Patterns
not
shaped
invite
by years of
dismissal.
emotional
Epictetus
conditioning.
said,
The brain,
make the best use of what is in your
wired to
power
avoid
and
conflict
take the
and
rest as
seek
it happens.
belonging, pushes
Your
you
appearance is in
toward
your
agreement
power.
before
Reason
you
10.
even realize what
You are a
agreeing to.
representative of something
You are not
larger.
weak.
You represent your
You are not
family,
naive.
your community,
You are
your
responding
values,
exactly
and
how
your
your
mission.
past
If you are an
taught you to
entrepreneur,
survive.
your appearance reflects on your
survival
business.
strategies
If you are
are
a
not
parent,
meant to last forever.
your appearance reflects
now,
on your children.
the question
Marcus
becomes,
Aurelius wrote,
What happens
We are
when
made
the
for
pattern
cooperation.
begins to break? Why does
when
the
you look
word
poor,
yes
you are
come
diminishing
so
the cause
easy,
you represent
even when
and the
every
people you
part
love.
of you is silently begging
This is
to
not about
refuse?
shame. There is no
The
shame
answer
in
is
having
older
little.
than language,
The shame is in
older
giving
than
up,
culture,
in
older than
neglecting
the
yourself,
person you think you are.
in abandoning
It
your
is written
dignity.
into
Never
the
go
nervous
into
system,
debt for appearance.
a survival blueprint
That
your
is vanity.
ancestors
The
depended
goal is to
on.
look like a person who
Humans
respects
did not
themselves.
evolve alone.
That
You
costs
come
very
from
little.
villages,
Character matters
tribes,
infinitely more
close
than
circles
appearance.
of interdependence.
But appearance
To be
is the
rejected
messenger of
once
character.
meant
The
to
good
be
person
left
with good
without
presentation
protection,
will have more
without
opportunities.
fire,
Marcus
without
Aurelius
food.
wrote,
The
You
brain
have
still
power over your
remembers this
mind, not
ancient
outside
truth.
events.
Belonging
Realize
is life,
this, and
and
you will find
separation is
strength.
danger. So your
The
mind
Stoic does not
develops
dress for
shortcuts,
others. The Stoic
automatic
dresses for
rules to
themselves,
maintain harmony
as an
without
expression of
requiring
self-respect,
conscious thought.
as a reflection
Robert
of inner
Cialdini,
order.
one of the
Cleanliness
leading
costs
researchers
nothing
on
but effort.
persuasion, called these
Shower
shortcuts
regularly, brush your
universal
teeth,
principles.
Wash your
But
clothes.
beneath the academic language,
These are not luxuries.
they are emotional
basics.
instincts.
Iron your
When
clothes.
someone gives to you,
polish your shoes.
your body
Men,
urges you to
small
give back
tears.
reciprocity.
A
It is not
well-maintained and
politeness.
expensive item looks
It is the
better than a
fear of
neglected
imbalance,
expensive one.
the
Posture is
terror
free.
of owing.
Stand up straight.
Because once upon a time,
Make eye contact.
owing the wrong
Speak
person
clearly.
meant losing
These
access
cost
to the
nothing
group.
and communicate
When someone
everything.
likes you,
Simplicity
trust
is
them more
sometimes.
liking.
External
Because
care
once
can spark internal
trust
change.
was not a
When you
luxury.
force yourself to
It
stand
was
up
how you
straight,
ensured
you send a
survival
message.
in the dark. When
I
someone
am
seems
still fighting.
confident or
Return
powerful,
to the center.
your mind
Remember
leans in
that
their
you are more
direction
than your
for
appearance.
authority.
Remember
Because
that
the tribe
character is
needed
everything.
leaders to
Care
prevent
deeply,
chaos.
but be
And
unattached.
questioning the wrong
Seneca
leader
wrote,
at the wrong
The
time
wise person
could
will
cost
not be
your life.
disturbed by the
When
opinions
many
of
people
others.
agree on
You care for
something,
yourself
you feel
because you are
pulled
worth
to
caring
follow
for.
social
Waste
proof,
no more time
because
arguing
standing
about
alone
what
on
a
the
good
savannah
person should
was a death sentence.
Be one.
And when you've
Part
said
of being
yes
a good
once,
person is honoring your
you are
own
more
dignity.
likely to say yes
Show
again.
up as someone who matters because you
Consistency.
do.
Because
Make the best
changing your
use
stance
of what is in your
used
power
to signal
and take the rest as it
unpredictability,
happens.
and
Stoicism is
unpredictability
often
could
misunderstood
exile.
as a total
Your brain
disregard for
is
the
not
material world.
weak.
However,
It is efficient.
the way we
It
present
avoids
ourselves
conflict
is
not
a
because you
profound
lack
expression
courage,
of
but
self-respect.
because human
The first
beings were
reason is
shaped
the
to
3-second
avoid
rule.
isolation.
Long before you
The
speak,
nervous system is
your presence
constantly
tells a
measuring
story.
safety,
Perception
not in logic,
begins with the
but in
eyes,
connection.
not the ears.
So when you say
Then
yes,
there is the halo
even when you
effect.
don't want to,
when we see order
it is your
and care in a
biology
person's
whispering,
appearance,
stay
we
close,
instinctively assume
don't
an
disrupt the
orderly
bond,
and disciplined
don't
mind
risk
within.
being
Your
alone.
appearance
But survival
is a
instincts do not
self-fulfilling
always translate
prophecy.
into a
When you look
healthy
like
one.
someone who values themselves,
There is a
you
quiet
begin to act like someone who
tragedy
values
here.
their time and purpose.
The very patterns
Consider
designed
the
to
opportunity
protect you
cost of
can
neglect.
become the
A door may
chains that
remain
hold you
closed
captive.
simply because your outward
In a
chaos
world where
signals a lack
saying
of
no
internal
no longer
readiness.
threatens your
Dressing
life,
well
your
is a
brain
signal of
still
respect
behaves
for
as
others.
if it does.
It acknowledges the
And this is where
unspoken
persuasion
contract of
becomes
social
personal,
interaction
not
that
something happening to
you care enough to show up
but something
fully.
happening
In
within
professional
you.
environments,
Sometimes
your presentation serves
the cage
as
is
armor.
not the world
It provides a
outside,
foundation
but
of
the
confidence that
instincts
allows
inside
your
own
ideas
skin.
to take center
There is a
stage.
moment quiet,
Stoic truth
nearly
teaches us that
imperceptible,
cleanliness is
when
about
your
effort,
yes stops
not wealth.
being an act
A
of
simple linen
kindness
shirt,
and
well
becomes an
kept,
act of
carries
self-abandonment.
more dignity than
You
expensive
feel
vanity.
it not in your
We
voice,
must walk the
but
Stoic
in your
middle
chest,
path.
like a slow
Avoid the
tightening.
trap of
On the
superficial
outside,
vanity,
you are
but do not
composed,
fall into the vice of
agreeable,
slovenly
warm.
neglect.
But inside, something
You are a
small
representative of
and
your
honest
philosophy. If you
begins
claim to have a
work.
disciplined mind,
You smile,
let your presence
you
be the
nod,
first proof
you
of that
reassure.
discipline. Practical
And no
dignity
one
starts
sees
with the
fracture
basics.
forming beneath the
Stand
surface.
tall with good posture.
It feels like
Ensure your
watering
clothes
everyone
fit your
else's
frame
garden
and
while
maintain
your own
impeccable
slowly
cleanliness.
dies.
Marcus
You give
Aurelius
your
reminded
time,
us to be
your
checked and
energy,
controlled.
your emotional presence, until your days begin to
This
blur
applies to
together.
our thoughts and naturally
You cancel
flows
your
into our
plans to
physical
fit
presence.
someone else's
As
needs.
Epictetus said,
You silence
make the
your
best use of what is in
exhaustion
your
to
power
avoid disappointing
and take the
others.
rest as it happens.
You hold your pain like a secret you're
Your
not sure
appearance is
you're
within your
allowed to
power.
feel. And at first,
The world is
it
waiting
doesn't
to see
look
who
like
you are.
harm.
Don't tell them
It
with
even
words
feels
alone.
noble, like
Show
you're
up.
being a good person,
Like
a
Italiano.
loyal friend,
Here is a
a
truth that makes
dependable
people
partner.
uncomfortable.
But the cost begins to
How you
echo.
look in public determines
You
how the
start
world
to feel
treats
a
you.
quiet resentment, not
Not
toward
should,
others,
not might.
but toward yourself.
Determines.
Resentment for the words you didn't say.
You can call this
for the
superficial.
rest you didn't
You can
take,
call it unfair.
for the boundaries you never drew.
You can rail against it
The
on
resentment
social
builds
media.
slowly,
And you will be
like
righted
rising water,
is superficial.
until
But
suddenly
justice
you are drowning
will
in
not
a life
protect
full
you
of
from the
obligations you
judgment
never
of
consciously
strangers.
chose.
Philosophy
And
will
then
not
comes the
shield you
self-loathing,
from snap
the thought that
judgments in the
whispers,
first 3 seconds.
"Why
The
can't
world
I
will
just say
assess you,
no?"
categorize
This
you,
is where the shadow
and treat
of
you
yes
accordingly
reveals
whether you
itself.
like it or not.
The
Today,
tragedy is not
we
that
address the
others take
topic of
advantage of you.
appearance.
It is
and
that you
dignity.
learn
10
to
reasons
take
why you should
advantage
never
of yourself.
look poor in public.
People
Now,
pleasers
I am
are
not saying you should be
They are
ashamed of being poor.
compassionate.
Poverty
They
isn't
have
failing.
the ability to
I am
feel
not
others
saying
deeply,
spend money you don't
perhaps
have.
too deeply.
That leads
They can
to
sense
debt.
disappointment.
Character
before it
is everything,
arrives.
but appearance
Conflict
is the messenger
before
of
it
that
forms.
character. You owe it to
Rejection
yourself
before
to
it
present yourself in
speaks.
a way that reflects
And
your
so
dignity,
they bend,
your
they
self-respect,
soften,
and your potential.
they yield.
The Stoics
But every
understood
time
this.
you abandon your
There
own
is a middle
needs to
path.
protect someone else's comfort,
Appropriate
a
self-presentation,
part of you watches
free from
and
vanity,
remembers.
but full of dignity.
The inner
Not about
self
looking rich,
learns that its
but never
voice
looking
does
defeated
not matter,
or diminished.
and nothing
Reason
is more
one.
painful than being alive
The first 3
and
seconds
unseen,
rule.
not
Psychologists
by others,
know
but by
humans
yourself.
form impressions
This
within
is the quiet
milliseconds.
wound
Judgments are made
that
about
never
competence
appears
and
in
trustworthiness
stories or
before words are
conversations.
spoken. When you look
The
poor
wound of
with worn clothes and
disappearing while
unkempt
still
grooming,
being
you are
physically
communicating
present.
that you are not a person to be taken
ghost in
seriously.
your own
It's
life.
not fair.
And
Reason
yet,
2.
you continue.
The halo effect.
Because
If
somewhere
we perceive
deep
someone as
inside,
well presented,
you were taught that
we
saying
unconsciously
no
assume they
is
are also
selfish,
intelligent,
unkind,
kind,
unloving,
competent,
that
and
boundaries
trustworthy.
are a betrayal.
Conversely,
Which
if
brings
someone
us to the
appears
real
neglected,
question.
they are judged as
Where
less
did you learn
competent.
that your
Dress
own
appropriately
needs
because you
were
care
something
about
to
being
apologize
effective
for?
in the world.
The
Not
answer is
others'
not
opinions.
simple,
Reason 3.
and it is not yours alone.
The self-fulfilling
Have you
prophecy.
ever noticed
When you look
how
poor,
the world praises you,
you feel
when
poor.
you put yourself last?
When you
How
feel
people
poor,
call you kind
act poor,
when you stay
and
quiet,
you stay
gentle
poor
when you suppress
neglect
your
your
frustration.
appearance. You send a
Such
message
good
to
person
yourself.
when you say yes even
I'm
as
not
your
worth
heart
the effort.
sinks. From
External
childhood,
actions shape
you
our
were
internal
taught that
state.
goodness looks
reason
like obedience,
for
like softness without resistance.
the opportunity cost.
But no one told
Opportunities
you the cost.
do not announce
You
themselves.
grew up in a
They
culture
appear in
that
moments
worships
of
the
conversation
idea
with a
of
stranger.
self-sacrifice. Films, stories, in who you are,
Your
but in
appearance
how
signals
well you serve the
self-respect.
needs of
If you do
others.
not value
Think of
yourself,
the child
why
who is
should
told
anyone
to
else?
share,
It costs
not
very
because
little
they
to be
want
clean.
but
Epictetus
because
said,
good children
keep your
don't
body
say
in its
no.
proper condition,
Think
as
of
a
the
soldier
teenager
keeps his weapon,
who swallows their anger
for readiness,
because talking back
for
is
effectiveness.
disrespect.
It costs
Think of the adult
only
who
attention.
smiles
Reason
politely
6.
while something
The
inside them
unspoken
grows
contract.
tired,
When you show up
heavy,
looking poor,
unseen.
you are saying,
You were
I do
trained
not
to
respect
be
you enough to make an effort.
agreeable. Most
The world
societies
owes you
reward
nothing,
compliance
but it will
because
respond
compliant
to the
people are
signals you
easier to
send.
manage.
Presentation is about respecting the
Workplaces
interaction
celebrate
and the
the
other
employee
person. Reason
who
7.
never refuses. Families
Good
lean on
presentation
the one who never
is
says,
armor.
I
When
can't
you look
do
your
this
best,
anymore.
you are less
Friend
vulnerable
groups
to
rely
the
on the
slights
quiet
that
one
come from
who
looking poor.
absorbs everyone
When you know
else's
you look
chaos.
appropriate, you can
And the
focus
world
on what
applauds
matters the
them,
conversation,
even as it quietly
the
drains
work,
them.
the
A good
connection.
person says
Presentation
yes.
frees
A difficult
you
person
from
has
distraction.
boundaries. That's
Reason
the myth.
8.
But what if the
Looking
truth is the
poor
opposite?
and being poor
What if
are not
real
the same
goodness is
thing.
not found
You
in
can have very
silence,
little money
but
and
in
still
honesty?
present
What
yourself
if
with dignity.
integrity
You can wear simple
means
clothes
telling
that are
the truth of
clean
your
and
limits?
well maintained. You can
What if
practice good
kindness
grooming
without
that costs
self-respect is
nothing
not
but
kindness
time.
at all,
You can
just
carry yourself
exhaustion
with
dressed
pride,
as virtue?
regardless of
There
your
is something
circumstances.
tragic in how
Looking poor is
society
often not
teaches you
about
to
lack of
betray
money.
yourself
It is
and
about
then
lack of
praises
care.
you for
The person who
betrayal.
has nothing but
It
maintains
tells you
their
that
appearance is
discomfort
communicating.
must always
I may
be
have little,
avoided,
but I
that
am not
conflict
little.
is
I am still
inherently
here,
bad,
and I
that your
still
needs
matter.
are less
Reason
important
9.
than the comfort of others.
The Stoic
And
middle
so
path.
you shrink,
They understood that
you
virtue
soften,
lies
you
not in
disappear.
one extreme or the
You
other,
become easy
but
to
in the
love,
wise mean
but
between them.
impossible
On
to
one
truly
side is
know.
vanity,
And here is
obsession with
haunting
appearance.
part. The
On
people
the other
who
side
benefit
is
from your
neglect.
compliance will never ask
the
if you're
refusal
okay.
to care for oneself.
They won't ask
Both
if you're tired,
are forms of slavery.
overwhelmed,
The Stoic
breaking
walks
under the weight
middle
of your
path.
yes,
They care for their
because your
appearance
silence makes
because
their
it is
lives
part of
easier.
caring for themselves.
And society
They
calls
do
that
not
goodness.
invite dismissal.
But the emotional
Epictetus
cost
said,
of this obedience
make
is
the best
enormous,
use of what is in your
because
power
eventually
and take the
you
rest as it
realize
happens.
the world taught you
Your
how
appearance
to
is
please,
in your power.
but never
Reason
taught you
10.
how to live. There
You are a
comes
representative
point
of something
where the
larger.
exhaustion
You represent your
stops
family,
being
your
physical
community,
and becomes
your
something
values,
heavier,
and your
something
mission.
that
If you are
settles
an
behind your
entrepreneur,
ribs
your
and
appearance
stays
reflects
there.
on your business.
You wake up
If you are a
tired,
parent,
not because you didn't
your
sleep,
appearance
but
reflects
because you
on
have
your
spent
children.
years
Marcus
holding
Aurelius
up a
wrote,
version of yourself that
"We
the
are
world
made for
finds
cooperation."
convenient. You
When you
become
look poor,
fluent
you
in
are
the
diminishing
language
the
of
cause you
quiet
represent
endurance.
and the people
You
you
learn
love.
to smile when your
This is not
chest
about shame.
feels hollow.
There is no shame in
You
having
learn to
little.
say,
The shame
"It's
is in
okay,"
giving up,
even
in
when it
neglecting
isn't.
yourself, in
And
abandoning
slowly,
your dignity.
The weight
Never go
of
into
all
debt
the
for appearance.
unsaid words begins to take
That
its
is
toll.
vanity. The goal is
It's
to
a
look like
kind
a
of
person
burnout
who
that
respects
doesn't look
themselves.
dramatic.
That
It's
costs
not
very
flames
little.
or
Character
collapse.
matters
It's a
infinitely more than
gradual
appearance.
thinning of the
But
soul.
appearance is
It's
the
the
messenger
feeling
of
of being
character.
drained
The good
by
person with good
conversations
presentation
where you
will
listen
have more
but are
opportunities.
never heard.
Marcus Aurelius
It's
wrote,
the ache of giving
"You have
emotional
power
support
over your
without
mind,
receiving
not
it.
outside events.
It's the numbness
Realize
that
this,
comes when your
and you will find
needs are
strength."
buried so deeply
The
that
Stoic
even
does
you
not dress
can
for
no longer
others.
feel
The
them
Stoic
clearly.
dresses for themselves
The stress
as
is
an expression of
constant, not
self-respect,
loud,
as a
not
reflection
sudden,
of
but
inner
an
order.
ongoing
Cleanliness
internal
costs
conflict.
nothing but
A
effort.
war between the part of you
Shower
that wants to
regularly.
rest
Brush your
and the
teeth.
part that is
Wash your
terrified of
clothes.
disappointing others.
These are not luxuries.
Your nervous system
They are
stays
basics.
on alert,
Iron your
scanning
clothes.
every interaction for
Polish your
signs of
shoes.
disapproval,
Men, small
rejection,
tears.
or conflict.
A
And your body
well-maintained and
carries the
expensive item looks
consequences.
better than a neglected
Tension
expensive
in the jaw,
one.
tightness
Posture
in
is
the
free.
chest,
Stand up
headaches that
straight.
seem to have no cause.
Make eye contact.
Your body says
Speak
no
clearly.
loudly,
These
even
cost
when your
nothing
voice
and
cannot.
communicate everything.
And then there is the loneliness,
Simplicity is
quiet,
sometimes
bitter kind.
External
that sits
care
with
can
you in
spark
crowded
internal
rooms.
change. When you
People
force
may
yourself
love
to
you,
stand up
they may
straight,
admire you,
you send a
they may
message.
even call you their closest
I am
friend.
still fighting.
But they
Return
are loving the
to the
version of you
center.
that never needed
Remember that
anything.
you are more than your
The
appearance.
version that is always
Remember
okay.
that character is
The
everything.
version
Care
that doesn't
deeply,
exist.
but be
There
unattached.
is nothing more
Seneca wrote,
painful
"The
than
wise
being
person will not
surrounded
be
by
disturbed
love,
by the
yet
opinions of
feeling
others.
completely
You care for
unseen.
yourself because
Because
you are
how
worth
can
caring
anyone
for.
see
Waste
you
no more
when
time
you have
arguing
worked so
about what a
hard
good person
to hide
should
the
be.
parts of
Be
yourself
one.
that are real?
Part
You
of being a good
silenced your
person is honoring
desires
your
to
own
be
dignity.
agreeable.
Show up
You
as someone
softened
who
your
matters
voice
because you do.
to avoid
Make the
tension.
best use of
You
what is in
erased your
power
boundaries
and
to
take the
maintain
rest
peace.
as it happens.
And in doing
Stoicism
so,
is often
you slowly
misunderstood as a
erased
total
yourself.
disregard
But
for
here
the
is where the
material
story
world.
shifts.
However, the
Not
way
with
we
anger,
present
not
ourselves
with rebellion,
is a profound
but with a
expression
quiet
of
realization.
self-respect. The first reason
You
is
are
the
allowed
3-second
to
rule.
disappoint people.
Long before you
Healing
speak,
begins
your
when you
presence
stop
tells a story.
sacrificing
Perception
your inner
begins with
world
the eyes,
to
not the
maintain the
ears.
comfort of others.
Then there
When
is
you
the
begin
halo
to
effect.
understand
When
that
we
your
see order
needs
and
are
care
not
in a person's appearance,
inconveniences.
we
When
instinctively
you start to
assume an orderly
reclaim the
and
voice
disciplined
that
mind
once
within.
whispered
Your
no
appearance
before you learn
is a
to
self-fulfilling
silence it.
prophecy. When you look
The
like
next
someone who
step
values
is
themselves,
not dramatic.
you begin to act like
It is
someone who
simply
values their
this:
time and purpose.
the courage to
Consider
let
the
yourself
opportunity
exist.
cost of neglect. A
So
door
how
may
do you
remain
begin to
closed
reclaim
simply
yourself?
because your outward
How do you
chaos
learn to
signals a
say
lack
no
of internal
when your
readiness.
entire
Dressing
life
well
has been
is a
shaped
signal
by
of
the fear
respect
of
for
what will
others.
happen if you
It
do?
acknowledges the unspoken
The answer
contract
is
of social
not
interaction that
force or rebellion.
you care enough to
or
show up
sudden
fully.
rules.
In
It
professional
begins
environments,
quietly the same
your
way the
presentation
pattern
serves as
began,
armor.
but this
It provides a
time,
foundation
the
of
quiet
confidence
moves
that
in
allows your
favor.
ideas to take center
Imagine
stage.
a moment
Stoic
where
truth
someone
teaches
asks
us that
something
cleanliness
new.
is about effort,
It could be
not wealth.
smaller
A simple
favor,
linen shirt,
a conversation
well-kept,
when you're tired,
carries more
a
dignity than
responsibility
expensive
you didn't
vanity.
ask
We
for.
must walk the Stoic middle
Feel the
path.
familiar reflex rising.
Avoid the trap
the
of superficial
automatic
vanity,
yes,
but
the
do not fall
conditioned
into the
agreement,
vice of slovenly
the
neglect.
instinct to protect their comfort.
You are a
before
representative
considering
of your
own.
philosophy. If you
But
claim to
this
have a
time,
disciplined mind,
instead of
let your
answering
presence be the
instantly,
first proof of that
you
discipline.
pause.
Practical
Just
dignity
one
starts
breath,
with the basics.
Just a moment.
Stand
A
tall
simple
with good posture.
sentence can
Ensure
save
your
you.
clothes fit your frame.
Let me think about
and maintain
it. It
impeccable
is soft.
cleanliness.
It is
Marcus
gentle.
Aurelius reminded us
But
to
it
be
gives
checked
you
and
space.
controlled.
Space to check in with yourself before abandoning
This applies to our
yourself.
thoughts and
This is
naturally
what
flows into our
psychologists
physical
call
presence. As
intercepting
Epictetus
the
said,
automatic response.
make the best use of what is in your power.
You are teaching your
and
nervous
take the rest
system
as it happens.
that it does not have to rush into survival mode
Your appearance
when
is
there
within
no
your power.
real danger.
The world is
Then
waiting to see
you
who you
start
are.
small.
Don't tell them
Tiny
with words
boundaries,
alone. Show up
micro boundaries.
like Italiano.
They may
Here is a
seem
truth that
insignificant,
makes people uncomfortable.
but they are tectonic shifts.
How you look in public
inside you,
determines how the
saying,
world treats you.
I actually can't
Not should,
today.
not might.
Saying, I'm not available
Determines.
right now.
You can call this
Saying,
superficial.
I need some
you can call
time
it
to
unfair.
myself.
You can
It
rail
will
against
feel
it on
uncomfortable
social
at
media.
first,
And you'll be
almost
right,
like
it
breaking
is
a rule.
superficial.
Your
But
chest might
justice
tighten.
will not protect
Your
you
heart may
from the
race.
judgment of strangers.
That is not
Philosophy
guilt, it
will
is
not
simply
shield
your
you
nervous
from
system
snap
learning
judgments
that
in the
your
first
needs
3
are not
seconds.
threats.
The world will
Because
assess
the
you,
truth is,
categorize
discomfort
you,
is not
and
danger.
treat you
You are
accordingly whether you
rewiring
like it
the
or not.
emotional memory
Today,
that once
we
tied
address a
refusal
topic
to
of
abandon.
appearance and dignity.
You are showing
10
your inner
reasons
child the
why you
one
should
who
never
learned to please
look
to
poor
survive,
in public.
that you are safe
now,
now.
I am
And
not
as you
saying
practice,
you should be
something
ashamed
begins
of
to
being
happen.
poor.
Your
Poverty isn't
identity,
failing.
the one you
I am
buried
not
to
saying
keep others
spend money you don't
comfortable,
have.
begins
That
to return.
leads
You
to
start
debt.
to remember
Character
what
is
you
everything,
enjoy,
but
what you
appearance is
value,
the messenger of
what
that
you
character.
believe.
You owe it to yourself
You begin to
present
feel
yourself
the
in a way that
subtle
reflects your
warmth of
dignity,
self-respect,
your self-respect,
not loud,
and your
not
potential.
dramatic,
The Stoics
just a quiet,
understood this.
steady knowing.
There is a middle path.
And you learn a truth that changes
Appropriate
everything.
self-presentation,
You do not need
free
to
from
become
vanity,
cold
but
to
full of
protect yourself.
dignity. Not about
You
looking
only
rich,
need to become
but never
whole.
looking defeated. or
Boundaries are
diminished.
not walls.
Reason 1.
They are doors.
The first
And
3
doors
seconds
can
rule.
open, but only when
Psychologists
you choose
know
to open.
humans form impressions
not
within
rejecting
milliseconds.
others when
Judgments
you
are
say
made
no.
about competence and
You are simply
trustworthiness before
returning to
words are
yourself.
spoken. When you look
And
poor
now,
with worn
with your
clothes and
voice
unkempt
slowly
grooming,
returning,
you are communicating
we
that you are
arrive
not
at
a
the
person to
final
be taken
understanding,
seriously.
the one
It's
that
not
lingers
fair.
long after
Reason
the
2.
words are gone.
The
There is a
halo
moment
effect.
in
If we
every
perceive
life
someone as well
where you
presented,
realize that your
we
voice was
unconsciously
never meant to
assume
be
they are
an
also
echo.
intelligent,
You were not
kind,
born simply to
competent,
reflect what others
and
wanted,
trustworthy.
or to shape
Conversely,
yourself into
if
a
someone
shape that
appears
fits their
neglected,
expectations.
they are judged as less
You were born
competent.
with a
Dress
spine,
appropriately because you
a
care
pulse,
about being
a
effective
self,
in the world,
something
not
whole,
others' opinions.
something living.
Reason 3.
And yet, somewhere
The
along the
self-fulfilling
way,
prophecy.
you
When
learn
you look
to
poor,
trade your truth
you
for
feel poor.
acceptance.
When
To
you
offer
feel
yes
poor,
as
you
a
act
peace
poor.
offering.
And
To
you
hand yourself
stay
away
poor
in small
when you
pieces
neglect your
for the
appearance.
comfort of others.
You send a message
But a
to
yes that costs you
I'm
your
not worth
peace
the effort.
is not generosity.
External
It
actions
is
shape our
surrender.
internal states.
A
Reason
yes that silences
for
your truth is not kindness.
the opportunity
it is
cost.
self-erasure. If
Opportunities
your
do not
yes is
announce
to have
themselves.
meaning, if
They
it is
appear
to
in
be
moments of
an
conversation with a
expression
stranger.
of love, commitment, connection, then it must be chosen freely.
A chance encounter.
It cannot
How
be the
many
product of
opportunities
fear.
have you missed
It cannot
because
be the
someone judged
reflex
you
born of
unworthy
old wounds.
in those first seconds.
It
The
cannot
Stoic
be the
does
survival
not create
response of a
unnecessary
heart
obstacles.
that believes it must
Reason
earn its
5.
right to exist. Saying no is not rejection.
Your
Saying no
appearance
is
signals
clarity.
self-respect. If you do
Think
not
of a
value
person
yourself,
who moves through life
why should
without
anyone
boundaries.
else? It costs
They are
very little to
pulled
be
like a
clean.
leaf
Epictetus
in the wind,
said,
not living,
keep your body
but
in its
being
proper
carried.
condition,
Their
as a
life
soldier
becomes
keeps
a
his weapon.
series of obligations,
For readiness,
reactions,
for
and silent
effectiveness.
compromises.
It costs
Their
only
timeline
attention.
no longer feels
Reason
like their
6.
own because it isn't.
The
Now
unspoken
imagine
contract.
someone who knows
when you show up
themselves,
looking poor,
someone who
you are
knows
saying,
the shape of
I
their
do not
own
respect
inner
you
landscape,
enough to make an
their
effort.
values,
The world
their
owes you
limits,
nothing,
their
but it will
needs.
respond to the signals
When they
you
say
send.
yes,
Presentation
it
is
is
about
warm,
respecting the
is
interaction
real,
and the other person.
it is
Reason
grounded.
7.
Because it comes from a place
Good
that
presentation
is alive,
is
intact.
armor. When you look your
whole.
best,
This is the
you are less
quiet
vulnerable
power
to
of
the
no
slights
restores the
that come
weight
from
to your
looking
yes.
poor. When you know you
Yes,
look appropriate,
it will feel
you can focus
uncomfortable
on
at
what
first.
matters the
You will
conversation.
feel the echoes
work,
of old fears,
the connection.
the fear of
Presentation
disappointing
frees
someone,
you
of
from
being seen
distraction.
as selfish,
Reason
of
8.
being misunderstood.
Looking poor
But
and
every
being
act of
poor are not
self-respect
the same
begins
thing.
with
You can
discomfort.
have very little money and
Growth
still
always
present
arrives
yourself with
disguised
dignity.
as unease.
You can wear simple clothes that are
You are
clean
learning to
and well
return to
maintained.
yourself,
You can practice
to
good
inhabit your
grooming
life
that
from the
costs
inside,
nothing but time.
rather than
You can
observing
carry
it
yourself
from the
with
outside,
pride,
to speak
regardless of
from
your
truth
circumstances.
rather than fear.
Looking
Your
poor is
voice is
often
not
not about
meant
lack
to be
of money.
small.
It is about lack
Your
of care.
presence is not
The person
meant
who
to
has nothing but
disappear
maintains
into
their
the needs
appearance
of
is
others.
communicating.
Your life does
I
not
may have
belong
little,
to those who
but I am
demand your
not little.
compliance.
I
It
am still
belongs to the
here,
part of you that
and I
has
still
been
matter.
waiting
Reason
patiently
9.
to be seen.
The
And so we
Stoic
end
middle
here
path.
with the
They
truth
understood
you
that
have
virtue
always
lies
known,
not in
but
one
perhaps
extreme or
forgotten.
the other, but in
Your
the wise
life
mean
does not
between
begin
them.
when
On one
others
side is
approve of you.
vanity, the
It
obsession
begins
with
when you
appearance.
approve
On
of
the other
yourself.
side is neglect, the refusal to care for oneself. Both are forms of slavery. The Stoic walks the middle path. They care for their appearance because it is part of caring for themselves. They do not
Have you ever
invite
wondered
dismissal.
why in the
Epictetus
same
said,
world
"Make the
some
best use
people
of what
make
is in
it
your
submit,
power, and
while
take the rest
others
as it
live
happens.
forever in the fear
Your
of being
appearance is in
crushed
your
by it?"
power." Reason 10.
Jung said that this
You are a
world is not
representative
fair,
of something larger.
but it
You
has
represent
order.
your family,
And that
your
order
community,
begins
your
not out
values,
there,
and your mission.
but inside
if you
your
are an
mind.
entrepreneur, your
This world
appearance
is not
reflects on
your enemy.
business. If you are a
It
parent,
is a mirror reflecting your
appearance
mind.
reflects on your children.
Not everyone
Marcus
understands
Aurelius
that,
wrote,
because most
"We are
believe
made
they
for
are seeing
cooperation."
reality. But
When you
Carl
look
Jung
poor,
pointed out,
you are diminishing the
you do
cause
not
you
see the
represent
world as it
and the
is.
people you love.
you see the world
This is
as
not
you
about shame.
are.
There is no shame. in
Everything
having
you
little.
believe,
the shame
every
is in
image
giving
you
up,
hold in your mind,
neglecting yourself,
is silently
in
building
abandoning
the
your
reality
dignity.
around
Never
you.
go into debt for appearance.
For Jung, thinking is
That
not
is
just a
vanity.
tool,
The goal is to
but
look
a
like a person
destiny.
who respects themselves.
Each thought,
That costs
each
very little.
emotion
Character
is a
matters
seed
infinitely
sown
more
into
than
the
appearance.
field of the unconscious.
But appearance is the
Plant
messenger
doubt,
of character.
and you
the good
harvest
person with good
chaos.
presentation will have more
Sow
opportunities.
belief,
Marcus
and you
Aurelius
harvest
wrote,
power.
"You have power
This
over
journey
your
is
mind,
not about
outside
blame.
events. Realize
It is the
this,
path of
and you will
awareness,
find strength.
where light is not found above,
Stoic does not
but in
dress
the
for
very
others.
darkness
The
you
Stoic
once
dresses for
avoided.
themselves, as an
Take a
expression
deep
of
breath
self-respect,
and let go
as a
of
reflection
everything you
inner
think
order.
you know about
Cleanliness
reality.
costs nothing but effort.
Because this video
Shower
is not
regularly.
about
Brush your
ambition,
teeth.
not
Wash
about
your clothes.
success.
These are not
It is a
luxuries.
ritual
They are
descent
basics.
into the darkness
Iron
of
your
the
clothes.
mind, where you
Polish your
confront
shoes.
the
Then
beliefs that have
small
silently
tears.
shaped your fate.
A well-maintained and expensive
This is
item
not
looks
a
better
promise
than
of
a neglected
wealth or
expensive
power.
one. Postures free.
It is a journey to
Stand up
reclaim
straight.
your creative power,
Make eye contact.
the right to
Speak
decide
clearly.
what the world
These
will
cost
reflect
nothing
from
and
within you.
communicate everything.
Because only when you dare to
Simplicity is
look
elegant
into the
sometimes.
abyss of the
External
unconscious
care can spark internal
touch
change.
the most
When you
chaotic
force
place
yourself to
within
stand
yourself,
up straight, you
and
send a
realize
message.
that the one dreaming
I am
is the
still
one
fighting.
creating
Return
the dream.
to the center. Remember
that
that you are
very
more than
moment,
your appearance.
The world begins
Remember
to
that
change its
character is
shape.
everything. Care deeply,
Are you
but be
ready?
unattached. Seneca wrote,
Part
"The wise
1.
person will
The
not be
mind is
disturbed
not a
by
tool,
the opinions of
but a
others.
fate.
You care for yourself because
Number
you are worth
1.
caring for.
You
Waste
do
no
not
more time
control your
arguing
life.
about what a good person
You are
should
being
be.
controlled
Be
by
one.
your mind.
Part of being a good person is honoring your
You
own
think you are
dignity.
steering your life.
Show up as someone
You
who
make
matters
plans,
because you do.
you set
Make
goals,
the best use
you tell
of what is in
yourself,
your power.
I know what
Take
I'm
the
doing.
rest as it happens.
But perhaps you have never
Stoicism
asked,
is often
who is saying
misunderstood
that?
as a total
Who is the
disregard
I
for
behind the
material
voice in your
world.
head?
However, the way
If
we
you
present present
listen long
ourselves
enough,
is a
you will
profound
realize
expression
that
of
most of the
self-respect.
time,
The first
you
reason
are
is
not
the
truly
3-second
living.
rule.
You
Long
are
before
only
you speak,
reacting.
your presence tells a
That is
story.
reacting to
Perception
memories,
begins with
reacting
the
to
eyes,
fears,
not the ears.
reacting to
Then
old
there is
voices
the
in your
halo
head.
effect. When we
When
see
you get
order and
angry
care
without
in a person's
knowing why,
appearance, We
when you
instinctively
repeat the same
assume an orderly
mistake,
and disciplined
when you
mind
find
with it.
yourself
Your
drawn to
appearance
people who hurt
is a
you,
self-fulfilling
that is not a
prophecy.
conscious choice,
When you look like someone who
but the
values
compulsion
themselves,
of
you
invisible
begin to act like someone who
structures in the
values their
mind.
time and purpose.
The
Consider
personal
the
unconscious
opportunity
operates
cost of
like an
neglect.
outdated
The door may
operating
remain
system.
closed simply because
It
your
does not
outward
ask
chaos
what you
signaled
want.
a lack of
It
internal
only
readiness.
executes what has
Dressing
been
well
programmed.
is a signal of respect
Imagine
for others.
driving a
It
car,
acknowledges the
but
unspoken
the steering
contract
wheel
of
is in
social
the hands of a
interaction that
blind child.
you care enough
That
to
is
show
how
up
most
fully.
people
In
live.
professional environments,
They think they are
your
at the
presentation
wheel,
serves as
but in
armor.
reality,
It provides a
the
foundation
driver
of
is an
confidence that allows your
unrecognized
ideas
fragment
to
of
take center
memory.
stage. Stoic
What we
truth
call
teaches us that
personality,
cleanliness is about effort,
natural
not wealth. A
reactions,
simple
and
linen
habits
shirt, well
are
kept,
mostly traces
carries
of
more
the
dignity than
unconscious
expensive
living in our
vanity.
place.
We must walk the Stoic middle
Modern
path.
psychology calls this phenomenon
the trap of
the
superficial
tendency to
vanity,
automatically
but do not
behave
fall into the
according
vice
to
of
old
slovenly
patterns,
neglect.
because the brain wants to save
You are a
energy.
representative of your philosophy.
The brain
If you
hates
claim to have a
change,
disciplined mind,
and the
let your
unconscious
presence be
knows
the
that.
first proof of that discipline.
It
Practical
uses
dignity starts
emotional
with the
ruts,
basics.
familiar
Stand
shortcuts,
tall with good
to
posture.
lead you back to the
Ensure
old
your
place,
clothes fit your frame,
even if that
and
place
maintain
hurts you.
impeccable cleanliness.
That is
Marcus
why we
Aurelius
often
reminded
say,
us to be checked
I know
and
this is
controlled.
not good, but I can't stop.
This
Jung
applies to
saw
our
this
thoughts
early
and
on.
naturally flows
He called
into
it the
our physical
domination
presence.
of the
As
personal
Epictetus said,
unconscious,
make the
the
best use of what is
repository
in your
of all
power,
suppressed
and take the rest
experiences,
as it happens.
fears, desires, and complexes.
Your appearance is
They
within
do
your
not
power.
disappear. They only
The
sink
world is waiting to
and
see
then
who you
turn
are.
into
Don't
shadow.
tell them with words alone.
And that shadow
Show
will
up
gradually control your
like
behavior
Italiano.
from below.
Here is a truth that makes people
You may
uncomfortable.
deny it, but it
How
still
you look
lives.
in public determines how
And
the
the
world
more it
treats
is
you.
rejected,
Not
the
should,
stronger it
not
becomes. Try thinking
Determined.
about someone who always has to
You can call
control
this superficial.
everything.
You can call it
Perhaps
unfair.
their job, their lover,
You can rail
their
against it
future.
on social media.
They think
And you'll
it is
be
a sign
right,
of strength.
is superficial.
But in
justice
truth,
will
it is
not
often a
protect
sign
you
of fear
from the
of
judgment
losing
of
control.
strangers. Philosophy
An
will not
unconscious
shield you
fear,
from snap
perhaps
judgments in the
formed
first
in
3
childhood,
seconds. The world will
when the
assess
child
you,
felt the world
categorize
too
you, and
unstable
treat you
and
accordingly,
learned
whether
to
you like
grip
it or not.
everything
Today,
to survive.
we address a topic of
Now,
appearance
as an
and
adult,
dignity.
they
10
do not
reasons why you
realize
should
that this
never
very
look
need
poor
for
in
control
public.
is
Now,
what robs
I am
them
not
of freedom.
saying you should be
We
ashamed
often call
of being
those
poor.
repeating
Poverty
chains
isn't
of
failing.
behavior
I
personality.
am not saying
But
spend
for
money you
Jung,
don't have.
they are
That
manifestations
leads
of the
to death.
unconscious revealing itself.
Character is everything.
He did
but
not see
appearance is
people
the
as
messenger of
rational
that character.
individuals,
You owe it to yourself.
but as
to
universes
present
of
yourself in a way that
symbols.
reflects your dignity.
Every
your
action,
self-respect,
every
and your
choice is a
potential.
message from
The
depths
Stoics
that
understood this.
consciousness cannot
There
reach.
is a middle path.
When you
Appropriate
choose a job that
self-presentation,
exhausts you,
free from vanity.
when you
but
love
full of
someone
dignity.
exactly
Not about
like the
looking
one
rich,
who once hurt you,
but never looking defeated.
that is not a
or diminished.
coincidence.
Reason 1.
It is the unconscious
The
trying
first
to
3
complete
seconds
an
rule.
unfinished story.
Psychologists know
That is why
humans
Jung
form
did not
impressions
teach people
within
to
milliseconds.
think
Judgments are made
positively.
about competence and
He
trustworthiness
taught them to
before
see,
words are
to
spoken.
recognize
when you
the
look poor
thinker
with
in
worn
their
clothes
head.
and unkempt grooming, you
He
are
believed
communicating
that the
you are not
mind
a
is
person
not a
to be
tool
taken
to
seriously.
control the world,
It's not fair.
but the thread
Reason
connecting the conscious
the
self
halo effect.
to the
If we perceive
unconscious
someone as well
that
presented,
runs
we
everything.
unconsciously assume they are also
When you do
intelligent,
not understand your
kind,
mind,
competent,
you are not
and
using
trustworthy.
it.
Conversely,
You are being
if
used
someone
by it.
appears neglected,
Pay
they are
attention.
judged as less competent.
Life always
Dress
repeats
appropriately
until
because
you
care
learn the
about
lesson
being
it
effective
sends.
in the world.
Not because
Not
fate
others'
wants to
opinions.
torment
Reason
you,
3.
but because the
The
unconscious
self-fulfilling
wants you to
prophecy.
become
When you look
conscious.
poor,
When you
you
look,
feel poor.
the cycle stops.
when you feel
When you
poor,
do not look,
you act
it
poor,
continues.
and you stay poor.
The
When
outside
you neglect your
world
appearance,
is only a screen
You send a
reflecting
message to
the
yourself.
inner images you have not yet recognized.
I am not worth the effort.
If you do not
External
believe
actions
it,
shape our internal
observe
states.
yourself for
Reason
a day.
4.
When someone insults you,
The
the
opportunity
first
cost.
reaction does not come
Opportunities
from
do
you.
not announce themselves.
It comes from
they
an
appear
old
in moments
wound.
of conversation with a stranger.
When you worry, that worry does not truly belong to the present. It is an
a
emotional
chance encounter,
memory you are
how many
repeating.
opportunities have you missed?
When you feel
because
the
someone
need to
judged you
prove your
unworthy
worth,
in those first
that is
seconds.
not a
The
real
Stoic
need.
does not
It
create
is a cry for
unnecessary
help
obstacles.
from an inner
Reason
part
5.
that has never been acknowledged. And the most terrifying thing
Your
is,
appearance signals
the
self-respect.
unconscious has no
if you do not
morality.
value yourself,
it
why
does
should
not
anyone
care
else?
what is
It
good or
costs
bad.
Very little to be clean.
It is only
Epictetus
loyal
said,
to the emotional
keep
energy
your body
you
in its proper
repeat.
condition, as a
If you
soldier
keep
keeps his
thinking
weapon.
you are small,
For
it
readiness,
will help you create
for
circumstances
effectiveness. It
that
costs
prove you are
only
truly
attention.
small.
Reason 6.
If you believe the world is
unspoken
against
contract.
you,
When you show up
it will
looking
make you
poor,
see only
you are saying,
evidence that
I do not
reinforces
respect you
that
enough to
belief.
make an effort. The
You
world
think you are
owes
looking
you
at the
nothing,
world,
but it will
but
respond
in truth,
to the signals you send.
you are only looking at
Presentation
the
is about
reflection
respecting the
of
interaction and the other
beliefs
person.
in your
Reason
mind.
7.
Jung said that this
Good
is not just
presentation
cognitive
is
bias,
armor. When you
but
look
the
your
law
best,
of operation
you are
of
less
the
vulnerable
psyche.
to the slights that come from
Consciousness
looking
chooses
poor.
something,
When you know you look
and
appropriate,
the unconscious
you can
makes it
focus on what
reality.
matters the conversation,
Not by
the
magic,
work,
but because
connection.
psychological
Presentation
energy
frees you
always seeks
from
to
distraction.
manifest in
Reason 8.
corresponding material
Looking
form.
poor and being
So what
poor
happens
are not
when
the
you
same
start
thing.
to see?
You can have very little money
When
and
you
still
stop identifying
present yourself
with the stream of
dignity.
thoughts
You can wear simple
and
clothes
begin
that
to
are
observe
clean
the
and
mind
well-maintained.
itself,
You can practice good
a
grooming
separation
that costs
begins to
nothing but
occur,
time. You
which
can carry
Jung
yourself with
called the
pride,
process of
regardless of your
individuation.
circumstances.
For the
Looking
first
poor is often
time,
not about
you
lack of
realize
money.
that
It is
you are
about
not
lack of care.
your
The person
thoughts.
who has nothing but
You
maintains
are
their
the one
appearance is
observing
communicating.
those thoughts.
I may have
And
little,
when you
but I
realize
am not
that,
little. I
you
am still
reclaim
here.
the key to
I still
freedom.
matter. Reason 9.
But remember,
The Stoic
this does not
middle
come
path.
from
They understood
forcing
that virtue
yourself
lies
to
not
think
in one
positively.
extreme or the other.
It
but
comes
in the
from
wise
being
mean
honest
between
with
them.
your own
On one
shadow.
side is vanity.
You
The
cannot
obsession with
master what you
appearance.
do not
On the
dare
other
to
side
look
is
at.
neglect.
And you will never
Refusal to
control
care
your
for
life
oneself.
until you
Both
learn to
are
confront the
forms of
real
slavery.
controller
The
inside
Stoic
you.
walks the middle path.
the mind.
They care for their appearance because
Number
it's part
2.
of caring for themselves.
Thinking
They
is
do
not just thought.
invite dismissal.
It is the
Epictetus
summons
said,
that calls
"Make
forth
the
the
best use
outside
of what is in
world.
your power and take
When
the
you
rest as
begin
it
to see
happens."
that you do not
Your
truly
appearance is
control
in
your
power.
mind,
Reason 10.
another truth gradually
You are a
emerges,
representative of something
more
larger.
frightening,
You represent
but
your
also
family,
more
your
sacred.
community, your values,
It is.
and your mission. If
Each
you are
of
an
your
entrepreneur,
thoughts does not
your
just
appearance
pass through
reflects
your
on your
head,
business. If
but
you are
is
a
being
parent,
listened to by the
your
world.
appearance reflects on your children.
What you think
Marcus
never
Aurelius
disappears.
wrote,
It
"We are
calls
made
forth
for
circumstances
cooperation.
corresponding to its
When
energy.
you look poor, you are
The way
diminishing
you
the
think
cause
not
you
only
represent
shapes
and the people
emotions,
you love.
but summons reality.
This is not about shame.
Jung
There is no
once
shame
said,
in having little.
"Who looks
the shame is in
outside
giving up,
dreams,
in
who
neglecting
looks
yourself,
inside
in abandoning
awakes."
your dignity. Never
That
go
saying
into
is
debt
not
for
beautiful
appearance.
philosophy, but an
That is
accurate
vanity.
description of
The
how
goal
the
is to
world
look like a
operates.
person who respects
We think we are
themselves.
living in a
It
physical
costs very
world,
little.
but
Character
in
matters
truth, we
infinitely
are living
more
in a
than
world
appearance.
shaped by the mind.
But appearance is the messenger
You
of
do not
character.
see things
A
as
good
they
person
are.
with good presentation
You
will
only
have
see
more
the
opportunities.
reflection of your
Marcus Aurelius
consciousness
wrote,
through them.
"You have power
When your
over
mind
your
is
not
disordered,
outside events.
the world
Realize
around
this,
you seems
and you will
chaotic
find
too.
strength.
When there is order
Stoic does not
inside
dress
you,
for others. The
everything
Stoic dresses
outside
for
begins
themselves
to fall
as an
into
expression
line.
of self-respect.
Thinking
As a
is not
reflection
just
of inner
brain
order.
activity.
Cleanliness costs
It is the
nothing but
language of the
effort.
soul.
Shower
Each
regularly.
thought
Brush
emits
your
like a
teeth.
frequency,
Wash your
a
clothes.
subtle vibration,
These are not
spreading
luxuries.
into the
They are
invisible
basics.
space of the
Iron your
collective
clothes.
unconscious.
Polish your shoes.
They
Men,
connect with
small
circumstances,
tears.
people,
A
and
well-maintained and
opportunities at the
expensive
same
item looks better
frequency,
than a neglected
and
expensive
weave
one.
the picture
Posture
we
is free.
call my
Stand up
life.
straight.
If
Make
you
eye
think you are
contact.
small,
Speak
you
clearly.
will only see
These cost
evidence
nothing
of
and
smallness.
communicate everything.
If you believe
Simplicity
people are
is elite.
suspicious,
Sometimes
you will meet
external
only
care can spark
betrayers.
internal change.
If
When
you
force
carry a
yourself to
sense of
stand up
worthiness
straight,
within you,
you send a message.
the world will bring doors
I am
that
still
open
fighting.
only for those
Return
who know their
to
own
the
value.
center. Remember that you
The
are more than your
unconscious is not
appearance.
magic, but
Remember
it
that
works by the
character is
law
everything.
of symbols.
Care deeply, but
It
be
does not
unattached.
understand the
Seneca
language
wrote,
of reason,
"The wise
but the
person will
language
not
of
be
images,
disturbed by the opinions
of emotions,
others. You care
of
for
beliefs.
yourself because you are worth
Thus,
caring for.
every time
Waste
you
no more
think,
time arguing
you are
about
sending
what
a
good person
symbolic
should be.
code
Be one.
into the inner space,
Part of being a good
and the
person is
world
honoring
responds
your
by
dignity.
rearranging
Show up as someone who matters
circumstances
because
to
you
match
do.
that
Make the
code.
best use of what is in
Think
your
about
power.
a morning when you
Take the
wake
rest
up in a
as it
bad mood.
happens.
You are
Stoicism is
irritated
often
by
misunderstood
oversleeping,
as a total
by the weather,
disregard
by
for the
work.
material world. However,
On the way,
the way
you
we present
encounter only
ourselves
difficult
is a profound
people.
expression of
The car in
self-respect.
front
The
blocks
first
the
reason
road.
is the 3
A
second
colleague
rule.
is standoffish,
Long before you speak,
and someone
your
says
presence
something
tells a
that makes
story.
you
Perception
angry.
begins with the eyes,
You
not the
conclude that
ears.
today
Then
is a
there is
bad
the
day.
halo effect.
But
When we
what you
see
do
order
not
and
see
care in a
is
person's
that your
appearance,
mind's
we
energy field
instinctively
has
assume
created
an
that
orderly and
badness.
disciplined mind within.
You
Your
step into into the
appearance
world like a
is a
magnet,
self-fulfilling
and you
prophecy.
attract everything
When you look
that
like someone who
matches the
values
frequency
themselves,
you are
you begin Begin to act like someone who values their
On
time
another
and
day,
purpose.
you feel
Consider
light,
the opportunity
grateful,
cost of neglect.
trusting.
A door may remain closed
Suddenly,
simply because
everything
your outward
flows.
chaos signaled a lack
Strangers
of internal
smile
readiness.
at you.
Dressing well
Work becomes
is a
easier,
signal of
and
respect
small
for
things
others.
turn out
It
favorably.
acknowledges the unspoken contract
That is
of
not a
social
miracle.
interaction that
That is reality's
care enough to
response to
show
the
up
wave
fully.
of your
In
thinking.
professional environments,
Just
your
as water
presentation
only
serves as
reflects
armor.
the
It
shape of
provides
the
a
one
foundation
gazing
of
into
confidence
it,
that allows your
the world
ideas
can
to take
only
center
show
stage.
itself exactly
Stoic truth
as what
teaches
you
us that
bring to
cleanliness
it.
is about effort, not
Jung
wealth.
called
A simple
this the
linen
principle
shirt,
of
well
meaningful
kept,
coincidence.
carries more dignity than
When
expensive
the mind
vanity.
reaches a
We must
certain
walk
level
the
of
Stoic middle
attunement,
path.
coincidental events
Avoid the
begin to
trap of
happen.
superficial vanity.
You
But
think
do
of
not fall
someone,
into the
and
vice
they
of slovenly
call.
neglect.
You long for a direction,
You are a
and an
representative of your
opportunity
philosophy.
suddenly
If you claim to
appears.
have a disciplined mind, let
Nothing
your presence be
is
the first
random.
proof of that discipline.
The
Practical
universe
dignity
is only
starts with the
responding
basics.
to the vibration
Stand
of
tall
thought
with
you
good
emit.
posture. Ensure your
What is
clothes fit your
noteworthy
frame.
is that most of us
Maintain
do not
impeccable
think with
cleanliness.
intention.
Marcus
We
Aurelius
think by
reminded us to be
habit.
checked and controlled.
Thinking is not an action we control, but a controlled reaction.
This applies to our thoughts.
And so,
naturally
we
flows
continuously
into our
emit
physical
repeating
presence.
signals,
As Epictetus
fear,
said,
scarcity,
make the best use
doubt,
of what is in your
and
power,
comparison.
and take the rest as
And
it
the
happens.
world, honest to the point of ruthlessness,
Your appearance is
responds
within your power.
exactly to what we send.
The world is
When
waiting
we
to see who
cry,
you are.
why
Don't
do
tell
I
them with
always
words
encounter
alone.
difficulties?
Show up. Like
The
Italiano.
answer lies
Here is a
right in the
truth that makes
signals we
people
are emitting.
uncomfortable.
We are
you look in
vibrating
public
at the
determines how the
frequency
world
of
treats you.
difficulty.
Not should.
Thus,
not might.
thinking never just stops in your
Determines.
head. It is
You
a
can call this
creative
superficial.
action.
You can call
It
it
is an
unfair.
invitation.
You can rail
It is the
against it on
summoning
social
ritual
media,
you
and
perform
you'll be right,
every
it
day,
is
whether you
superficial.
realize it
But
or
justice
not.
will not protect
Every time you
from the
think,
judgment of
you are
strangers.
drawing a line of
Philosophy
energy
will not
into the
shield
invisible,
you from snap
and the
judgments in
invisible
first 3
will
seconds.
answer.
The world will assess you.
The only question
categorize
is,
you, and
what are
treat
you summoning?
accordingly, whether you like
Belief
it or not.
or
Today,
fear?
we address a topic
Fullness
of appearance
or lack?
and dignity. 10
One who
reasons why you
understands
should
this
never
will live
look
differently.
poor in public.
They do not try to
I am
control
not saying
everything,
you should be
because they
ashamed
know
of
the
being
important
poor.
thing is
Poverty
not
isn't
the
failing.
outcome, but the
I am not
frequency
saying
they carry
spend
in the
money you don't
process
have.
of reaching
That
it.
leads to
They
debt.
do not repeat, I want
Character is
success,
everything, but
but
appearance
think
is
like
the
someone
messenger
who
of that
has
character.
succeeded.
You owe it to yourself.
They do not
to present
beg
yourself
for
in a way that
respect.
reflects your dignity.
They act like
your
someone
self-respect,
worthy of
and your
respect.
potential. The Stoics
Because they
understood
understand
this.
that the
There
unconscious
is a middle
does not
path.
distinguish between
Appropriate
desire
self-presentation,
and reality.
free from vanity,
It
but
only
full of
listens to
dignity.
the strongest
Not about looking
belief
rich,
you emit.
but never looking defeated.
A real example.
Reason 1.
In research on the Pygmalion
The first
effect,
3 seconds rule.
psychologists discovered that
know
students
humans
tend to
form
perform
impressions
exactly
within
as their
milliseconds.
teachers expect
Judgments are
of
made
them.
about competence and trustworthiness.
If teachers
before
believe
words
a
are spoken.
student
When
has
you look
potential,
poor with worn
the
clothes and
teacher's
unkempt grooming,
unconscious
you are
will change
communicating
their
that you are not a
tone,
person to be
their
taken
gaze,
seriously.
their
It's not
encouragement,
fair.
and
Reason
that
2.
student truly
The halo
improves.
effect. If we perceive someone as
The
well
world
presented,
operates the
we
same
unconsciously
way.
assume they are also
It treats
intelligent,
you the way you
kind,
treat yourself
competent,
in
and
thought.
trustworthy.
Therefore,
Conversely,
if you keep
someone
telling your
appears
mind,
neglected,
I
they are
am
judged
trying,
as less competent.
the
Dress
world will
appropriately because
continue
you
to
care
give
about
you
being effective
opportunities
in the world,
to try.
others' opinions.
But if you say, I am living as one
Self-fulfilling
who has
prophecy.
achieved,
When you look poor,
the unconscious will
you
begin
feel
to
poor.
rearrange the entire
When you feel
system
poor,
of beliefs,
you act poor,
emotions, and
stay
behaviors
poor when you
to
neglect
match
your
that
appearance.
image.
You send a
Not
message to yourself.
auto-suggestion, but
not worth the
restructuring
effort.
reality through belief.
External actions shape our internal
Jung
states.
once likened the
Reason
mind to a
4.
miniature universe, where each
The
thought
opportunity
is a
cost.
shining star.
Opportunities do not announce
Those
themselves.
stars connect
They appear in
into
moments of conversation
constellations
with a
that
stranger.
guide fate. If you want to change the journey, do not try to
A
push the
chance
ship in
encounter.
another
How many
direction,
opportunities have you missed?
Change the
because someone
guiding
judged you
constellation.
unworthy in those first seconds.
and perhaps,
the Stoic
right
does
now,
not create
a
unnecessary
star
obstacles.
within you has
Reason
just
5.
softly lit up. Let it lead you to a thought,
Your
a
appearance
memory,
signals
or
self-respect.
a moment in life
If you do not
when
value
you once
yourself,
saw the world
why should
reflecting
anyone
your
else?
mind.
It costs very
Write
little
it
to be
down.
clean. Epictetus
Say it
said,
out.
Keep your
Share
body
it
in its
below
proper
with us,
condition,
if you can.
as a soldier keeps his weapon.
Because every story you tell
for readiness,
is not just a
for
comment.
effectiveness.
It is a
costs
fragment of
only
light
attention.
sent into the
Reason
collective
6.
unconscious.
The unspoken
And
contract.
who knows,
when you show
from
up
that
looking
light,
poor,
someone
you are
else
saying,
may find their
I
own
do not
path.
respect you enough to make an effort.
Number
The
3.
world owes you
Change
nothing,
does
but
not
it will
begin
respond
from action,
to the signals you
but
send.
from redefining
Presentation is about
who am
respecting
I.
the interaction and the
When
other
you
person.
begin to
Reason
understand
7.
that thinking is not just thought,
Good
but the summons of the
presentation
world,
is
an
armor.
inevitable
When you look your
question
best,
will arise.
You are less vulnerable to the
So who is the
slights
one
that come
thinking?
from looking poor.
Because
when you
if
know
the
you
world
look
reflects
appropriate,
you,
you can
then
focus
who
on what
is
matters
this
the conversation.
you?
The work.
Is it the person
connection.
working, striving,
Presentation
worrying
frees
every
you
day?
from distraction.
Or something
Reason
deeper,
8.
quieter,
Looking
that
poor
you have never
and
dared
being
to
poor
face?
are not the same thing.
This is where
You can
the
have very
real
little
journey
money and
begins,
still
where you
present yourself
realize
with
that all
dignity.
lasting
You can wear
change
simple clothes
does
that
not
are clean
start
and
from
well
action,
maintained. You can
but from
practice good grooming
redefining
that
the
costs
self.
nothing but time.
Modern
You can carry
people
yourself with
always
pride,
think that to change their
regardless of your
lives,
circumstances.
they must do something
Looking
different.
poor is often not
Change
about lack
jobs,
of money.
change
It is about
environments,
lack of care.
change
The
lovers,
person who has nothing
change
but maintains
goals.
their appearance is communicating.
But all those
I may
actions
have little,
are merely
but I am
changing
not
the
little.
costume
I am
for the
still
same
here,
old
and I
self.
still matter. Reason
You
9.
can change jobs,
The Stoic
but if
middle
inside
path.
you still
They
believe
understood
you
that
are
virtue
unworthy,
lies not in one
you will
extreme
repeat
or
the
the
same
other,
vicious
but in the
cycle
wise mean
anywhere.
between them. On one side
You
is
can
vanity,
walk away from a
the
relationship,
obsession with appearance.
but if
On
your
the other side
unconscious
is
still
neglect,
believes, I am
the
not
refusal
good
to care
enough
for
to be
oneself.
loved,
Both
you will
are forms of
unconsciously
slavery.
seek out
The
the
Stoic
exact
walks
type
the middle
of
path.
person
They care
who
for their
makes you
appearance
prove that
because it's
belief.
part of caring for themselves.
Jung
They
called
do
this the
not
projection of
invite
the inner
dismissal.
world
Epictetus
outward.
said, Make
We
the best
think
use
we
of what
are
is in your
meeting
power, and
others,
take the rest as it
but
happens.
in truth, we
Your
are
appearance
only
is in your
confronting
power.
the reflection
Reason
of
10.
inner definitions.
You are a representative of
The
something
world
larger.
does not give
you
us what
represent
we
your
want,
family, your
but what
community,
we believe
your
we
values,
are.
and your mission. If you are
Therefore,
an entrepreneur,
every
your
external
appearance reflects
action,
on your business.
if not
if you are a
guided by a
parent,
change in
your appearance
self-definition,
reflects on your
will
children.
only be a
Marcus
repetition
Aurelius
in a
wrote,
different form.
We are made for cooperation.
Try observing how a person
When you
talks
look
about
poor,
themselves.
you are diminishing the cause
I am the
you
type
represent
who is not
and the
good at
people you love.
communicating.
This
I
is
am a
not about
worrier.
shame. There is no
I am
shame
an
in having
impatient
little.
person.
The shame is in giving up.
Each such statement is a
neglecting
command
yourself,
sent to
in
the
abandoning
unconscious.
Your dignity. Never
The
go
brain,
into debt for
with all its
appearance.
adaptive and learning
That is
abilities,
vanity. The goal
will
is to
find
look like a
ways
person
to
who respects
reinforce that
themselves.
truth.
That costs very
You
little.
no longer
Character
act
matters
freely.
infinitely more than
You
appearance.
act like an actor, following a
appearance is
script
the
that
messenger
you
of character.
yourself have
A
written
good
with the
person with good
words,
presentation
I
will have more
am.
opportunities. Marcus
This
Aurelius
is also the
wrote,
collection of beliefs you
have power
carry
over
about
your mind,
yourself,
not outside
who
events.
you are,
Realize
what
this,
you deserve,
and you will find
what
strength.
you can achieve, who
The
you
Stoic
should
does not
become.
dress for others. The Stoic
And the
dresses for
terrifying thing
themselves
is,
as an
people
expression of
rarely
self-respect,
check whether that
as a
concept
reflection
was
of inner
truly
order.
chosen by
Cleanliness
themselves.
costs nothing but effort.
Most of the time,
Shower
it was
regularly.
written
Brush
by
your
other
teeth.
hands.
Wash your clothes.
Parents,
These are not
society,
luxuries.
religion,
They are
childhood
basics.
memories.
Iron your clothes.
Imagine a
Polish
rose
your
seed
shoes.
sown in a
Then
field of
small
weeds,
tears.
and from childhood
A
it is told that
well-maintained
it is
and
grass.
expensive item looks
It
better than
learns
a
to bend
neglected
with the wind,
expensive one.
to fear
Posture's
growing
free.
thorns, to
Stand
fear
up
releasing
straight.
its fragrance,
Make
because
eye
it
contact.
fears being
Speak
different.
clearly. These cost
But
nothing
the essence
and
of the
communicate
rose
everything.
does not disappear.
Simplicity is elegant.
It only
Sometimes
sleeps under layers
external
of
care
fear,
can spark internal change.
waiting for
When
the
you
day
force
it
yourself to
is
stand up
called by
straight,
its true
you send a
name.
message.
Humans are the
I am
same.
still fighting. Return
You cannot
to the
become
center.
someone else.
Remember that you are more
You can
than
only
your appearance.
awaken your original
Remember
self.
that character is everything. Care
Action
deeply,
arising from the
but be
ego
unattached.
only creates
Seneca
effort.
wrote, "The wise person
But
will
action
not be
arising
disturbed
from the
by
self
opinions of
creates
others.
natural
You care
power.
for yourself.
The
Because
one
you are
who
worth caring
does
for.
to prove
Waste
who they
no more
are
time
will
arguing
always be
about
exhausted.
What a good person should be.
The one who
Be
knows
one.
who they are,
Part of
every
being a good
action
person
of
is
theirs
honoring your
carries
dignity.
force.
Show
You
up as
can
someone
feel
who
it in
matters
people
because you
who
do.
are truly
Make
present.
the best use of what is
They
in
do
your
not
power.
need to be loud,
Take the rest as
but
it
you
happens.
sense in them a
Stoicism
clarity,
is often
an invisible
misunderstood as a
weight.
total disregard
That
for
is
the
not
material
surface
world.
confidence.
However, the way
It
we
is the
present
energy of a
ourselves
self
is a profound
that has
expression
unified
of
with
self-respect.
itself.
The first reason
A
is the
classic
3-second
example
rule.
is Viktor Frankl,
Long before you speak,
the psychologist
your
who
presence
survived
tells
the
a story.
Nazi
Perception
concentration
begins with the
camps.
eyes, not
In
the ears.
horrific circumstances,
Then there is the
when
halo
everything was
effect.
stripped
When we
away,
see order and
he
care
still
in a
retained
person's
the
appearance,
last freedom,
we instinctively
the
assume
right to
an
define
orderly
who
and
he was in
disciplined
any
mind within.
situation.
Your Your appearance
He did not
is a
see himself as a
self-fulfilling
victim,
prophecy.
but
When
as
you
an
look like
observer
someone
of
who
human
values
functioning
themselves,
in despair.
you begin to act like someone who values
That
their time and
definition
purpose.
saved him.
Consider the opportunity
Frankel
cost
said,
of neglect.
"Between
The door may remain
stimulus and
closed
response,
simply because your
there is a
outward chaos
space.
signaled the lack of internal readiness.
In that space
Dressing well
is our power
a
to
signal of
choose
respect
our
for
response.
others. It acknowledges the
In
unspoken
our
contract
response
of social
lies our
interaction that
growth and our
You care
freedom.
enough to show up fully. In
Jung would
professional
call that
environments,
space the
your
moment when
presentational
consciousness
presentation serves as armor.
awakens.
It provides a foundation of confidence
Change
that allows
does
your
not
ideas
begin
to
when
take
you
center
force
stage.
yourself to
Stoic
do
truth
differently.
teaches us that
It
cleanliness
begins
is about
when
effort,
you see yourself
not
from
wealth. A simple linen
outside the
shirt,
thoughts.
well kept, carries
When you
more
are no
dignity
longer
than
the one
expensive
swept
vanity.
along by
We
the
must
stream
walk the
of
Stoic middle
thoughts,
path.
but the one observing
Avoid the
it.
trap of superficial vanity.
Then
but do not fall
you
into
touch
the
the
vice
part of
slovenly
yourself
neglect.
that is not defined by time or
You are a
roles.
representative of your
And
philosophy.
when that
if you claim
I
to have a
is
disciplined mind,
redefined,
let your
the
presence be
world
the first
begins to
proof of that
rearrange
discipline.
itself to
Practical
reflect
dignity
the
starts
new
with the
self
basics.
truly.
Stand tall
You think
with
the
good
world
posture.
changes through
Ensure
action,
your clothes fit your
but
frame,
action is
and
only
maintain
the
impeccable
consequence.
cleanliness. Marcus
The root
Aurelius
of every
reminded us to
action
be
is
checked and
identity.
controlled.
You cannot act as a free person if in
This
your
applies
heart
to our thoughts,
you still
and
believe
naturally
you are
flows
imprisoned.
into our physical presence.
You
As
cannot love
Epictetus said,
authentically if
make the
deep
best
down
use of what is in your
you
power,
still think
and
you
take
are
the rest
unworthy.
as it happens.
Every great human action,
Your
from
appearance is within
Gandhi
your
to
power.
Jung, from those
The
who
world
dare
is
to
waiting to
rise
see
after
who you
despair,
are. Don't tell them
begins
with words alone.
redefining
Show
oneself.
up. Like
Try
Italian.
looking back.
Here is a truth that
Who
makes
are you
people
acting as?
uncomfortable.
As the fearful
How you look
or
in
the
public
trusting?
determines how the
As the
world treats
victim
you.
or the creator?
Not should,
As the one
not
fleeing
might.
or the one returning?
Determines.
Every thought you hold,
You
every
can call
word
this
you say,
superficial.
every
You can call it
choice you
unfair.
make answers that
You can
question,
rail against it on
whether you
social
are
media.
conscious of
And you
it
will
or
be
not.
righted is superficial.
And if you do not
but
answer it
justice
yourself,
will not protect
the
you
world
from
will
the
answer
judgment
for
of
you
strangers.
with
Philosophy will
circumstances
not
that
shield
force you
from
to
snap
learn
judgments
who
in the
you
first
are.
3 seconds. The world will assess
Part
you,
2.
categorize
The
you,
unconscious,
and treat you
the silent
accordingly, whether you
architect
like
of
it or not.
reality.
Today,
But no
we
matter
address a
how much you
topic of
control your
appearance
thinking,
and dignity.
there is still a
10
deeper
reasons
part within
why
you,
you should never
silent,
look poor
ancient,
public.
and
Now,
steadfast,
I am not
quietly
saying
directing
you should
everything.
be ashamed of being poor.
Thinking is
Poverty
not the
isn't
ruler.
failing.
It is only a
I am
thin
not saying
veil
spend
draped
money you
over a
don't
much
have.
vaster
That
kingdom,
leads
the
to
unconscious. And if the
Character is
mind is the
everything,
tool for
but appearance
guidance,
is the messenger
then the
of that
unconscious
character.
is the
You owe it to
architect.
yourself to present
We
yourself
think we
in a way
are
that reflects your
choosing our
dignity,
thoughts,
your
our
self-respect,
emotions,
and your
our
potential.
actions.
The Stoics
But in truth,
understood this.
most of them were
There is a
shaped
middle
long
path.
ago, before we
Appropriate
even knew how to
self-presentation.
name them.
Free from vanity,
Every
but full
reaction,
of dignity.
every fear,
Not about looking
every
rich,
desire that
but never looking
surges in a
defeated
moment
or diminished.
is an echo
Reason
from
1.
that invisible part.
The first 3 seconds
And this is
rule.
where the real
Psychologists
journey begins,
know humans
where you
form
stop trying
impressions
to
within
think
milliseconds.
better
Judgments are made
and
about
start
competence
looking
and
straight into the
trustworthiness
source
before
of
words
every
are spoken.
thought.
When you look poor
Because
with worn
only when you
clothes and
confront
unkempt
the
grooming, you
darkness
are
that
communicating
builds
that you are not a
reality
person to be
do
taken
you
seriously.
truly touch
It's
your
not fair.
own creative
Reason
power.
2. The halo effect.
Number
if we
1,
perceive someone as well
everything
presented,
you do not
we
confront
unconsciously assume
will
they are
come
also
back to
intelligent,
control you.
kind, competent, and
There
trustworthy.
is something strange
Conversely,
about humans.
If someone appears
We always
neglected,
believe
they
that
are
what we
judged as less
avoid
competent.
will
Dress
disappear.
appropriately because you care
We
about
pretend
being
not
effective
to
in
see.
the world.
We
Not
fill
others'
ourselves with
opinions.
work,
Reason 3.
entertainment,
The
social
self-fulfilling
media,
prophecy. When you
relationships,
look poor,
and think that in
you
doing
feel
so
poor.
we have moved on.
when you feel
But
poor,
the unconscious
you
does not
act poor,
forget.
and you
It does
stay
not
poor
erase.
when you
It
neglect
only
your
buries.
appearance.
And
send a
everything
message to
buried does
yourself.
not die. It only hides,
I'm not worth the
waiting
effort.
for the day to return.
External actions shape our internal
Jung
states.
called it the shadow,
Reason 4.
a psychological entity that is not
The opportunity
evil,
cost.
but the part of
Opportunities
you
do
that
not
is
announce
rejected,
themselves. They appear in
denied,
moments of conversation
pushed
with a
out of the
stranger.
light of consciousness. And it is precisely that part that
A
holds
chance
the
encounter.
greatest power.
How many opportunities have you
Jung once
missed
said,
because someone
until
judged
you make the
unworthy
unconscious
in those first
conscious,
seconds.
it
The
will
Stoic
direct your
does
life
not create
and you will
unnecessary
call it
obstacles.
fate.
Reason 5.
What you do not recognize in yourself will automatically become
Your
the
appearance
invisible
signals
driver.
self-respect.
The
if
more
you do
you
not
deny
value
it,
yourself,
the stronger
why
it
should
becomes.
anyone else? It costs
The more
very
you
little
flee,
to be clean.
the more
Epictetus
it
said,
pursues.
keep your body in its proper
Look around
condition,
you.
as
The
a
loops
soldier
in
keeps his
life
weapon.
all follow the same
For
pattern.
readiness.
The woman who
for
always meets the
effectiveness.
same type
It
of man
costs
who hurts
only
her.
attention.
The
Reason
man
6.
who always falls into
The
situations
unspoken
that
contract.
prove,
When
I
you
am
show
not
up
good
looking
enough.
poor, you are
The
saying,
father you once
I do not
feared
respect you
now
enough to make an
becomes the
effort.
model you unconsciously
The world owes
repeat
you nothing,
in how
but it
you
will
behave
respond
with your
to
own
the signals
child.
you send.
None
Presentation
of
is
that
about
is
respecting
random.
the interaction and
It is the
other person.
unconscious
Reason
seeking
7.
to be seen.
Good
The
presentation
unconscious does
is
not speak in
armor.
words.
When you look your
It
best,
speaks in
you are less
symbols.
vulnerable to the slights
When you refuse
that
to
come from
listen,
looking poor.
it will
When
speak
you know
through
you look
events.
appropriate, you can
If you do
focus
not
on what
heed
matters,
your
the
emotions,
conversation,
it will send
the
a
work,
person to make you
the
feel
connection,
them.
presentation
If you
frees
refuse
you
to
from
stop,
distraction.
it will
Reason
make you
8.
collapse.
Looking poor and being
Illness,
poor are not the
crisis,
same thing.
breakdown,
You can have very little money and
all
still
are the language
present
of the
yourself with
unconscious.
dignity. You can wear simple
Desperate
clothes that are
signals
clean
from the deep
and well
part of you
maintained.
saying,
You can practice good
"Look at
grooming
me."
that costs nothing but time.
Modern
You can carry
psychology
yourself with
proves that
pride,
humans cannot
regardless of your
erase
circumstances.
emotions. They can only
Looking poor is
displace
often
them.
not about lack of money.
When you
It
suppress
is about
anger,
lack of care.
it does not
The person who has
disappear.
nothing but
It
maintains
flows
their
down to
appearance is
deeper
communicating.
layers and
I may
turns
have
into
little,
depression.
but I am not little. I
When
am
you
still
do not
here,
acknowledge
and
fear,
I still matter.
it becomes
Reason
control.
9.
When
The
you
Stoic
deny trauma,
middle path.
it
They
becomes a
understood
chain
that
of
virtue
toxic
lies not in
relationships
one
to
extreme or the
unconsciously
other,
repeat
but in
the
the wise
old
mean
tragedy.
between them. On one side is
Jung
vanity,
called this
the
mechanism
obsession
the
with appearance.
repetition
On the other
compulsion.
side is neglect.
We reenact old
the
wounds,
refusal
not
to care
because
for
we want
oneself.
suffering,
Both
but
are
because
forms
the
of slavery.
unconscious
The
is
Stoic
trying to
walks
heal
the
them.
middle path. They
But
care
if we
for
are
their
not
appearance
conscious,
because it is
we will
part of
only
caring
repeat,
for themselves.
never
They do
liberate.
not invite dismissal.
Do you notice that
Epictetus
people
said,
often fear
"Make the best
exactly
use of
what they
is in
need
your power,
most?
and take the rest
The one
as it
afraid of
happens."
loneliness
Your appearance
seeks
is in your
relationships
power.
that leave
Reason
them
10.
abandoned.
You are
The
a
one afraid
representative
of being
something
hurt
larger.
unconsciously
You represent your family,
chooses
your
people who
community,
hurt them.
your values, and your
Because the
mission. If you are an
unconscious has
entrepreneur,
one sole
your
goal,
appearance reflects on
to
your
become
business.
whole.
If you are a parent,
It pulls you
your
back to
appearance
what you have not
reflects on your
accepted,
children.
so
Marcus
you can learn
Aurelius
to
wrote,
confront and integrate
"We are
it.
made for cooperation."
Every time you reject a part
When
of
you look
yourself,
poor, you
the
are
world will
diminishing the
send you a
cause you
mirror
represent
reflecting
and the
that
people you
part.
love.
And you will see
This
it
is
in
not about
others,
shame.
in
There is no
circumstances,
shame in having
in
little.
adversity.
The shame is in giving up.
That is the
in
law of
neglecting yourself,
unconscious
in
reflection.
abandoning your dignity.
For example,
never go into
you are
debt for
irritated by
appearance.
someone arrogant.
That is vanity.
They make you
The goal
furious
is to look
just
like a
with their
person who
haughty
respects
attitude.
themselves.
But
It
Jung
costs
would
very
ask,
little. Character
are you
matters
sure that
infinitely
arrogance
more
does
than
not
appearance.
exist in you?
But appearance
Perhaps
is
it
the
is
messenger of
there,
character.
suppressed,
The good person with good
taught that
presentation
pride
will
is
have more
bad,
opportunities.
that you must
Marcus
be humble.
Aurelius wrote,
And
"You
now,
have power over
that
your mind,
rejected
not
part
outside
appears
events.
outside
Realize
in the
this,
form of another,
and you will find
giving you
strength."
the chance to see yourself.
The Stoic does not dress
Every
for others.
time you
The
judge
Stoic
someone
dresses for
harshly,
themselves.
it is a
As an
sign
expression
that the
of
unconscious
self-respect,
wants to
as a
tell
reflection
you
of inner order.
a part
Cleanliness
of me
costs
is living in
nothing but
them.
effort.
Someone
Shower
asks,
regularly. Brush your teeth.
if the unconscious is so
Wash your
powerful,
clothes.
am I a
These
victim
are
of
not
my own
luxuries.
mind?
They are basics.
Jung would smile and say,
Iron your clothes.
no,
Polish your shoes.
you are not a
Men,
victim.
small
You are a
tears.
creator who does not yet
A
know they are
well-maintained
creating.
and expensive item looks better than
The
a
unconscious
neglected,
is not an
expensive one.
enemy,
Posture is
but
free.
the silent
Stand up
architect.
straight.
It does not
Make eye
control you
contact.
to punish,
Speak clearly.
but to awaken
These
you.
cost nothing and communicate
Every
everything.
conflict, every crisis, every
Simplicity is
pain
elite.
is the finger of
Sometimes
the unconscious,
external care can
pointing
spark
to where you
internal
have not
change.
yet
When you
looked.
force yourself to stand up straight,
Many fear
you send
looking
a
into the
message.
darkness because they think
I am
they will
still
lose
fighting.
the light.
Return to the
But
center.
Jung understood
Remember
the
that you are
opposite.
more than your appearance.
Only by going through
Remember
the
that
darkness
character is everything.
do you
Care
find the
deeply,
true light.
but be unattached.
Because
Seneca
the
wrote,
light is not
"The wise
far
person
away.
will not be disturbed
It lies
by the
right
opinions
behind
of
the
others.
fear you are
care for
avoiding.
yourself because you are
The
worth
brave
caring
one
for.
is not the one
Waste no more
without
time
fear,
arguing
but the
about
one
what a
who
good
looks
person
straight
should
into
be.
fear
Be
and
one.
steps forward.
Part of being a
And
good
only
person
that
is honoring
person
your own dignity.
is truly free.
Show up as someone who matters because you do.
In Jungian
Make the
analytical
best use
therapy,
of what is in
this
your
process
power.
is called
Take the
shadow
rest as it
integration.
happens.
It does not
Stoicism
mean you
is
become
often
perfect or
misunderstood
better.
as a total
It means you
disregard
become
for the
more
material
real.
world. However,
You no longer have to
the way
live
we
in an
present
inner war
ourselves
between
is a
I
profound
should
expression of
and I
self-respect.
want.
The first reason is
When the
three
shadow
second
is
rule.
accepted, it
Long before you
loses its
speak,
power.
your presence tells a story.
When you say,
perception begins with
yes,
the
I
eyes,
am
not the
angry,
ears.
I am
Then
selfish,
there is the
I am
halo
afraid.
effect. When we see order and
Those
care in a
parts
person's
no
appearance,
longer control
we
you.
instinctively assume an
They
orderly
become
and
the
disciplined
living
mind
energy
within.
of
Your
understanding
appearance
and
is a
freedom.
self-fulfilling prophecy.
So,
when you look
every
like someone
time
who values
circumstances
themselves,
push you to
begin
the
to
limit,
act like someone who values
pause and
their
ask
time
yourself,
and purpose. Consider
which part
the
of me wants
opportunity
to be
cost of
seen?
neglect. A door may
It may
remain
not be an
closed
enemy,
simply because your
but a
outward
forgotten
chaos
ally.
signaled the lack of internal
And when you
readiness.
dare to
Dressing
listen,
well
you will see
is
a
signal
miracle.
of respect for
What
others.
once terrified
It acknowledges
you
the
is the
unspoken
very
contract of
source of
social
the power
interaction that
you need to be
you
reborn.
care enough to show up fully. In professional
Number
environments,
2, you.
Your presentation
You do
serves
not
as
live in
armor.
reality.
It provides a foundation
You
of
live in
confidence that
symbols.
allows your ideas to take center
When you
stage.
begin to
Stoic
realize
truth
that everything
teaches
you
us that
avoid
cleanliness is
comes
about
back
effort,
to control
not
you,
wealth.
you
A
will
simple
see
linen
something
shirt,
even
well
deeper.
kept, carries more
The
dignity
unconscious
than
does not
expensive
just
vanity. We
manipulate
must walk the
behavior,
Stoic middle
it
path.
also shapes the way you see
Avoid
the
the trap
world.
of superficial vanity.
You do not
but do
live
not
in
fall into the
reality
vice
as
of
you
slovenly
imagine.
neglect.
You live in a symbolic version
You are a
of
representative
reality,
of your philosophy.
in a world
if you
where
claim to have a
everything,
disciplined mind,
from people,
let your presence be the first
dreams
proof of
to
that discipline.
events,
Practical
is a
dignity
metaphor
starts with
of
the
the
basics.
mind.
Stand
Jung
tall
once
with
said,
good posture.
The
Ensure
psyche
your
is a
clothes fit your
self-regulating
frame
system
and
that
maintain
maintains
impeccable
its
cleanliness.
equilibrium
Marcus
just
Aurelius
as the body
reminded us to be
does.
checked and controlled.
That means everything you experience, whether a dream, an
This applies to our
encounter, or
thoughts,
an incident,
and naturally flows
is a
into our
metaphorical
physical presence.
message from
As
within.
Epictetus said,
You think
make the
you are
best
living
use of what
among
is in your
events,
power.
but in
Take the rest
truth,
as it
you are
happens.
living among symbols telling your own
Your
story.
appearance is within your power.
Try observing.
The world is waiting
When
to see
you
who
meet
you
someone
are.
who
Don't
hurts
tell
you,
them with words
it
alone.
is not just a
Show
failed
up.
relationship.
Like Italiano.
That is a symbol
Here is a
for the
truth
part
that makes
within
people
you that
uncomfortable.
remains unhealed.
How you look in public
When you
determines how the
dream of
world
falling
treats
into
you.
an abyss,
Not should.
it is not a
might.
random dream.
Determines.
That is the language of the unconscious,
You can call this
saying
superficial.
you are losing
You can call it
control,
unfair.
or being
You
invited
can
to
rail
let
against
go.
it on social media.
When you feel
and you'll
stuck,
be righted.
the world
is
seems to
superficial.
close in.
But justice will
It
not
may be a
protect
symbol
you
of
from the
psychological
judgment of
death,
strangers.
an
Philosophy
invitation
will not
to
shield
end
you
the
from
old
snap
self
judgments in the first 3
for the
seconds.
rebirth
The world
of
will
the
assess
new.
you, categorize you,
Pause
and
for a
treat you
moment.
accordingly,
Do
whether
not
you
rush
like it or
ahead.
not. Today,
Let the
we
silence
address
speak
the topic of
for the part
appearance
within you that
and
is
dignity.
transforming.
10 reasons why you should
Perhaps
never
in that
look
moment,
poor in
you
public.
do not need to
Now,
try to
I
understand
am not
anything.
saying you should
Just
be
look
ashamed
around
of being poor.
at an object,
Poverty isn't
a
failing.
face, a recent
I am not
event,
saying
and
spend
ask
money you don't
yourself,
have. That
what is it
leads
trying to say to
debt.
me? Not in
Character
words,
is everything,
but in
but
images,
appearance is the messenger of
feelings.
that character.
The
You
first
owe it to
intuition
yourself
that flashes
to
within
present
you.
yourself in a way that reflects
That
your
is how the
dignity,
unconscious
your
whispers.
self-respect, and your
The
potential.
unconscious
The
does not
Stoics
speak in
understood
sentences.
this.
It
There is a
speaks in
middle path.
images, symbols, and
Appropriate
myths.
self-presentation.
And the amazing
Free from
thing is,
vanity, but full
this
of
symbolic
dignity.
language
Not about
is
looking
universal
rich,
across all
but never looking
humanity.
defeated or
A
diminished.
person in
Reason one.
ancient Greece dreams of a snake.
The first 3
A
seconds
person
rule.
in Vietnam
Psychologists
today may
know
also dream of a
humans form
snake.
impressions
And though
within
the two
milliseconds.
cultures differ,
Judgments are made about
both are
competence and
touching the same
trustworthiness before
archetype.
words are spoken.
The
When you look
profound
poor
symbol
with worn
residing in
clothes
the
and
collective
unkempt grooming, you are
unconscious that
communicating
Jung
that you are not a
spoke of.
person to be taken seriously.
The
It's
collective
not fair.
unconscious is the
Reason two,
deepest layer of the
the
mind,
halo effect.
where
If
the
we perceive
memories,
someone as
symbols, and
well-presented,
images
we
shared by all
unconsciously assume
humanity
they are also
reside.
intelligent, kind,
There dwell the mother,
competent, and
the hero,
trustworthy.
the
Conversely,
trickster,
if
the
someone
child,
appears neglected,
the shadow,
they are
and the
judged
light.
as less competent.
Patterns
Dress
that have
appropriately
appeared in
because you care
every
about
culture,
being effective in
every
the world,
story,
not
every
others'
dream.
opinions. Reason 3.
When you live, when
The
you love,
self-fulfilling prophecy.
when you suffer,
When you look poor,
you are not just living a
you feel
personal
poor.
life. You are
When you
reenacting
feel
a part
poor,
of humanity's
you act
mythology
poor, and
through
you
your own
stay
life.
Poor. When you neglect your appearance,
Try thinking about a woman
You send
who
a message to
always
yourself.
saves others, but never cares
I'm not
for
worth the
herself.
effort.
She
External
thinks she
actions
is
shape our
kind,
internal states. Reason
but in truth,
4.
her unconscious is living in the
The
archetype of
opportunity
the
cost.
sacrificial
Opportunities do
mother,
not
an
announce
image
themselves.
deeply
They
embedded
appear
in
in
culture,
moments of conversation
where a
with a
woman's
stranger.
value is tied to enduring for others, or a man who
A chance
endlessly seeks
encounter.
glory,
How many opportunities
plunging
have
into
you
work
missed
until
because someone
exhaustion.
judged you
That is
unworthy
not just
those first
ambition,
seconds.
but the
Stoic
hero
does
archetype
not
taking
create
hold of him.
unnecessary obstacles.
When an
Reason
archetype
5.
is unrecognized, it becomes a controlling force.
Your appearance
When
signals
made
self-respect.
conscious,
If you
it
do not
becomes
value
a source
yourself,
of creative
why should anyone
power.
else? It costs very
Jung
little to be
believed that
clean.
humans
Epictetus
cannot
said,
understand themselves
keep your body
without
in its proper
understanding
condition,
symbols,
as a soldier keeps his
because
weapon.
symbols are the bridge
For
between
readiness,
the unconscious
for
and
effectiveness.
consciousness,
It costs
between
only
the
attention.
divine
Reason 6.
and the human.
The unspoken contract.
The outside
When you
world
show up
is a
looking
mirror
poor,
reflecting the
you
inner
are saying,
world, but that
"I do
mirror
not
does not
respect you
reflect
enough to make
directly.
an effort."
It
The
reflects
world
in
owes you
metaphors.
nothing, but it will
Like a
respond
poet,
to
the
signals you
unconscious speaks
send.
in images to
Presentation
evoke
is about
feeling,
respecting the
not in reason
interaction
to
and the
explain.
other person. Reason 7.
Therefore, if you only live on
Good
the surface,
presentation is
seeing things
armor.
as
When you
what
look
they
your
are,
best,
you will
are less
miss the
vulnerable
message
to the
life is
slights
sending.
that come from looking poor.
The death
when
of
you
a
know you look
relationship
appropriate,
is not just
you
an
can
end.
focus on what matters.
It is
the
a symbol of
conversation,
change in the
the
self.
work, the connection.
Losing a job is not
Presentation
just
frees
losing
you
income.
from distraction.
It is a symbol
Reason
of an
8.
invitation to
Looking
redirect.
poor and being poor
Even
are not the
illness
same
can be
thing.
the language
You can
of
have
the
very
soul,
little money and still
reminding you to
present
look back
yourself
at
with
where you
dignity.
have lived
You can wear simple
contrary to
clothes
your
that are
true
clean
nature.
and well maintained. You can practice
Analytical
good grooming
psychology
that costs
today
nothing but
calls
time.
this
You can carry
symbolic
yourself with
thinking.
pride,
The
regardless of
ability
your
to read
circumstances.
life through the lens of the
Looking poor is
unconscious.
often not about lack of money.
Jung
it is about
observed
lack of care.
that those who
The person
lose
who
the
has nothing but
capacity for
maintains their
symbolic
appearance is
thinking
communicating.
often fall into
I may have
depression
little, but I am
because
not
they
little.
lose
I am
meaning.
still here.
They
I
see
still
the
matter.
world as a
Reason
machine
9.
and
The
themselves
Stoic
as
middle
biological
path.
accidents.
They understood that virtue
so all
lies not in
suffering
one
becomes
extreme or the
meaningless.
other, but in the wise
But
mean
those who
between
understand
them. On
the
one side
language
is
of
vanity,
symbols are
the obsession
different.
with appearance.
They do
On the
not
other side
ask,
is
why
neglect,
is this happening to
the
me?
refusal to care for
They
oneself.
ask,
Both
what is this
are forms
teaching
of
me?
slavery. The Stoic walks
Symbols in
middle
Jung's
path.
view
They care
never
for their
have just
appearance
one meaning.
because it is part of
They
caring
are the
for
intersection
themselves.
between
They
two
do not
worlds,
invite
the tangible
dismissal.
and the
Epictetus said,
intangible.
make the best
Each
use of
symbol
what is in your
is a
power,
flow of
and
energy,
take the rest
a
as it
bridge
happens.
helping humans
Your
communicate
appearance
with
is
the
in your
depths
power.
of the
Reason
soul.
10.
When
You
you
are a
read that
representative of
language,
something larger.
you begin to
You
see that
represent your
life
family,
is no longer
your
random,
community, your values,
but a dialogue.
and your mission. If you are
Every
an entrepreneur,
event,
your
every
appearance
person,
reflects on your business.
every dream
if you are a parent,
is an answer to
your
questions
appearance
you did
reflects
not
on
know
your
you
children.
were asking.
Marcus Aurelius wrote,
The modern world
We are
has
made
made
for
humans
cooperation.
forget that ability.
when you look
We are
poor,
severed from
you are
symbols.
diminishing the cause you
We see
represent.
dreams as
and the
mere
people you love.
biological products,
This is not about
emotions
shame.
as weakness,
There is no shame
and
in
art
having little.
as
The
luxury.
shame is in giving up,
And in losing the
neglecting
language
yourself,
of symbols,
in abandoning
we
your
lose our
dignity.
connection
Never
to the
go into debt
unconscious,
for appearance.
losing the ability to
That
hear
is
the
vanity.
voice of
the
our
goal
own
is to
soul.
look like a person who respects themselves.
But Jung
It
believed that
costs very
humans
little.
can
Character
reconnect
matters infinitely more
by
than
listening to
appearance.
dreams,
But appearance
observing
is the messenger of
synchronicities,
character. The good
and
person
remembering
with
the
good
haunting
presentation will have
images
more
that obsess
opportunities.
us without
Marcus
knowing
Aurelius
why.
wrote, "You have
That is
power
not
over your
random.
mind, not outside
It is the
events.
unconscious
Realize this.
sending a
You will
letter.
find strength."
The reality you live in
Stoic
is not
does
a
not
chain
dress
of
for
physical
others.
events,
The Stoic dresses
but a
for
symbolic
themselves
mirror
as an expression
reflecting
of
the soul.
self-respect, as a reflection
Every
of
time
inner
you
order.
recognize the
Cleanliness
meaning
costs
behind an
nothing but
occurrence,
effort.
you draw
Shower
closer to
regularly.
wholeness.
Brush your teeth.
Because
Wash your
ultimately, the
These are
human
not
journey
luxuries.
is not
They are
conquering the
basics.
outside world,
Iron your clothes.
but understanding what
Polish your
the
shoes.
inside
Men,
world is
small
saying
tears.
through the images
A
of the outside
well-maintained,
world.
inexpensive item looks better
And
than
when
a
you begin
neglected,
to live
expensive
that
one.
way,
Posture's
when you
free.
understand that you are
Stand up
living in
straight.
symbols rather than
Make eye
reality,
contact. Speak
life
clearly.
becomes strangely
These cost
profound.
nothing and communicate
pain
everything.
becomes sacred,
Simplicity is
loss
elite
becomes a
sometimes.
ritual,
External care can
randomness
spark internal
becomes a
change.
message,
When you force yourself to
and
stand
the
up straight,
world,
you send a
instead of
message.
being alien,
I am
suddenly
still fighting.
becomes a symphony
Return
that your
to the
unconscious
center.
and soul
Remember that you
are
are more than
creating
your
together.
appearance. Remember that character is
Number
everything.
3.
Care deeply, but
The
be
collective
unattached.
unconscious
Seneca wrote,
holds
"The wise
every
person will
archetype
not be
you need
disturbed by the
to become
opinions of
yourself.
others. You care for yourself because you are worth caring
When
for.
you realize that
Waste
you do
no
not
more
live
time
in reality,
arguing about
but in
what
the
a good
world of
person should
symbols,
be.
you
Be
have
one.
reached the threshold of a
Part of
greater
being a good person
realization.
is honoring your own
All
dignity.
symbols do not
Show
belong
up as
just
someone
to
who
you.
matters because you
They
do.
belong to
Make
humanity.
the best use of what is
The
in your
images
power.
that appear in
Take the
dreams,
rest as it
in
happens.
intuitions,
Stoicism
in
is
profound
often
moments of
misunderstood as a
coincidence,
total disregard
not
for
only
the material
reflect
world.
personal
However,
life,
the
but
way we
emanate
present
from a
ourselves
deeper
is
layer
a
of the
profound
mind.
expression of self-respect.
The collective
The first reason is the
unconscious.
3-second rule.
Jung
Long
described the
before you
collective
speak, your
unconscious
presence
as an
tells a
ocean
story.
in
Perception
which each
begins with the
individual
eyes,
is but a
not
drop.
the ears. Then
Your
there is the
consciousness
halo
is the
effect.
surface.
When we see order
The
and care
personal
in a person's
unconscious is
appearance,
the middle
we
layer,
instinctively assume
and the
an
collective
orderly and
unconscious,
disciplined mind within.
which is the
Your
bottomless
appearance
depth,
is a
where the memories
self-fulfilling
and images
prophecy.
of all
When you look like
humanity
someone who
reside.
values themselves, you begin
There
to act like
exist
someone who
the
values their time and
archetypes,
purpose.
primordial
Consider
mental
the opportunity
patterns,
cost of
innate
neglect.
psychological
The door may
forces
remain
that you are
closed
born
simply
with.
because your outward
They are
chaos
the
signal the lack of
DNA
internal
of the
readiness.
soul.
Dressing well
You do not learn
is a
them,
signal of
you
respect
remember
for
them.
others.
The
It
word
acknowledges the
archetype
unspoken
sounds
contract of social
abstract,
interaction that
but you encounter them
you
daily
care enough
without
to show up
realizing
fully.
it.
In professional
When you feel the
independence.
boundless love
Your
of a mother,
presentation serves as
you are
armor.
touching
It
the
provides a
mother
foundation
archetype.
of confidence that allows
When you
your
pass
ideas
through
to take center
trials,
stage.
face
Stoic
fear.
truth teaches
That
us
is
that
the hero
cleanliness is about
archetype
effort,
rising.
not wealth. A
When
simple
you
linen
feel
shirt,
split apart,
well kept,
lost,
carries more
and
dignity
yearn to
than
find the
expensive
self
vanity.
again.
We must walk the
That is
Stoic
the
middle
divine
path.
child archetype.
Avoid
the
the
part
trap of
within you that
superficial
still
vanity,
remembers
but do
you
not fall
belong
into
to
the
something
vice of
greater.
slovenly neglect.
These archetypes exist
You are
not
a
as
representative of your
characters,
philosophy.
but as living
If you claim to have a
forces.
disciplined mind,
They
let
move
your
within
presence
you,
be the first proof of
governing
that discipline.
how you love,
Practical dignity
how you
starts with the
fear,
basics.
how you dream.
Stand tall with good
Each
posture.
archetype is a
Ensure your
door
clothes
opening
fit
to
your
the
frame,
energy needed
and
for the
maintain
journey of
impeccable
growth.
cleanliness. Marcus
But if you
Aurelius
do not
reminded
know
us
how
to
to
be checked and
recognize
controlled.
them, those doors can become traps.
This
When an
applies to our
archetype
thoughts and
possesses,
naturally flows
the
into our
human
physical
is swallowed
presence.
by the
As
very
Epictetus
energy
said,
they should
make the
collaborate
best use of
with.
what is in your power.
Look at the
Take the
story
rest
of
as
the
it
hero,
happens.
from Hercules, Achilles,
Your appearance
to
is
modern
within your power.
superheroes.
The
They
world
all
is
go
waiting
through the
to see
same
who you
journey.
are. Don't tell
The
them with
call,
words
refusal,
alone. Show
facing
up.
the shadow,
Like
overcoming
Italian.
trials,
Here is a truth
then
that makes
returning
people
with
uncomfortable.
light.
How you look
But
in
what
public
Jung
determines how the
discovered
world
is that
treats
it is
you.
not just
Not
myth.
should.
It
not
is the
might.
spiritual map of every human.
Determines.
Every time you
You can call
confront
this
fear,
superficial.
when you
You can
dare
call
to
it
leave the
unfair.
comfort zone, when
can
you
rail
step
against
into
it on
chaos to
social
find
media,
meaning,
and you will be right.
you
It
are living the
is
hero's
superficial.
story.
But justice
You do
will
not read
protect
mythology.
you from the judgment
You
of
are living
strangers.
mythology.
Philosophy will not shield
A
you
mother
from
holding
snap
her
judgments
child
in
in the
first
night,
3 seconds.
soothing
The
amid
world will
cries,
assess you,
unaware that
categorize
she is
you,
reenacting
and
the
treat
energy
you
of the great
accordingly,
mother
whether
goddess,
you like it or not.
Demeter,
Today,
Kwan-Am,
we
Isis,
address a topic
across
of appearance
thousands of
and
years.
dignity.
A
10
man who
reasons
dares
why
to
you should
rise
never
after
look
failure,
poor in public.
unaware that
Now,
in his
I am not
unconscious,
saying
the
you
figure
should be
of
ashamed
Prometheus
of being
smiles,
poor. Poverty isn't failing.
the symbol of creative
I am
will
not saying
and
spend
the
money you don't
desire
have.
to transcend
That leads
fate.
to debt.
A child
Character
dreaming
is
of
everything,
flying through the
but
sky,
appearance is the
unaware
messenger of
that the
character.
unconscious
You
is
owe it to
whispering,
yourself to present yourself in a
"Remember,
way that
you
reflects
were
your dignity,
born to be
your
free."
self-respect, and your potential.
The collective
Stoics
unconscious
understood this.
is humanity's
There
library,
is a middle path.
where every spiritual
Appropriate
experience that has ever
self-presentation,
occurred is
free
stored
from
as
vanity,
images.
but full of dignity.
When you fall
Not
into
about
crisis,
looking rich,
when you feel
but never
empty,
looking defeated,
you do not need
diminished.
to
Reason one.
create power.
The first
You
3
only
seconds
need
rule.
to activate
Psychologists
the right
know
archetype.
Humans form impressions
Because within you,
milliseconds.
it is all
Judgments are made
already
about
there.
competence and trustworthiness
For
before
example,
words are spoken.
when you are
look
swept
poor
into
with worn
relationships
clothes and
that make
unkempt
you
grooming,
lose
you are
yourself,
communicating that you are not a
perhaps
person
you are
to be
being
taken
governed by
seriously.
the energy
It's
of
not
the
fair.
unbalanced lover
Reason two.
archetype.
The halo
Needing the
effect.
balance of
if
the
we perceive
wise
someone
old
as
man,
well presented,
the
we
archetype of
unconsciously
wisdom
assume they
and
are also
boundaries.
intelligent, kind.
When you
competent,
live forever
and
to please
trustworthy.
others,
Conversely,
the martyr
if someone
archetype
appears
is
neglected,
overactive
they are
and
judged as
needs
less competent.
harmonizing
Dress
with the
appropriately
warrior
because you care
who
about
knows
being
how to
effective in
protect
the world,
boundaries.
not others'
The
opinions.
conflicts within
Reason
you
three.
are not mistakes.
The
They
self-fulfilling
are simply
prophecy. When you look
archetypes
poor,
not yet
you
harmonized.
feel poor.
But if recognized,
When you feel
archetypes
poor,
are not
you
just
act
lessons,
poor, and you
but sacred
stay poor
resources.
when you neglect your
In
appearance.
Jungian therapy,
You send a message
when a
to
person
yourself,
connects with the appropriate
I'm
archetype,
not worth the effort.
their vital energy
External
changes
actions shape our
markedly.
internal states.
A person
Reason
once depressed,
four.
feeling meaningless, after recognizing
The
the
opportunity
inner
cost.
child image in a
Opportunities
dream,
do not announce themselves.
begins to feel a
They appear
thirst
in
for
moments of
creation,
conversation with a
play,
stranger.
and self-forgiveness. A fearful person, after
A chance
confronting the
encounter.
warrior image,
How many opportunities
begins
have
to
you
stand
missed
tall,
because someone judged
speak
you unworthy
clearly,
in those
and
first
dare to
seconds?
defend
The
what they
Stoic
believe.
does not create
No one
unnecessary
learns
obstacles.
to become.
Reason 5.
They remember the inherent nature stored in the collective unconscious,
Your appearance
since
signals
humanity first
self-respect.
learned to
If
look
you do
up
not
at the
value
sky.
yourself,
The
why should
miracle
anyone
is,
else? It costs
each person
very
is
little to be
born
clean.
with their own
Epictetus
collection
said,
of archetypes,
keep your body in its
codes
proper
of
condition,
energy sleeping
as a
in the
soldier keeps his
unconscious.
weapon.
They are not
For
in
readiness,
positions,
for
but guides.
effectiveness. It costs
When you do not
only
know
attention.
who you are,
Reason 6.
when you are lost in
The
chaos,
unspoken
you do
contract.
not need to
When you
run
show
out
up
to
looking
find
poor,
identity.
You are saying,
You only need to
I do
turn
not respect
inward,
you enough to make
listen
an
to
effort.
dreams,
The world
and observe
owes
the
you
repeating
nothing,
symbols
but it will
in
respond
life.
to the signals you
Because
send.
the unconscious
Presentation is about
sending you
respecting the
directions.
interaction and the other person.
This is the
Reason
archetype
7.
your soul needs to complete
Good
itself.
presentation is armor.
In that
When
depth,
you look your
you
best,
no longer seek
you
to
are less
become
vulnerable
someone
to the
else.
slights that come
You
from
realize that
looking poor.
every
When you know you
archetype
look
to become
appropriate,
yourself
you can focus
is
on what
already
matters the
within.
conversation.
You only
the
need to
work,
dare to listen,
Connection.
dare to go
Presentation
down to the
frees you
depths,
from
dare to let
distraction.
the unconscious
Reason 8.
guide.
Looking
And
poor
then
and being
you
poor
no
poor
longer
are not
seek
the same
power.
thing. You can
You
have very little
become
money and
power.
still present yourself with dignity.
Part 3.
You can wear simple clothes that are clean
Individuation.
and well-maintained.
Stepping
You can
out of the
practice
mold
good
to
grooming
return
that
to the
costs
self.
nothing but time.
And
You
from
can carry
here,
yourself
the
with pride,
journey turns.
regardless of your
No
circumstances.
longer an exploration of the
Looking for
inner
is often
world
not
to
about lack of
understand,
money. It is
but a
about
return
lack of
to
care.
unite.
The person who has nothing
No
but
longer
maintains their
decoding
appearance
images,
is communicating.
but becoming the most
I may have
vivid
little,
image of
but I am
one's
not
own
little.
soul.
I am still here.
No longer
I
the
still
effort
matter.
to be
Reason
better,
9.
but the
Stoic
courage to
middle
step
path.
out of the
They
mold,
understood that virtue
to
lies
return
not in
to
one
the true
extreme or
self.
the other, but in the wise
This is the
mean
path of
between them.
individuation,
On one side is
the sacred
vanity,
step where the
the
human
obsession with
ceases to be a
appearance.
fragment
On
of
the
the
other
collective
side is
unconscious
neglect,
and becomes the unique,
the refusal to
enlightened,
care for
and whole
oneself.
being
Both
of
are
oneself.
forms of slavery. The Stoic walks
Number 1.
the middle path.
Persona.
They care for their appearance because it is part of
After
caring
having seen
for
the shadow of the
themselves.
unconscious
They do
and
not
recognize the
invite
archetypes operating
dismissal.
within us,
Epictetus
the
said,
next phase of the
"Make the
journey
best
begins
use
with
of
a
what is in
silent
your
but
power,
painful
and
question.
take the rest as it happens."
So amid all those
Your appearance
roles,
is in your power.
where is the real
Reason
me?
10.
That
You are
is
a
when you begin
representative
to
of something
confront the
larger.
persona,
You represent your
the
family,
mask you
your
wear
community,
to
your
survive in the
values,
world.
and your mission.
Jung
If you are an
called the
entrepreneur,
persona
your
the
appearance
mask of the
reflects
soul.
on your business. If you are a
It is
parent,
not a bad thing.
your
In
appearance
fact,
reflects
you need
on
it to
your
live.
children. Marcus Aurelius
As a child,
wrote,
you learn to
"We
behave
are
in
made
ways
for
that earn
cooperation.
love and acceptance.
When you look poor,
As an adult,
you are diminishing
you learn
the
to
cause
speak,
you represent
work,
and the people
and
you
express
love.
yourself to fit
This is not
social
about shame.
norms.
There is no shame in having
The persona
little.
is the
shame is in
psychological
giving
costume
up,
that helps you
in
blend
neglecting
into the
yourself,
world.
in abandoning your dignity.
But what Jung
Never
warns
go into
is,
debt for appearance.
when you forget that it is only a
That is
costume,
vanity. The
you
goal is to
begin to
look like a
live as
person
if
who
the
respects
mask is
themselves.
your true
It
face.
costs very little.
A
Character
teacher may
matters
believe they
infinitely
must
more than
always be
appearance.
calm and
But
dignified.
appearance is the
A
messenger
mother
of character.
believes,
The good
I
person
must
with good
always
presentation will
sacrifice,
have more opportunities.
always be gentle.
Marcus Aurelius wrote,
A successful
"You have
person
power over
believes,
your mind,
I
not
must not
outside
be
events.
weak.
Realize this.
Those beliefs
and you will
gradually
find
become
strength."
the psychological
The
face.
Stoic does not
And
dress
then,
for others.
over the
Stoic
years,
dresses for
we
themselves
no longer know
as
where
an
the
expression
role
of
ends
self-respect,
and the self
as a reflection
begins.
of inner order.
The
Cleanliness
persona
costs
becomes an
nothing but
invisible
effort.
prison,
Shower
luxurious,
regularly.
praised,
Brush your teeth.
but suffocating.
Wash your clothes.
And the
These
paradox
are not
is that
luxuries.
society
They are
encourages
basics.
it.
Iron
We
your
are taught
clothes.
how to build a personal
Polish your
image,
shoes.
how to
Men,
create a
small
personal
tears.
brand, how to
A
maintain
well-maintained and
composure.
expensive item looks better
But
than
few
a
teach
neglected
us how to be
expensive
honest
one.
with the
Posture's
soul.
free. Stand
People
up straight.
praise you for what you show,
Make eye
not
contact.
for what you
Speak
are.
clearly.
So
These
we
cost
learn to
nothing
live for
and
applause
communicate everything.
rather than for truth.
Simplicity is elegant.
But the
sometimes.
price paid is a
External care
deepening
can
void
spark
within,
internal change.
an
When you force
ever-growing
yourself to
emptiness
stand
of
up
the true
straight,
I
you send a
that has
message.
been forgotten.
I am still fighting.
In psychology,
Return to the
this
center.
phenomenon is called
Remember that you are more than your
identification with the
appearance.
role.
Remember
We
that
lose the self
character is
to
everything.
protect the
Care
image.
deeply.
And
but
when
be
that
unattached.
persists,
Seneca wrote,
the body and
"The
mind
wise
begin to
person will not be
react.
disturbed by the opinions
Unexplained
of others.
fatigue,
You care for
a
yourself
sense of
because you are
meaninglessness,
worth caring for.
despite
Waste
success,
no more time
emptiness,
arguing about what
despite
a good person
love.
should be. Be
All
one.
are signals from
Part of
within.
being a good person is
As
honoring
Jung
your own
described,
dignity. Show up
The
as someone
soul
who matters because
rebels
you do.
against
Make the best
identification
use
with the
of what is in
persona.
your power and take the
You may
rest
recognize
as it
this in
happens.
yourself
Stoicism is
when
often
you say,
misunderstood
"I'm
as
fine,"
a total
while
disregard
screaming
for the material
inside.
world. However,
when you smile
the
at
way
a
we
party
present
but feel
ourselves
like an
is a
outsider,
profound expression of
when you try to
self-respect.
appear
The first
strong
reason is
just
the
because you
3-second
fear
rule.
others seeing your
Long before you
weakness.
speak, your presence
That is
tells a
when
story.
you are
Perception
imprisoned by
begins
the
with
very
eyes,
mask you
not the
created.
ears. Then
The
there is
persona
the halo
was once a
effect.
survival
When we see
tool,
order and care
but
in a
now it
person's
has
appearance,
become the white
we
shadow,
instinctively assume
the
an
shadow
orderly
of
and
false
disciplined
light,
mind within.
which
Your
makes you forget
appearance
where the true
is a
sun is.
self-fulfilling prophecy.
Look at
when
the
you look
modern
like someone
world.
who values themselves,
Social
you
media
begin to act
is the
like someone who
vast
values their
stage
time
of
and
personas.
purpose. Consider the
We perform our
opportunity
best
cost of
versions,
neglect.
curated,
The door may
edited,
remain
and
closed
polished.
simply because your
But
outward
Jung would
chaos
ask,
signaled a lack of
who is
internal
taking
readiness.
that photo?
Dressing well
And who
is
is
a
looking
signal
at
of
it from
respect
within?
for others. It acknowledges
Because every
the
time we
unspoken
try to
contract
control
of
the
social
image we
interaction
project,
that
a part of
you
the
care
soul
enough to show
becomes
up
further
fully. In
detached.
professional environments,
It is no
your
coincidence that
presentation
the
serves as
era
armor.
of
It
display
provides a
is
foundation
also
of
the
confidence
era
that
of
allows your
depression
ideas to
and
take
identity
center stage.
crisis.
Stoic truth
But Jung
teaches us
does
that
not tell us
cleanliness
to
is about
discard
effort,
the
not
persona.
wealth. A simple linen
He
shirt,
does not tell us
well-kept,
to shed
carries
everything
more
and live
dignity than
naked in the
expensive
world.
vanity. We must
He
walk
only
the
invites
Stoic
us
middle
to
path.
see the boundary.
Avoid
Know
the trap
that the
of
persona
superficial
is a
vanity,
tool,
but do not
not
fall
the
into
self.
the vice of slovenly neglect.
It is like clothing. You needed
You
to
are a
go
representative
out,
of your
but
philosophy.
you are not
If you
it.
claim to have a disciplined mind,
And sometimes,
let your presence be
to
the first
return
proof
to
of that
yourself,
discipline. Practical
you need to
dignity
take
starts
it
with the
off.
basics.
Jung
Stand tall
once
with good
described this
posture.
process
Ensure
as
your
the
clothes
first
fit your frame
psychological death
and maintain
in the journey
impeccable
of
cleanliness.
individuation.
Marcus Aurelius
When a
reminded us
person
to be
begins
checked
to
and
doubt
controlled.
what they still believe is me, when they pause
This
amid
applies
the
to our
grind
thoughts
and hear a
naturally
faint
flows
voice
into our physical
rising
presence.
from the
As
depths,
Epictetus said,
this
make
is
the
not
best use
me.
of what is in your power.
That
and take the rest
is
as
the
it
moment
happens.
the soul knocks at the door.
Your
And
appearance
if
is
you
within
are
your
brave
power.
enough to open it, the
The world is
persona
waiting to see who
begins
you
to
are.
crack.
Don't tell them with words alone.
Recall the time
Show
you
up
lost the image you had built
like Italiano.
in failure,
Here is a
in
truth that
rejection,
makes
in
people
misunderstanding.
How
At
you
that
look in
moment,
public
you
determines how
felt
the world
collapsed,
treats you.
ashamed,
Not
and
should,
empty.
not might.
But precisely in that rubble,
Determines.
something real emerges.
You can call this superficial.
You begin to
You can call
feel
it
real
unfair.
pain, real
You can rail
tears,
against it on
real
social media,
weakness.
and you'll be right.
And that real
is
thing,
superficial.
however
But justice
small,
will not
however
protect you
trembling,
from the
is the
judgment
seed
of strangers.
of life
Philosophy
of the soul.
will not shield you from
In
snap
Jungian
judgments in the
therapy,
first 3 seconds.
recognizing the
world will
persona
assess
is the
you,
first step for a
categorize you,
person to step
and
out
treat
of the
you
mold.
accordingly, whether you like
The
it or
therapist
not.
will ask,
Today,
"Who
we
is
address
speaking
the
to
topic
me?
of appearance,
The
and
real
dignity.
you,
10
or the
reasons
image you think
why
you
should
must
never
be?"
look poor in
When the
public.
patient
Now,
begins to
I am not
recognize the
saying
gap between
you
those
should be
two
ashamed
eyes,
of being
a
poor.
liberation
Poverty isn't
occurs.
failing.
They no longer
I am
need
not
to
saying
try to
spend
be
money you
good.
don't have.
They
That
only need to be
leads
real.
to debt.
And from that
Character is
reality,
everything.
the process of
Appearance is the
individuation
messenger of
begins
that
to
character.
sprout.
You owe it to yourself.
That saying
to present
also
yourself in a way
applies
that
to the
reflects your
persona.
dignity.
You
your
do not need
self-respect,
to fight the
and your
mask.
potential.
You
The
only need to
Stoics
look straight
understood
at
this.
it.
There is a
Ask
middle
yourself,
path.
who am I trying
Appropriate
to please?
self-presentation. Free
If I
from
were not
vanity,
afraid
but
of
full
criticism,
dignity.
how
Not
would
about
I
looking
live?
rich, but never
If I
looking
did not
defeated
need to
or diminished.
prove,
Reason
who
why.
would I be?
The first
Each
3
answer
seconds
is a
rule.
layer of
Psychologists
mask removed,
know humans
and
form
behind each
impressions
layer
within
is a part of
milliseconds.
the soul
Judgments
set
are made
free.
about competence and trustworthiness before words are
Number
spoken.
2,
When you look poor,
the shadow
with worn
is not the
clothes and
enemy.
unkempt grooming, you
When
are
the mask
communicating
of the
that you are not a
persona
person
begins
be
to
taken
crack,
seriously.
the first
It's
thing
not
you see
fair.
is not light,
Reason 2.
but darkness.
The halo effect.
Behind
if we
the
perceive
feigned
someone as
smile,
well presented,
the trained
we
kindness,
unconsciously assume
or
they
the
are
image
also
you try to
intelligent,
maintain,
kind,
hides what
competent,
Jung
and
called
trustworthy.
the shadow.
Conversely, if
And
someone
there,
appears
the
neglected,
journey of
they are judged as
individuation
less competent.
truly
Dress
begins.
appropriately because you care about
Jung
being
once
effective
said,
in the world.
Everyone
Not
carries a
others'
shadow,
opinions.
and the
Reason
less
3.
it is embodied in the individual's
self-fulfilling
conscious
prophecy.
life,
When you
the
look
blacker
poor,
and denser it
You'll
is.
feel poor.
That is why,
When you
at
feel
times,
poor,
you act in ways that
and
even you yourself
stay
cannot
poor
understand
when you neglect your
afterward.
appearance.
You say,
You send a
I
message
don't
to
know
yourself.
why I got so angry. Or,
I'm not worth the
I don't
effort.
understand why I am
External
jealous,
actions shape our
hateful,
internal states.
afraid.
Reason.
But in
4.
truth, the unconscious
The
understands.
opportunity cost.
It is the
Opportunities
shadow
do not announce
speaking.
themselves.
You
They
can
appear
see
in
this
moments of
in
conversation
everyday
with a
life.
stranger.
The person who always talks about humility may carry a shadow
A chance
craving
encounter.
power.
How many
The
opportunities
one who
have you
condemns
missed because
dishonesty
someone judged
may
you
be hiding a
unworthy
fear
in
of
those first
exposure.
seconds? The Stoic
The one who lives
does not
too
create
morally
unnecessary
may
obstacles.
conceal a suppressed
Reason 5.
desire for rebellion. And the one who says, I am never jealous,
Your
is
appearance
often the
signals
most jealous.
self-respect. If you do not
Because
value
what you
yourself,
deny most
why should
vehemently
anyone else?
is often
It costs
what lives
very little
deepest
to be
within
clean.
you.
Epictetus said,
Jung called this
keep your body in
phenomenon
its proper condition,
projection.
as a soldier keeps his weapon.
When you dare not look at the shadow in
readiness,
yourself,
for
you begin to see it in
effectiveness.
others.
It costs only
You
attention.
criticize someone
Reason
for being
6.
selfish, but
The
in
unspoken
truth,
contract.
you are
show
projecting
up
your
looking
own
poor.
selfishness.
You are saying,
You hate
I do not
someone
respect you
arrogant
enough to
because
make
they
an effort.
touch the arrogance
the world
you do not
owes you
allow
nothing,
yourself.
but it will respond
The
to
outside
signals you
world
send.
becomes a
Presentation
mirror
is
of
about
what is
respecting
within
the
you,
interaction and the other
refuse to
person.
acknowledge.
Reason 7.
And that is why Jung said,
Good presentation
everything
is
that
armor.
irritates
When you
us
look your
about
best,
others
you
can
are less
lead us to an
vulnerable the threats
understanding of
that come from
ourselves.
looking poor. When you know
If
you
you
look
pause,
appropriate,
look
you can
straight and
focus
ask,
on what matters, the
why does
conversation,
this make me so
the
angry?
work, the connection.
You will begin to dig
Presentation
down to the
frees you
depths
from
where the
distraction.
darkness
Reason
resides.
8.
And there,
Looking poor
something
and
strange
being poor
happens.
are not the same thing.
The shadow
You can have
begins
very
to
little
speak.
money and still present
It does not
yourself with
scream,
dignity.
does
can wear
not
simple
threaten.
clothes that are clean
It only
and well
whispers.
maintained. You can practice
I am
good
also
grooming
a
that
part
costs
of you.
nothing but time. You can
The
carry yourself
greatest
with
turning
pride,
point in the
regardless
Jungian
of your
journey
circumstances.
is when a person
Looking poor is
realizes
often
that the
not about
shadow
lack of
is not an
money. It
enemy
is
to
about
be
lack of
destroyed.
care. The person
but
who
an
has nothing
ally
but
to be
maintains their
understood.
appearance is communicating.
Because in
I
that
may have little,
darkness,
but I
there
am
is
not
not
little.
only
I am
guilt
still
and
here,
fear,
and I
but
still
also
matter.
power,
Reason 9.
creativity,
The Stoic
instinct,
middle path.
and vital
They understood
energy
that virtue
we have
lies
lost.
not in one extreme
The
or the
shadow
other,
is the treasure
but in the
guarded
wise
by the
mean
dragon.
between them. On one
It
side
is
is vanity,
terrifying, but
the
if you are
obsession
brave
with
enough to
appearance.
confront
On the
it,
other side
that
is
dragon
neglect.
will become your
The
protector.
refusal to care for oneself.
Think of artists,
Both
creators,
are forms of
or those who
slavery.
truly
The
live
Stoic
by
walks
passion.
the middle path.
They do not
care for their
conquer
appearance
the shadow,
because it
they
is part
work
of
with it.
caring for themselves.
Picasso
They do
once
not
said,
invite
"Art is a lie
dismissal."
that makes us
Epictetus said,
realize the truth.
Make the best use of what
Art
is in
is
your
how
power.
humans bring
Take
the
rest
shadow
as it
to
happens.
light, not
Your
through
appearance is in
excuses,
your power.
but through
Reason 10.
expression.
You are a
When a person
representative of something
paints,
larger.
writes,
You represent your
sings,
family,
or tells
your
stories
community,
from pain,
your values,
they are
and your
reconciling
mission.
with
if
the
you are an
shadow.
entrepreneur,
They
your appearance
transform
reflects on
repressed
your business.
energy into
if you are a
creative
parent,
light.
your appearance
The shadow
reflects
also
on your
appears
children.
in seemingly
Marcus
small
Aurelius wrote,
moments.
we are
When you
made for
envy someone,
cooperation.
pause and ask,
When you look poor,
what part
you are
of them have
diminishing
I
the
forgotten
cause you
in myself?
represent and the people you love.
Perhaps you envy their freedom
This is not
because
about shame.
deep down,
There is no shame
you
in
crave
having
that
little.
freedom
The
too.
shame is in giving up.
When you are angry
in
because
neglecting
someone
yourself,
dares to live
in abandoning
authentically,
your dignity.
perhaps
Never
the
go
part
into
within
debt
you
for
is calling,
appearance.
let me live that
is
way
vanity.
too.
The goal is to look like a
Every
person who
ugly
respects
emotion
themselves.
is a door
It
to
costs very
truth.
little.
If
Character
you dare
matters
to step
infinitely more
through.
than appearance.
In analytical
But appearance
psychology,
is the messenger of
Jung
character.
once said
The
that
good person with
confronting
good
the shadow
presentation
is a
will have more
religious
opportunities.
act,
Marcus
not in the
Aurelius
sense
wrote,
of dogma,
you have
but
power
in the
over your
sacred
mind,
sense
not
of
outside
truth.
events. Realize this.
Because when you look into
you will
the
find
darkness
strength.
without judgment,
The Stoic
you are
does not
doing
dress
the
for others.
holiest
The
thing,
Stoic dresses for themselves,
accepting the
as an
whole
expression
of
of
yourself.
self-respect, as a reflection
Not
of inner
just the
order.
good part,
Cleanliness costs
but
nothing
the abandoned
effort.
part as well.
Shower regularly. Brush
One
your
of
teeth.
Jung's patients once
Wash your
recounted
clothes.
that she dreamed of
These are
killing
not
someone.
luxuries. They are
She was
basics.
terrified, thinking
Iron
she
your
was
clothes.
evil.
Polish your
But
shoes.
Jung only
Men,
asked,
small
who was
tears.
killed in the dream?
A well-maintained
When
and
she
expensive
described
item
it,
looks
he
better than a
smiled.
neglected expensive one.
You did not
Posture's
kill
free.
a person.
Stand up straight.
You killed the false part
Make eye contact.
that you had let
Speak
live
clearly.
too long.
These cost nothing
And from that
communicate
moment,
everything.
she began to feel a
Simplicity is
relief
elite.
that
Sometimes
years of logical
external
therapy had
care
not
can spark
brought.
internal change.
Perhaps
when you force
each
yourself
of
to
us
stand
has
up straight,
killed
you
some
send a
part of
message.
ourselves.
I am
Try
still
thinking,
fighting. Return
what in
to
you
the
has
center.
been forgotten
Remember that
and
you
now
are more
wants
than
to
your
return?
appearance.
If you
Remember that
recognize
character
it,
is everything.
do not keep
Care
it to
deeply,
yourself.
but be unattached.
Share it
Seneca
as a way
wrote,
to give
the
others
wise
the
person
courage
will
to
not
look
be
into
disturbed
their
by
own
the opinions
shadows.
of others.
Because
You care for
every time a
yourself
person
because you
dares
are
to
worth
speak
caring
of their
for.
shadow,
Waste no more
the
time
collective
arguing about
unconscious
what a
is
good
healed a
person should
little
be.
more.
Be one.
We cannot grow
Part of
if
being
we
a
do
good
not
person
touch
is
the
honoring
shadow,
your own dignity.
because every denied
Show up as
truth
someone who matters
becomes a
because you
chain.
do. Make the best use
And only
of what
when
is
we
in your
dare to
power
go down
and take the
do we
rest
find
as
true
it happens.
power.
Stoicism
Jung
is often
called it the
misunderstood
descent
as a total
into the inner
disregard
hell,
for the material world.
a frightening
However,
journey,
the
but
way we
necessary.
present ourselves is a
Because
profound
light is
expression
not
of
found on
self-respect.
mountain tops,
The first reason is
but
the
kindled
3-second
in the
rule.
dark cave,
Long before you
where
speak,
you touch your
your
own
presence
fear.
tells a story. Perception
That
begins
is
with
why
the
Jung
eyes,
said,
not the ears.
no tree
Then
can grow
there
to
is the
heaven
halo effect,
unless its
when we
roots
see
reach
order
down
and
to
care
hell.
in a person's appearance.
The shadow
we
is that
instinctively
root.
assume an orderly
It is
and
not
disciplined
beautiful,
mind within.
but
Your
it holds the
appearance
nourishment
is
for
a
the soul.
self-fulfilling prophecy.
If you reject
when you
it,
look like someone who
you are
values
left with a
themselves,
withered tree,
you begin to act like someone
standing
who values
tall,
their time and
but
purpose.
no longer alive.
Consider the opportunity
So,
cost of neglect.
when darkness
A door
appears
may
in
remain
you,
closed
do not
simply
drive it
because your
away.
outward chaos
When
signaled the
anger
lack of
rises,
internal readiness.
listen.
Dressing well
When envy,
is a
fear,
signal of
and pain
respect for
arise,
others. It
see what
acknowledges the
demands
unspoken
acknowledgement.
contract of social
The
interaction.
shadow
that
does not need to be
you
conquered.
care enough to show
It
up
needs to
fully.
be embraced.
In professional environments,
And when you
your
are brave
presentation
enough to
serves
do
as armor.
that,
It provides
you
a
will see
foundation
you do
of
not
confidence
become
that allows
weaker,
your ideas to
but
take
stronger,
center stage. Stoic
brighter,
truth teaches
more
us
real.
that cleanliness is about effort.
That is the
not
essence
wealth.
of
A simple
individuation,
linen shirt,
becoming
well kept,
whole, not
carries more
perfect.
dignity than
And the
expensive
path to that
vanity.
wholeness
We must walk
always
this
passes
Stoic
through
middle
the
path.
darkness, where you meet yourself
Avoid
for
the
the
trap
first
of
time
superficial
without
vanity.
a task.
But do not fall into the vice of slovenly
Number
neglect.
3. Individuation
You are a
is a
representative of
sacred
your philosophy.
invitation.
If you claim to have a disciplined mind, let your presence be the
Individuation
first
is not
proof of
about
that
becoming a
discipline.
better
Practical
version of
dignity starts
yourself,
with
as
the
people
basics.
often say.
Stand tall
That is a
with good
modern
posture.
misunderstanding.
Ensure your
Jung
clothes
would
fit your
say,
frame.
individuation
and
is
maintain
not
impeccable
perfection,
cleanliness.
but wholeness.
Marcus Aurelius reminded
Not
us to
adding
be
or
checked and
subtracting to
controlled.
become good, but daring to see understand and
This applies to our
harmonize
thoughts
all that
and
one
naturally
is.
flows into our
If the
physical
persona
presence.
is the
As
mask
Epictetus said,
and the shadow
make
the
the best
hidden
use of
part,
what is in your power.
then individuation
rest
is
as
the
it
marriage
happens.
ritual between those two halves,
Your appearance
where
is within
light
your power.
embraces darkness,
The
where
world
the
is waiting to
soul
see
is
who
no
you are.
longer
Don't tell them
fragmented.
with words alone. Show up.
Individuation is the
Like
deepest
Italiano.
spiritual
Here is a truth
process
that
a
makes
human
people
can
uncomfortable.
undergo, not religious,
How you look in public
but
determines
according
how
to the
the world
natural
treats you.
order of the soul.
Not should. Not
Jung
might.
said, "The privilege of a
Determines.
lifetime is to become who
You
you
can call
truly
this
are."
superficial. You can call
But
it
what he
unfair.
did not say outright
You can rail against
is
it on
that privilege
social media.
always comes
You'll
with
be
the
righted
price of
is
death,
superficial.
the
But
death of the
justice
ego.
will not protect you
The
from
ego,
the judgment
the
of
small,
strangers.
logical,
Philosophy
controlling
will
I,
not shield you
always
from
wants
snap
to
judgments
master.
in the first 3 seconds.
It wants everything
the world will
safe,
assess you,
clear, and predictable.
categorize you, and treat
the
you
soul does not care
accordingly
for
whether
safety.
you like it or not.
The soul
Today,
cares for
we
truth.
address a topic of
And truth
appearance
often begins
and
with
dignity.
breakdown.
10 reasons
Because
why you
only
should
when the
never
ego
look
is
poor
broken
in
can the
public.
unconscious
Now,
speak.
I am not saying
Only when
you
the
should be
outside
ashamed
world
of
no
being
longer
poor. Poverty isn't
satisfies
failing.
does a person turn
I am not
inward
saying
to
spend
hear the
money you
call
don't
of
have.
the self.
That leads to
Recall
debt.
the last time you felt your
Character
life
is everything,
fall apart.
but appearance is the
A
messenger
relationship
of that character.
ending.
You owe it
A
to
career
yourself
collapsing.
to present yourself in
A
a way
once
that reflects your
absolute
dignity,
belief
your
suddenly
self-respect,
losing meaning.
and your potential. The
At that
Stoics
time,
understood
you
this.
did not just lose
There is a
something
middle path.
external. You were being
Appropriate
invited into
self-presentation,
the journey of
free from vanity,
individuation.
but full of dignity. Not
Those
about looking
crises
rich,
are not
but never looking
disasters.
defeated or
They are
diminished.
sacred
Reason why.
invitations from the unconscious,
The first 3
calling you
seconds
to
rule.
leave old
Psychologists
images
know
and return
humans
to the
form
true
impressions
self.
within milliseconds.
Just as a
Judgments
seed
are made
must
about
crack
competence
its
and
shell to
trustworthiness
sprout,
before words
the
are spoken.
soul
When you
also
look poor
needs
with worn
dissolution
clothes
to
and
be
unkempt
reborn.
grooming, you are communicating that you are
Pain,
not a
in
person
Jung's
to be
view,
taken seriously.
is the birthright
It's
of
not
new
fair.
consciousness.
Reason 2.
And every
The
crisis,
halo
if
effect.
you are brave
If we
enough to
perceive
listen
someone as well
instead of
presented,
fleeing,
we
is a form
unconsciously
of
assume they are
sacred
also
night,
intelligent,
where the ego
kind,
is forced to
competent,
yield to the
and
deeper
trustworthy.
truth of
Conversely,
itself.
if someone
Look at
appears
those who have
neglected, they are judged
collapsed
as
and
less
risen in a
competent.
different
Dress
form.
appropriately because you care
A
about
businessman
being
who
effective in the
loses
world,
everything,
not
then
others'
begins to
opinions.
paint.
Reason 3.
A person who once
The
lived for
self-fulfilling
others,
prophecy.
then
When you
leaves
look
it
poor,
all to go alone.
you feel poor.
A person who once
When you
believed
feel
in
poor,
power,
you act
then
poor,
finds peace
and you
in silence.
stay poor. When you
On the
neglect
surface,
your appearance,
they change,
you send a message to
but
yourself.
deep within, they do not veer
I'm
off.
not worth the effort.
They return.
External actions
That
shape
is what
our
Jung
internal
called
states.
the process
Reason
of becoming whole.
4.
Individuation does
The
not occur
opportunity
in
cost.
books, but in
Opportunities
every
do not
lived
announce
experience.
themselves. They appear
It
in
does not
moments of
happen
conversation
in
with a
noble
stranger.
moments, but right while you wash dishes, talk, suffer, cry,
A chance
or
encounter.
dream.
How many opportunities
Because
have
the
you missed
unconscious is not
because someone
separate
judged
from
you
life.
unworthy
It
in those
uses
first
life
seconds.
itself
The Stoic
to teach you.
does not create
Every
unnecessary
person you
obstacles.
meet is
Reason
a mirror.
5.
Every event is a ritual. Every time you are
Your
honest with your
appearance signals
emotions,
self-respect.
are a step
if you do not
closer to
value
the
yourself,
self.
why should anyone
In the
else?
language of
It costs
symbols,
very little
the
to be
journey
clean.
of individuation
Epictetus said,
is
"Keep
like
your
the
body in its
encounter
proper
between the
condition,
human
as
and
a
the
soldier
divine
keeps his
within
weapon.
one's own mind.
For readiness,
It is
for
when you realize
effectiveness.
within
It
you
costs
is a
only
sacred
attention.
part,
Reason
not
6.
in a supernatural
The
sense,
unspoken
but in the
contract.
sense of
When you show up
transcending
looking
the
poor,
limits of the
you
ego.
are saying, I do not
Jung
respect
called
you
that
enough to
part
make an
the
effort.
self, the
The
center
world
of the
owes you
entire
nothing,
psychological
but it will
system,
respond
the
to the signals
God
you send.
within,
Presentation
the
is about
light
respecting
encompassing
the interaction and
consciousness
the other person.
and
Reason
unconscious.
7.
When you begin to
Good
live from
presentation
that center,
is armor.
you are
When
no
look
longer
your best,
pulled by
you are
opposing
less vulnerable to the
impulses.
slights that
You
come
become
from looking poor.
centered,
When you know
whole,
you look appropriate,
enlightened.
you can focus on what matters to the conversation.
Jung described
the
individuation
work,
as an inner
the connection.
pilgrimage,
Presentation
not a
frees
journey
you
seeking
from
God
distraction.
outside,
Reason 8.
but toward the center where
Looking
God
poor
dwells
and being
within
poor
oneself.
are not the same thing.
That is why
You can have
Jung
very little
always
money
spoke
and
of the
still
sacredness
present
of this
yourself with
journey.
dignity. You can wear simple clothes
It does
that are
not
clean
promise
and
easy
well-maintained.
happiness,
You can
but
practice
awakening.
good grooming that
A
costs
life in which you are
nothing
no
but time.
longer
You can
ruled
carry
by
yourself with pride,
archetypes,
regardless
fears,
of your
or
circumstances.
illusions.
Looking poor is often not
Individuation
about lack
is
of
the
money.
path of
It is
courage,
about lack of care.
because it
The
does
person
not
who has
lead you
nothing
to
but maintains
answers,
their appearance
but to
is
authentic
communicating.
living.
I may have
The
little,
one
but I
liberating does not ask,
I am still here.
what must I do
I
to be
still
loved?
matter. Reason
But
9.
do I dare to
Stoic
live true to
middle
myself,
path.
even
They
if
understood
rejected?
that virtue lies not in one
They do
extreme
not
or
seek
the other,
to control
but
fate,
in the wise
but to
mean between
dialogue
them.
with it.
On one side is vanity,
And when they
the
begin to
obsession
live
with
that way,
appearance. On the other
something
side
strange
is
happens.
neglect.
The outside
refusal to
world
care for
begins to
oneself.
change.
Both
No
are
longer
forms
a
of
battle,
slavery.
but
The
a
Stoic
living
walks
interaction
the middle
between
path.
the inner
They
and
care for their
outer, between
appearance
soul
because
and
it is part
world.
of caring for themselves.
Individuation
They do
does not promise
invite
eternal
dismissal.
happiness,
Epictetus said,
but it
"Make
brings
the best
something
use of
deeper
what is
than
in your
happiness,
power, and take the
meaning.
rest as it happens."
And for
Your
Jung,
appearance is in your
that is
power.
what makes
Reason
humans
10.
sacred,
You are
when
a
they live
representative
not
of
just to
something
exist,
larger. You
but
represent
to
your
fulfill
family,
something
your
greater
community,
than themselves,
your values,
a
and your mission.
mandala,
If you are
the
an
circle
entrepreneur,
of the soul,
your appearance reflects on
completed
your
by their
business.
very
If you are a
presence in
parent,
the world.
your appearance reflects
Ultimately,
on your children.
individuation
Marcus
is not a
Aurelius wrote,
task, but an
"We are made
invitation.
for cooperation.
No one forces you to walk
When you
it.
look poor,
But
you are
once you hear
diminishing
that
the
call,
cause you
the
represent.
faint inner
people
voice
you love.
saying, I cannot
This is
keep
not
living
about
like
shame.
this forever.
There is no shame
You
in
are
having little.
already on the
shame
path
is in
home.
giving up and neglecting
It is not a
yourself,
journey
in
seeking
abandoning your
something
dignity.
new,
Never
but
go into
remembering
debt for
what you
appearance.
already are.
That is vanity.
And
The
when you
goal is to
return
look
to
like a
that
person
center,
who respects themselves,
where light and darkness
that
no
costs
longer
very little.
oppose,
Character matters
where the voice of
infinitely
the
more
soul
than appearance.
becomes clear,
But appearance
you will
is the
understand
messenger of
why
character.
Jung called
The
it
good
a
person with
sacred
good
calling,
presentation will have more
a sacred
opportunities.
invitation.
Marcus Aurelius wrote,
not from
"You have
outside,
power over your
but
mind,
from the
not
depths
outside
within
events.
you,
Realize
the
this.
part that has
you will
waited
find
for you
strength."
so long, just
The
to
Stoic
say,
does not dress for
welcome
others.
home.
The Stoic dresses for themselves.
Part
As an
4.
expression of self-respect.
The power of
As
belief.
a reflection of inner order. Cleanliness
Individuation
costs
does not
nothing
end
but
with
effort.
understanding.
Shower
It ends with
regularly.
belief.
Brush your teeth.
Because
Wash
after
your
you have
clothes.
seen yourself in
These
light
are not
and in
luxuries.
darkness,
They are
you
basics.
realize one thing.
Iron your clothes.
Reality has
Polish
never
your
been
shoes.
out of your
Men,
reach.
small tears.
The world has never been an
A
object
well-maintained,
to conquer.
inexpensive item looks
It
better
is
than
only
a
the
neglected,
obedient
expensive
mirror
one.
of your
Posture
mind.
is free. Stand
And
up
now,
straight.
with the self-shaped,
Make eye
the
contact.
question is no longer,
Speak
who am
clearly.
I?
These
But
cost
what do I
nothing and
believe about
communicate
myself?
everything.
Because from this point,
Simplicity is elite.
fate begins to
Sometimes
change form.
External care
Belief
can spark
becomes
internal
action.
change.
Action
When you force
becomes
yourself
reality.
to stand up straight, you send a message.
Number 1.
I
You
am
do
still
not need
fighting.
evidence to
Return
believe.
to the center.
You need to
Remember that
believe
you are
to
more than
create
your
evidence.
appearance. Remember that character is
When a
everything.
person has
Care
journeyed
deeply,
through the
but
darkness,
be unattached.
when the mask
Seneca
falls
wrote,
away,
"The wise
when the
person
shadow
will
is
not be
acknowledged,
disturbed by
and
the
the self
opinions of
begins to
others.
speak,
You care for yourself
then what Jung
because you are
called
worth
the
caring for.
manifestation
Waste
of the
no more
spirit
time arguing
appears.
about what a good
That
person
is,
should be.
when belief
Be
becomes
one.
creative power.
Part of being a good person
Because
is
from
honoring your own
here,
dignity.
the outside
Show
world
up as
is no
someone who
longer a
matters because
place
you do.
where you
Make the
wait for
best
something
use
to
of
happen.
what is in your power.
It
and
becomes
take
the
rest
mirror
as it
of the
happens.
belief within you.
Stoicism is often misunderstood
We often
as a
think,
total
I
disregard
will
for the
believe when
material
I
world.
see.
However,
But
the
for
way
Jung,
we present ourselves
and for every
is
true
a profound
mystic,
expression
that
of
order
self-respect.
is entirely
The first
wrong.
reason is the 3-second rule.
Because the mind does not
Long before you
operate
speak,
by linear
your
logic,
presence tells a story.
but by the logic
Perception
of the
begins with
unconscious,
the eyes, not
where
the
belief
ears.
is the
Then
cause,
there is the
and
halo
evidence
effect.
only the
When we see
effect.
order and care in a person's appearance,
Just as a
we
seed does not
instinctively
wait
assume
to see
an
the
orderly
sprout
and
before
disciplined
believing
mind
it is a
within. Your
tree,
appearance
you do
is a
not need to see the
self-fulfilling
result
prophecy.
to believe.
When you look like someone who
You
values
need to
themselves,
believe to see
you begin
the
to act
result.
like someone who values their time.
Jung
and purpose.
believed that when
Consider
belief
the
resides in
opportunity
the
cost of
unconscious,
neglect. A
it
door may
operates
remain
your
closed
life
simply
without your
because your
knowing.
outward chaos signals
But
the
when
lack
you
of
make it
internal
conscious,
readiness. Dressing
when you
well
actively
is a
choose
signal
what you
of respect
believe,
for others.
you begin
it
to
acknowledges the
rewrite
unspoken
fate.
contract of social interaction.
Belief
that
is not a vague
you
wish,
care enough to show up
but a
fully.
spiritual
In professional
act,
environments,
a silent
your presentation
declaration
serves as armor.
sent down
it
to
provides
the
a
depths
foundation
of the
of confidence
unconscious.
that allows your
And
ideas
from
to take
there,
center stage.
reality
Stoic truth
begins to
teaches us that
restructure.
cleanliness is about effort.
Observe
not
how
wealth.
people
A simple
truly
linen
create
shirt,
change.
well kept,
No
carries
one
more
has
dignity
evidence
than expensive
before
vanity.
beginning.
We must walk this Stoic
Edison
middle
had
path.
no evidence that light could be
Avoid the
contained
trap
in a
of
bulb,
superficial vanity,
but he
but do
believed
not
and
fall into the
searched
vice
until
of
it
slovenly
happened.
neglect.
Jung had no evidence that
You are
the
a
collective
representative of your
unconscious
philosophy.
existed,
If you claim to have a
but he
disciplined
believed
mind,
in dreams,
let your presence be
in
the first proof
symbols.
of that discipline.
and then the
Practical
entire
dignity
field
starts
of
with the
psychology
basics.
had to bow
Stand
to
tall
that
with
discovery.
good posture.
A
Ensure
mother
your clothes
dares
fit
to
your
believe
frame,
her child
and
will
maintain
survive,
impeccable cleanliness.
though doctors
Marcus
hold no
Aurelius
hope.
reminded us to be checked and
And
controlled.
somehow, that child truly overcomes.
This applies to our thoughts.
They
and
all
naturally
share one
flows
thing.
into our physical presence.
They
As
believed
Epictetus said,
before
make
there
the best
was
use of
reason
what is
to
in your
believe.
power, and take the rest as it happens.
Belief, in the Jungian sense, is not
Your appearance is
optimism.
within your power.
It is the mysterious
The
power
world is
of the
waiting to see who
mind,
you are.
the
Don't
energy
tell
that
them with
precedes
words alone.
perception,
Show up.
opening paths that
Like
reason
Italiano.
cannot see.
Here is a truth that makes people
Reason
uncomfortable.
is the eye looking out
How
at
you
the
look in
world.
public determines how the
Belief
world
is
treats
the
you.
eye looking into the
Not
inner
should,
world.
not might.
When belief is strong enough,
Determines.
it becomes a
You can
psychological
call this
energy
superficial,
field,
call it
causing
unfair.
every cell, every
You can rail
thought,
against it on
every
social
action
media.
to
And you'll be
vibrate at the
righted
same
is
frequency.
superficial. But justice
And the outside
will not
world,
protect you from
according to the
judgment of
unconscious
strangers.
principle
Philosophy
of
will not
reflection,
shield you from
adjusts
snap
to
judgments
match
in the
that
first 3
belief.
seconds. The world
In
will assess
reality,
you,
we see this
categorize
happen
you,
every day,
and treat you
but few
accordingly whether you
recognize
like
it.
it or not.
The person
Today,
who believes they
we
are
address the
always
topic of
betrayed
appearance
unconsciously
and dignity.
chooses
10
those
reasons
who
why
will
you should
betray
never
them.
look poor.
The
in
one who
public.
believes
Now,
they are not
I
good
am not
enough
saying
acts
you
small,
should be ashamed of
and the
being
world
poor. Poverty
responds
isn't failing.
accordingly.
I am
The
not
one who
saying
believes
spend
life
money you
is
don't
always
have.
harsh,
That leads
always
to
encounters
debt.
harsh situations,
Character is everything.
not
But
because the
appearance
world
is
is
the messenger
cruel,
of that character.
but because
You owe
the
it to yourself
unconscious
to
seeks
present
to
yourself in a way
prove
that
what you
reflects your
believe
dignity,
is true.
your self-respect. and
That
your
is the
potential.
self-fulfilling
The Stoics
principle
understood
that
this.
Jung called the
There is a middle
compensatory mechanism of the
Appropriate
unconscious.
self-presentation, free
The
from
psyche
vanity, but
creates
full of
external
dignity. Not about looking
circumstances
rich,
to reflect
but
the
never looking
deepest
defeated
belief
or
within.
diminished. Reason 1.
But that also means
The
when
first
you
3
change
seconds
belief,
rule.
you
Psychologists
change reality.
know humans form impressions
Because reality
within
is not
milliseconds.
something you
Judgments are
discover,
made about
but
competence
something
and
you
trustworthiness
co-create
before
with the
words are spoken.
unconscious.
When you look poor with worn
When you
clothes and
believe,
unkempt
"I deserve
grooming, you are
love,"
communicating that
you
you are not
begin
a
to
person
behave
be taken
differently.
seriously. It's
You
not
speak
fair.
differently.
Reason
You
2.
walk differently.
The halo
and
effect.
your gaze
If we perceive
changes.
someone as well presented,
And that very
we
energy
unconsciously
becomes an
assume they are
invitation
also
for new
intelligent,
situations,
kind,
people,
competent,
and opportunities to
trustworthy.
come to you.
Conversely, if someone
Belief
appears neglected,
does not just
they are
reside
judged
in
as
the
less
head.
competent. Dress
It
appropriately
permeates
because you
your
care about
living
being
energy
effective in
field,
the world.
and the world
Not
responds
others'
to
opinions.
it like a
Reason 3.
compass to a
The
magnetic
self-fulfilling
field.
prophecy. When you
Belief
look
requires
poor,
no
you
fanfare.
feel poor.
It is silent,
When you feel
but
poor,
weighted.
you act
It
poor.
is what you
And
carry in
you
your
stay
gaze,
poor
in your
when you
gestures,
neglect your
in the way you
appearance.
enter a room.
You send a message to
The
yourself.
one with true belief needs no
I'm not worth the
convincing.
effort.
Their presence
External
itself
actions
is
shape our internal
evidence.
states.
They
Reason
do not need to
4.
prove they can, because they
The
know
opportunity
they
cost.
can.
Opportunities do not
And that
announce
knowing
themselves.
is
They
the
appear in
energy that
moments of
makes
conversation with a
reality
stranger.
bend to a line. Jung encountered many patients
A chance
trapped in
encounter.
hopeless
How many
loops.
opportunities have you
People
missed
who no
because
longer
someone
believed
judged
in the
you
possibility
unworthy
of change.
in those first seconds.
For
The
him,
Stoic
the
does not
important
create
thing was not
unnecessary
treating
obstacles.
symptoms,
Reason
but
5.
reawakening the capacity to believe. A depressed person
Your appearance
often
signals
does not lose
self-respect.
hope.
If you do
They
not
lose
value
belief
yourself,
that hope matters.
why should anyone else?
So
It
he
costs
never told them
very
to
little
be
clean.
positive.
Epictetus said,
He evoked within
keep your
them
body
an
in its
inner
proper
image,
condition,
a
as
symbol
a
of
soldier
light,
keeps his weapon.
of life,
For
to remind
readiness,
them that they once
for
believed.
effectiveness.
And
It
when
costs
that flame
only
returned,
attention.
The
Reason
miracle
6.
began to
The
unfold.
unspoken contract.
Belief,
You show up
for
looking
Jung,
poor,
is the link
or say,
between
I
consciousness
do not
and the
respect you enough to
unconscious.
make an effort.
It is like the
The
electrical
world
wire
owes you
connecting
nothing,
the soul
but it will
to
respond
reality.
to the signals you send.
When you do not
Presentation
believe,
is about
the
respecting
wire
the
is cut,
interaction and the other
and the
person.
unconscious
Reason
no
7.
longer transmits creative energy
Good
to the conscious
presentation
level.
is armor.
You
When you
feel
look your best,
depleted,
you are less
stuck,
vulnerable to the
hopeless.
slights that come
But
from
when you
looking poor.
believe that
When you know
energy
you look
flows
appropriate,
again,
you can
and
focus
life
on what
begins
matters
to
the
move,
conversation.
not
the work,
because the
the connection.
universe rewards
Presentation
you,
frees you
but because
from
you
distraction.
return to your
Reason
own
8.
flow.
Looking
The
poor
paradox
and
is,
being poor are
you
not
only
the
begin
same
to see
thing.
evidence
You can
when
have
you
very
no
little
longer
money and
need it.
still present yourself with
Because
dignity.
evidence
You can wear
belongs to the
simple
conscious
clothes that
level,
are clean and
while
well
belief
maintained.
belongs
You can
to the
practice
soul.
good grooming that costs
The more you
nothing
seek
but time.
evidence,
You can carry
the
yourself
more
with
you
pride,
prove you do not
regardless
yet
of your
believe.
circumstances.
But when
Looking
you let
poor
go,
is often not about
when you
lack
say,
of money. It
I
is about
know
lack
even
of
though I
care.
have not
the
seen,
person who has nothing but maintains
the
their
unconscious
appearance is
understands it as a
communicating.
command.
I may have little,
It begins
but
to
I am not
act.
little. I am
Opportunities
still here,
appear,
and I still
synchronicities
matter.
occur,
Reason 9.
doors open,
The Stoic
not by
middle
magic,
path.
but
They
by the
understood that
natural
virtue
response
lies
of
not
the
in one
world
extreme
to
or the
undoubted
other,
belief.
but in the wise mean between them.
Number
On one
2.
side is vanity. vanity.
Belief is
The
a
obsession with
spiritual
appearance.
act,
On the
not
other
a
side
fantasy.
is neglect.
When you understand
The
that you do
refusal
not
to
need
care for
evidence to
oneself.
believe,
Both
but
are
belief
forms of
itself
slavery.
creates
The Stoic
evidence,
walks
the next
middle path.
question
They care
naturally
for their
arises.
appearance because it is
So,
part of caring
what
for
is
themselves.
belief?
They do not.
Is it merely a
invite
comforting
dismissal.
illusion,
Epictetus said,
a sedative for the
"Make the best
mind
use
when
of what is in your
reality is
power,
too
and
harsh?
take the rest as it happens."
Or is it something
Your
deeper,
appearance is in your power.
truer,
Reason 10.
what Jung called
You are
a
a representative
sacred
of
act
something
of the
larger.
soul?
You represent your family,
In Jung's
your
view,
community,
belief
your
is not an
values,
emotion,
and your mission.
but a
If you are an
creative
entrepreneur,
act, an
your
act of the
appearance
soul
reflects on
choosing
your
to
business.
align with
If you
what
are
is
a
not
parent,
yet manifest.
your appearance reflects
Fantasy
on your
occurs
children.
only in
Marcus
the head.
Aurelius wrote,
It is rootless wishing,
"We are made
an
for
image floating in
cooperation.
the mind. But
When you look
belief,
poor,
if
you
it
are
is truly
diminishing the
belief,
cause you represent
changes the
and the
inner
people you
structure
love.
of the person.
This is not about shame.
It makes you
There is
speak
no
differently,
shame in having little.
see
The
differently,
shame is in giving
and
up
act differently.
and neglecting
And
yourself,
that very thing
in
causes the
abandoning your
world
dignity.
to begin
Never go into
changing.
debt for appearance.
Belief is the movement
That is
of energy,
vanity. The goal is to
while
look like a person
fantasy
who respects
is
themselves.
only the movement
That
of
costs
thought.
very little. Character
When you
matters
believe,
infinitely more
you
than
place your
appearance.
consciousness
But
in the same
appearance is the
frequency
messenger
as
of
the
character.
unconscious,
The good person
where
with good
archetypes,
presentation will have more
symbols,
opportunities.
and reality-shaping
Marcus Aurelius wrote,
energies operate.
"You have power over your
When
mind,
these
not
two
outside
levels
events.
unite, a
Realize
new
this,
energy flow
and you will
is
find
released,
strength."
which Jung called
The Stoic
numinous
does not dress for
experience.
others. The Stoic
The feeling
dresses
that
for
you are no
themselves
longer
as an
alone,
expression of
but
self-respect,
upheld by an
as a
invisible
reflection of inner
force.
order. Cleanliness
The
costs
modern world
nothing but
causes
effort.
people to misunderstand
Shower
belief.
regularly. Brush
We
your
turn
teeth.
it into a tool to
Wash your
achieve
clothes.
something.
These are not
Believe to
luxuries.
succeed.
They are basics.
Believe to get rich.
Iron your
Believe
clothes.
to be loved.
Polish your shoes.
But Jung
Men,
would smile sadly
small
and
tears.
say, that
A
is not
well-maintained
belief.
and expensive item
That
looks
is
better than a
bargaining with the
neglected
universe.
expensive one. Posture is
True
free.
belief is not aimed
Stand
at
up
getting,
straight.
but at becoming.
Make eye contact.
It is
Speak
not a
clearly.
tool to control
These cost
reality,
nothing and communicate
but a
everything.
consent to the deeper order
Simplicity
of
is
life.
sometimes
To believe is
external
not,
care
I
can
want
spark
this to
internal
happen,
change. When
but
you force yourself
I
to stand
allow
up
this
straight,
to unfold
you send a message.
because I believe it has
I
meaning.
am still fighting. Return.
Think of a
to the
person
center.
standing in the
Remember
darkness
that
of
you are
crisis,
more than your
having
appearance.
lost everything, seeing
Remember
no
that
way
character
out.
is everything. Care
Belief,
deeply,
in that
but be
moment,
unattached.
is not
Seneca
thinking,
wrote, "The
everything
wise
will be
person
fine.
will not be disturbed by
It is
the
still
opinions
choosing
of
to step
others.
forward,
You care for yourself,
even without
because you are
seeing
worth
anything.
caring for. Waste no more
That is
time
pure
arguing
spiritual
about what a good
action,
person should
an
be.
act that reason
Be one.
cannot justify,
Part of being a good
but the
person is
soul
honoring
knows
your own
is
dignity.
right.
Show
Jung
up as someone
once
who
called
matters
it
because
the
you do.
leap of the
Make
soul,
the best use
where the
of what is in
human
your
steps
power.
beyond the
Take
boundary
the
of
rest
fear
as it happens.
and into the space of
Stoicism
the
is often
unknown.
misunderstood as a total
Belief
disregard
is the
for
small
material
flame you
world.
hold in your
However,
hand while
the way
walking
we
in the
present
night.
ourselves is a
It
profound
does not
expression
dispel all
of
darkness,
self-respect. The
but
first
enough
reason
to see
is
the
the
next
3-second
step.
rule.
And the
Long before you
strange thing
speak,
is,
your presence
when you
tells
dare
a
to
story.
take one
Perception
step,
begins
the
with the
light
eyes,
advances
not
one
the
step
ears.
too.
Then there is the halo
The world
effect.
does not
when we see
reveal the
order
full
and care
view.
in a person's appearance.
It opens
we
gradually with
instinctively
each of
assume
your
an orderly
actions.
and disciplined mind within.
Jung
your
believed
appearance
that it is
a
precisely in
self-fulfilling
that movement
prophecy.
that
when
the
you look like someone
unconscious
who
and
values
consciousness
themselves,
begin to
you begin to
dialogue.
act like someone who values
You
their
step,
time and purpose.
and the world
Consider the
responds.
opportunity
You
cost of
believe,
neglect.
and
A
the
door may remain
unconscious
closed
sends
simply
signals
because
through
your outward
meaningful
chaos signaled a lack of
coincidences.
internal readiness.
You say,
dressing
I
well
know I am
is
guided,
a signal of respect
and
for
then
others.
true guiding
it
signs
acknowledges
appear.
the unspoken contract
Not
of
by
social
magic,
interaction that
but because you have opened
you
the
care enough to
receiving
show up
frequency.
fully. In professional
In
environments,
classical
your
psychoanalysis,
presentation serves as
people
armor.
seek
It
healing
provides a
by
foundation of
analyzing the
confidence that
past.
allows your ideas to
But
take
Jung
center
looked
stage.
further.
Stoic truth
He did
teaches
not
us that
just want
cleanliness
people
is
to
about
understand
effort,
why
not
they were
wealth.
wounded.
A simple linen
He
shirt,
wanted them to
well kept,
believe their
carries
souls
more
could be
dignity than expensive
reborn.
vanity. We must walk
In a
the
world
Stoic middle
ruled by
path.
logic and doubt,
Avoid the
belief
trap of
is the
superficial
deepest
vanity,
act of
but do not
rebellion.
fall into the vice of
It
slovenly
is the
neglect.
declaration, I am not
You
just
are
the
a
result of
representative of your
causes,
philosophy. If you
I
claim
am
to have
the
a disciplined
cause of
mind,
results.
your presence is the first proof
and
of
like
that
every
discipline.
sacred act,
Practical dignity
belief
starts with the
always
basics.
demands surrender.
Stand tall
When you
with good
believe,
posture.
You let
Ensure
go
your
of
clothes
control,
fit your frame,
of the
and
need to
maintain
know
impeccable
beforehand,
cleanliness.
of the
Marcus
safety of
Aurelius
reason.
reminded us to be checked and
You make
controlled.
room for a greater intelligence, what Jung called the
This
self,
applies to our thoughts,
the center
and
of the
naturally
soul,
flows into our
directly
physical
connected
presence.
to the
As
order
Epictetus
of the
said,
entire universe.
Make the best use of what is in your power.
Belief does not
Take
make
the
you
rest as it
blind.
happens.
It opens your eyes in another
Your
way.
appearance is within your power.
Fantasy tries ways to draw the outcome.
The world is waiting to see who you
Belief
are. Don't
listens.
tell them with words alone.
It allows the
Show up.
unconscious to reveal the
Like
outcome
Italian.
through
Here is a
small
truth that makes
signs,
people uncomfortable.
synchronicities, and
How you look
inner
in public
calls.
determines how the world treats
Belief
you.
is the gesture of the
Not
soul,
should,
choosing
not might.
life over closure.
determines.
It is not denying reality,
You can call this
but
superficial.
recognizing
You can
that
call it
reality
unfair.
does not end with what
You
we
can rail
see.
against it on
It
social
is the
media,
whisper.
and you will be right.
There is still
is
something
superficial.
more than
But
this.
justice will not
Belief
protect you
is the bridge
from
between the
judgment of
visible and
strangers.
invisible
Philosophy will
worlds,
not shield you
between
from snap
consciousness
judgments
and
in the first 3
unconscious,
seconds. The
between
world will assess
human
you,
and self.
categorize you, and
Not
treat
because
you
it creates
accordingly
miracles,
whether you like it or
but
not.
because it is the
Today,
miracle.
we address a topic
In
of
an age
appearance
where people
and
worship
dignity.
reason,
10 reasons
belief
why
is
you should
seen as
never
weakness.
look poor in
But
public.
Jung saw
Now,
the opposite.
I am not saying
Only the strong
you should
dare
be
to
ashamed
believe,
of being poor.
because to
Poverty isn't
believe
failing.
is to accept falling
I
into
am
the
not saying
unknown.
spend money you don't
It is
have.
to say
That
yes
leads
to something
to debt.
beyond your understanding.
Character is
Fantasy
everything,
hides in
but appearance
imagination.
is the messenger
Belief
of that character.
steps into
You owe it
reality.
to yourself.
Fantasy
Present
says,
yourself in a
if
way that
only.
reflects your dignity,
Belief
your
says,
self-respect,
I am ready.
and your potential. The
And
Stoics
in that readiness,
understood this.
the world begins
There
to
is a
move.
middle path.
Thus, when
Appropriate
Jung said,
self-presentation,
belief is a
free from
spiritual
vanity,
act,
but full
he
of
was not
dignity.
speaking
Not
of
about
religion.
looking rich.
He
but
was
never looking
speaking of the
defeated
courage of the
or
soul
diminished.
to pass
Reason
through
1.
darkness, to dare to
The
love,
first 3 seconds
hope,
rule.
and create
Psychologists
without any
know
guarantees.
humans form
That is not
impressions
fantasy.
within milliseconds.
It
Judgments
is
are made
proof
about
that the
confidence and
human
trustworthiness
soul
before
is
words are
always
spoken.
greater
When you look
than
poor
fear.
with worn clothes and unkempt grooming, you are
Number 3,
communicating that you are not a
the
person to
world
be
does
taken
not
seriously.
respond to what
It's
you
not
want,
fair.
but to
Reason
what you
2,
believe you deserve.
the halo effect. If we perceive someone as well
Belief,
presented,
as Jung said,
we
is a
unconsciously
spiritual
assume they are
act,
also
a
intelligent,
way for the soul to
kind,
communicate with the
competent,
invisible order
and
of the
trustworthy.
universe.
Conversely, if
But
someone
if you observe
appears
more
neglected,
closely,
they are
you
judged
will
as
see a
less
deeper
competent.
layer in it.
Dress appropriately because you
The
care
universe
about
does
being
not
effective in the
respond
world,
to what you say you
not
want,
others' opinions.
but to the frequency
Reason
of
3,
what you believe you
the
deserve.
self-fulfilling prophecy.
Because
When you
wanting
look poor,
is the language of
you
consciousness.
feel poor.
Shallow,
When you feel
changeable,
poor,
easily
you act
swayed,
poor, and
deserving
you stay
is the
poor
language
when
of
you
the
neglect your
unconscious,
appearance.
deep,
You send a
enduring,
message to yourself.
and creative. Most
not
people
worth
do
the
not
effort.
realize that they do not
External
live
actions
according
shape
to
our
what they
internal
wish,
states.
but
Reason
according to what they
4,
believe is right for them.
the opportunity
A
cost.
person may say,
Opportunities do not
I
announce
want to be
themselves.
loved,
They
but
appear in
deep
moments of
inside,
conversation with a
the
stranger.
root belief is, I am not good enough to be loved, and the world will
A chance
respond to
encounter.
that belief,
How many
not to the
opportunities have
wish.
you missed?
They
because
meet
someone
people
judged
who
you
make them
unworthy
feel
in
abandoned.
those first seconds.
They repeat the
Stoic
same type
does
of
not create
relationship,
unnecessary
and
obstacles.
then they say,
Reason 5.
see, I knew it. But that is not fate.
Your
It
appearance
is the
signals
absolute
self-respect.
honesty of
If
the
you do not value
unconscious,
yourself,
simply
why should anyone
reflecting
else?
what you
It
truly
costs
believe
very little
you
to be clean.
deserve.
Epictetus said,
Jung
"Keep your
believed
body in
that
its
we do
proper
not
condition,
attract what we
as
want,
a soldier keeps his
we
weapon.
attract what we are.
For readiness,
The
for
unconscious does not hear
effectiveness,
prayers.
It costs only
It hears the
attention.
frequency of
Reason
the
6,
deepest self,
the unspoken
and
contract.
that frequency
When you
is
show up
determined by
looking
the
poor,
root belief
you are
about
saying,
self-worth,
I do not
what you do
respect
not
you enough to
say,
make an effort.
but always act
The
upon.
world owes you
You
nothing,
may hide
but it will
emotions,
respond to
appear
the signals
confident,
you send.
but the
Presentation
world
is
does
about
not
respecting
respond
the
to what
interaction
you
and the
show,
other person.
but to
Reason
the
7,
subtle energy emanating from
good
unconscious
presentation
belief.
is armor.
When you
look your
feel
best,
undeserving,
you are less
you
vulnerable to the
unconsciously
slights
self-limit.
that come from looking poor.
You reject
when you
good
know you look
opportunities.
appropriate, you can
Choose
focus
people
on
who
what
treat
matters,
you
the
poorly.
conversation.
Dare not
The
say
work,
no,
the
and seek
connection.
to prove your
Presentation
worth
frees
instead
you
of believing
from
you already
distraction.
have it.
Reason 8,
The unconscious
looking
registers
poor
it all,
and being poor
and the
are
world
not the same
responds,
thing.
all
You can have
right,
very little money
if
and
that is the
still
frequency you
present yourself
choose,
with dignity.
I will
You
reflect
can wear
it.
simple clothes that are clean
The
and
world,
well
in the
maintained.
Jungian
You can
sense,
practice good
is not an
grooming that
objective
costs
stage.
nothing but time.
It is the
You can
mirror
carry
of
yourself
the
with
psyche.
pride, regardless of your circumstances.
Just like in dreams,
Looking
reality
poor
is
often not
symbolic.
about lack of money.
In
it
dreams,
is about lack
you
of
cannot
care.
separate
The
yourself
person who
from
has
the
nothing
images
but maintains their
unfolding.
appearance is
The
communicating.
pursuer in the dream
I may have
is
little,
your own fear.
but I am not little. I am
The
still
embracer
here.
is the part
I
you
still
yearn to
matter.
unite with.
Reason 9,
The world
the
is the
Stoic
same.
middle path.
It does not
they
stand
understood
outside
that virtue
you.
lies not
It
in one
reflects the
extreme or the
collective
other,
and personal
but in the wise
unconscious.
mean between them. On one
Thus,
side is vanity,
If you
the
believe you
obsession
are
with appearance.
undeserving,
On the other side
the
is
unconscious will
neglect,
find every way to
the
realize
refusal
that
to care
belief
for
to
oneself.
preserve
Both
psychological
are forms
unity.
of slavery.
That
The
is
Stoic
not
walks
punishment,
the middle path.
but the
they care
honesty
for their
of energy.
appearance because it is part
The
of caring
fascinating
for
thing is,
themselves. They
when
do
you begin
not
to change your
invite
belief
dismissal.
about deserving